come on, stop bragging here. Chen Feiyu responded with a look of disdain. Even though he is a second-generation rich man with some money, it is still unlikely for him to come up with tens of millions to buy a house at once. Xian Kai. There's no need to bother with this kind of person, it's like talking to a cow. Lin Xuan put his right hand on Huang Xian Kai's shoulder and said calmly. At this moment, Chen Feiyu's eyes suddenly fell on Lin Xuan's wrist, and he saw that he was wearing a mysterious and cool black diamond watch. The price of black diamonds is higher than that of ordinary diamonds, and they are an extremely rare species. Chen Feiyu couldn't help but be stunned. Could it be that what Huang Xian Kai said just now was true? Is Lin Xuan really that rich? Huang Xian Kai felt that he couldn't let Chen Feiyu be so arrogant. So he quickly took out his mobile phone, found the transaction picture of Lin Xuan's purchase of the Yunhai Home Seaview Villa, and showed it to everyone. Then he sneered at Chen Feiyu. Open your eyes and take a good look, it's really embarrassing. Wow, it turns out Brother Xuan is so rich. Lin Xuan, you are too low-key. Yes, Master Lin. Please hold your thighs and guide me, okay? I saw Lin Xuan driving a BMW 8 Series worth over 1 million yuan a few days ago. Lin Xuan's high school classmates gathered around and began to flatter and courteously show their affection to Lin Xuan. Only Chen Feiyu was left standing there in a daze, his face full of disbelief. Then Lin Xuan and Huang Xian Kai came to a corner and sat down next to each other. At this moment, a pair of eyes had been staring at Lin Xuan since the moment he stepped into the room, never leaving his sight. And this person is none other than Shang Huiyan. At this time, Shang Huiyan was wearing a tight black dress, which outlined her charming curves and matched her exquisite face, making people unable to take their eyes off her. Shang Huiyan walked lightly to Lin Xuan and sat down next to him. She said softly, Lin Xuan, you are finally here. Well, long time no see, Lin Xuan responded in a flat tone. It's been a long time since we last met. Shang Huiyan nodded gently and continued. How have you been recently? Not bad. Lin Xuan was still as cold as before. Now that everyone is here, let's prepare to serve the food. Just as the two fell into silence, squad leader Chen Dong interrupted at the right time to break the deadlock. Then, waiters began to bring the delicious dishes to the table. Chapter 74. I love my wife very much. During the meal, Shang Huiyan always found various topics to chat with Lin Xuan, but Lin Xuan just responded casually. However, at this moment, Shang Huiyan suddenly noticed the faint strawberry mark on Lin Xuan's neck. Maybe it's because of the passage of time. The strawberry mark that was originally very conspicuous has now become slightly dimmer, but it can still be distinguished if you look closely. Shang Huiyan clenched her fists tightly. At this moment, someone suggested that how could we have a high school reunion without alcohol? Then everyone started toasting each other. There are many people here who want to drink with Lin Xuan. Come on. Brother Xuan, I'll toast you a glass. Brother Xuan, I want to toast you too. I'm sorry, I have to drive and can't drink. Why not just call a designated driver? It's a rare occasion for classmates to get together. So let's have some fun. After that, the two of them drank a full glass of wine in one gulp. In fact, it's not that Lin Xuan can't drink, it's just that now he is drunk and returning home. The smell of alcohol make us discomfort to Li Mengyao. So he said softly, you guys drink slowly, I'll be out for a while. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Xuan walked out of the private room. When Lin Xuan was taking a deep breath of fresh air outdoors, he suddenly heard the sound of high heels stepping on the ground behind him. Lin Xuan, are you really married? Shang Huiyan walked quickly forward and asked. Lin Xuan turned around slowly and responded calmly, that's right. Why? Shang Huiyan asked. Why? Lin Xuan looked confused. Why have I liked you for so many years? But just when I was about to return to China to find you, you suddenly got married. Shang Huiyan's emotions finally got out of control, tears flowed from her eyes like a flood, and her voice was filled with despair and unwillingness. Because I met the right person, Lin Xuan said firmly. These words were like a heavy hammer, hitting Shang Huiyan's heart hard. Do you really love her? Shang Huiyan asked. Lin Xuan began to recall every moment he spent with his wife. A figure who always lacks a sense of security but will rush to protect Lin Xuan without hesitation in times of danger. That gentle face that would throw itself into his arms the first time Lin Xuan came home. And the cute look of her always cuddling Lin Xuan tightly before falling asleep every night. These wonderful memories made Lin Xuan's mouth curl up unconsciously. Yes, I love my wife very much. Lin Xuan said firmly. What about me? Am I not as good as her? How exactly am I worse than her? Shang Huiyan widened her eyes and asked loudly, unwillingly. Lin Xuan looked at her and said softly, you don't need to compare yourself with anyone. You have your own unique charm, which is no worse than others. It's just that we lack that fate. Shang Huiyan stared at Lin Xuan's firm and calm eyes. Knowing in her heart that this fact could not be changed no matter what. She sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Okay the NL Lin Juan. I wish you happiness, and I will never bother you again from now on." "Thank you, I also hope you can find a suitable partner," Lin Juan said. Then Shang Huiyan turned around and left. At this moment, Lin Juan thought that this way he would stop bothering him. "Right? I don't want to make my wife angry because of this." Lin Juan stayed outside for a while, estimated the time and felt it was almost time to go home. So he returned to the private room. "As soon as I opened the door, I saw Huang Xiankai was drunk." As soon as Huang Xiankai saw Brother Xuan coming in, he immediately stood up shakily, staggered towards Lin Xuan, and hugged his thighs tightly. I'm telling you, Brother Xuan is super rich. He paid the full amount for the Seedu villa, but he's still low-key." At this time, Lin Xuan was quite speechless. "Lin Xuan, could you please send Huang Xiankai back?" Squad leader Chen Dong said to Lin Xuan. Because Lin Xuan and Huang Xiankai have been good friends since high school, Chen Dong asked Lin Xuan to take Huang Xiankai home. "Okay. Leave it to me." Then Lin Xuan pulled Huang Xiankai into the car with difficulty, and started the car and drove towards Huang Xiankai's rental house. Huang Xiankai's home is in a small county town in Yanhai City, so he can only rent a house here. Lin Xuan took a lot of effort to bring Huang Xiankai downstairs to the rental house. "Xiankai, which floor do you live on?" Lin Xuan asked. 7. Huang Xiankai answered in a daze. Lin Xuan looked up and couldn't help but complain in his heart. "There is no elevator here. If I had known earlier, I would have just found a hotel nearby and booked a room." At this point, Lin Xuan had no choice but to grit his teeth, carry Huang Xiankai on his back, and walk upstairs step by step. Finally, Lin Xuan carried Huang Xiankai to the 7th floor. If the system hadn't initially given him a 100 increase in human attributes, Lin Xuan would have probably collapsed from exhaustion after all. Huang Xiankai weighed 180 kilograms. "Where is the key?" Lin Xuan asked anxiously. However, Huang Xiankai had already fallen asleep at this moment and did not respond to Lin Xuan's questions at all. So he could only feel around Huang Xiankai, hoping to find the key. However, after a careful search, Lin Xuan still found nothing. Lin Xuan was speechless. He should not have attended this high school reunion if he had known. Of course Lin Xuan would not leave Huang Xiankai outside the door for the whole night, so he had no choice but to carry Huang Xiankai on his back again and walk towards a nearby hotel. At the same time, on the other side, Li Mingyao was lying on the bed alone, with obvious worry in her eyes. "It's almost 11 o'clock at night. Why hasn't my husband come back yet? When I call, it says the phone is turned off. Could something have happened?" At this moment, she suddenly recalled that the pink diamond watch that Lin Xuan had given her before and the black diamond watch he was wearing had the function of positioning each other. Thinking of this, Li Mingyao hurriedly sat up and quickly took out the small and exquisite pink diamond and watch that shone with charming light from the drawer of the bedside table. And she turned on the positioning function of her watch and stared nervously at the information displayed on the screen. However, when seeing the positioning results, Li Mengyao's face instantly turned pale as paper. The results clearly showed that Lin Xuan was actually in a hotel. Chapter 75. It's no use calling baby. How come my husband is in the hotel? But it be that he was seduced by Shang Huiyan? No, Lin Xuan is not that kind of person. Or maybe my husband got drunk by his high school classmates, and Shang Huiyan took advantage of the situation. The more Li Mengyao thought about it, the more scared she became. Her worries grew stronger and stronger. Her eyes were always fixed on the location interface of her mobile phone, not daring to relax at all. 10 minutes later, Li Mengyao discovered that Lin Xuan's position was moving towards home, and she breathed a sigh of relief. After another long 20 minutes, Lin Xuan finally returned to the villa and walked into the master bedroom. When he pushed open the door, the scene before and caught him off guard. He saw Li Mengyao pouncing towards him like a hungry tiger. "Honey, where have you been? You came back so late. You didn't even answer my phone call." Li Mengyao waved her little pink fists angrily, raining down on Lin Xuan. "Phone?" Lin Xuan took out his phone from his pocket with difficulty while receiving the little pink F as the checked it and found that the phone was out of battery. It turned out that after Lin Xuan settled Huang Xiankai down, he drove home without stopping. He didn't even look at his phone, and he didn't know that his phone had run out of battery and turned off automatically. "Wife, my cell phone is out of battery," Lin Xuan explained quickly. At this time, Li Mengyao just hugged Lin Xuan tightly, with her little face pressed against his chest, and refused to let go. "Honey, can I explain this to you after I take a shower?" Lin Xuan gently picked up Li Mengyao and put her back on the bed. Li Mengyao nodded slightly and lay quietly. Ever since Lin Xuan came back, the uneasiness in her heart gradually dissipated. Immediately afterwards, Lin Xuan walked into the bathroom and started taking a shower. Just 10 minutes later, Lin Xuan came out. The two have lived together for so long that Li Mengyao has become accustomed to her husband's fast showering. Are all boys so fast? At this time, Lin Xuan climbed onto the bed and gently hugged Li Mengyao from behind. Baby, are you still angry? There's no use calling the baby. Then what's my name going to be useful? Whatever you want to call me. Li Mengyao still had her back to Lin Xuan and didn't want to pay attention to him. Seeing that his wife ignored him, Lin Xuan could only continue to hug her. Go away. Li Mengyao turned around, stretched out her small hand and pressed it against Lin Xuan's chest, trying to push him away. However, Lin Xuan was waiting for this moment. He stretched out his arms and hugged Li Mengyao tightly in his arms. Wife. I was wrong, Lin Xuan said softly with a gentle smile on his face. Where have you been? Why are you back so late? Li Mengyao pouted and asked angrily. I went to a class reunion, Lin Xuan explained. And then? Is there nothing else? Li Mengyao continued to ask. And when I was about to leave, I saw Huang Xiankai was drunk. So I sent him back, Lin Xuan replied. Where are you going back to? Li Mengyao asked immediately. I sent him home first, but I couldn't find his key no matter what. I had no choice but to find a hotel nearby to stay with him. Lin Xuan recounted the whole incident in detail. Oh, Li Mengyao lowered her head slightly, as if thinking about something. What's wrong? Wife, where do you think I was doing? Huh? Lin Xuan lifted her face and asked with a smile. Nothing. Li Mengyao's eyes were a little evasive, not daring to look Lin Xuan in the eye. I just saw that the location on your watch was in the hotel and you didn't answer the phone, so I was very worried, Li Mengyao muttered with her eyes lowered. What are you worried about? Lin Xuan asked softly with a slight smile on his face. I'm worried that you've been seduced by a vixen. Li Mengyao suddenly became a little angry. She knew that she was thin-skinned, but she had to get to the bottom of it. Then she raised her little hand and pinched Lin Xuan's waist. Lin Xuan naturally would not dodge. He even took the initiative to offer the flesh on his waist to his wife, allowing her to pinch it. After all, this time I really made my wife worried. Then have you made it clear to Shang Huiyan? Li Mengyao suddenly thought of it and asked. I've made it clear. I said I love my wife very much. She won't bother me anymore, Lin Xuan said gently. Oh, Li Mengyao lowered her head slightly again. Wife, are you still angry now? Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao gently and asked again. A little bit. Lin Xuan lowered his head and kissed those tender red lips. I quickly came to the next morning, and the sunlight shone into the room through the curtains. Lin Xuan was awakened by his biological clock in his sleep. He stretched, then quickly got up and prepared to make a hearty loving breakfast for his family. After breakfast, Lin Xuan received a call. Hello, your package has been delivered. I have placed it in the express cabinet at the door of your villa. Please pick it up when it is convenient for you. The young courier's voice came from the other end of the phone. Okay, thank you, Lin Xuan replied politely. Honey, who's calling? Li Mengyao came over curiously and asked. The express has arrived. Hubby, go get it. Lin Xuan kissed Li Mengyao and said with a smile. I also have a few express deliveries. Honey, please bring them back with you, Li Mengyao said with a smile. Good. Lin Xuan got up and walked to the door, changed into a pair of comfortable flip-flops and walked out. Not long after, Lin Xuan arrived at the express cabinet at the entrance of the villa. He entered the pickup code as prompted and successfully took out his express delivery. However, after waiting for a while, my wife still hasn't sent me the pickup code. Just as Lin Xuan was about to make a phone call to inquire, a series of pickup codes suddenly popped up on the phone screen. 1, 2, 3. For Lin Xuan counted and found that there were more than a dozen express deliveries. Lin Xuan widened his eyes. What did his wife buy? Chapter 76. Wife, you don't have to hold me so tightly. Lin Xuan had no choice but to go to the villa warehouse to find a cart and transport all the express deliveries back home. Thank you for your hard work, husband. Li Mengyao walked forward with a happy smile on her face. She tiptoed gently and left a sweet kiss on Lin Xuan's cheek. Then, she couldn't wait to open the express packages one by one. Wife, what did you buy? Why are there so many? Lin Xuan asked curiously. I bought new clothes for everyone in my family, exactly 2 sets for each person. Li Mengyao replied gently, with a satisfied glimmer in her eyes. She first picked out clothes for herself and Lin Xuan. After trying them on, they both looked more energetic. Then she bought 2 beautiful skirts for Lin Cixi, 2 exquisite Xiang's MS for Shang Xiaolan, and 2 IN suits for Lin's Ngguo. Honey, what about you? What did you buy? Li Mengyao turned around and asked Lin Xuan. I also bought you clothes. Lin Xuan raised the corners of his mouth, revealing his signature charming smile. You buy clothes for me? Li Mengyao was a little surprised at the clothes her husband buys. Decent. Well, didn't I say before that I would teach you how to swim? So I bought you a swimsuit? There was a hint of mystery in Lin Xuan's tone. What kind of swimsuit did you buy? Li Mengyao asked curiously. You'll know when you put it on later. Afterwards, Lin Xuan walked out of the master bedroom and came to the swimming pool in the garden, in front of the villa. He took out his tools, opened the drain valve, watched the clear water slowly flow out, and then began to carefully clean the pool walls and bottom with a brush. The camera switched back to the master bedroom, where Li Mengyao was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding the express delivery that Lin Xuan had just delivered. Li Mengyao opened the express delivery that Lin Xuan bought and saw a swimsuit. The blush appeared on her delicate face. Lin Xuan was busy by the swimming pool for half an hour and finally completed all the preparations. Considering that Li Mengyao was pregnant, he deliberately raised the water temperature of the swimming pool to 30 degrees. However, after waiting for a while, my wife still didn't come down. Is it so difficult to change into a swimsuit? Just as Lin Xuan was about to go upstairs to check, Li Mengyao finally came downstairs slowly. Stop looking! Li Mengyao blushed and looked angry. Lin Xuan finally came to his senses and took her hand and walked towards the swimming pool. Lin Xuan jumped into the swimming pool first, then opened his arms, with a gentle smile on his face, and called softly, "Wife, come down." Li Mengyao stood by the swimming pool, hesitated for a moment, a hint of fear flashed in her beautiful eyes, and she said softly, I'm still a little scared." She carefully stretched out one of her long, beautiful legs and lightly touched the surface of the swimming pool, and found it to be quite gentle. "It's okay, your husband is here," Lin Xuan hurriedly comforted. "And you have to catch me," Li Mengyao said in a soft voice. "I promise to catch it," Lin Xuan answered confidently. Then, Li Mengyao plucked up her courage, closed her eyes, and jumped into the swimming pool. Lin Xuan was quick to act and hugged Li Mengyao tightly. To Li Mengyao's surprise, she didn't sink. She curiously opened her beautiful eyes, and what she saw was Lin Xuan's handsome and charming face. The two of them floated quietly above the swimming pool at this moment. Li Mengyao could only hug Lin Xuan tightly, not daring to let go, for fear of accidentally sinking to the bottom of the pool. "Wife, you don't have to hold me so tightly." Lin Xuan smiled softly. "No," Li Mengyao refused to give, and she shook her cute little head and answered firmly. Lin Xuan sighed helplessly and continued to comfort her. "Wife, it's not a good idea to hold me like this, I'll go get you a swimming ring." After saying that, Lin Xuan held Li Mengyao and swam towards the shore. "And why didn't you give the swimming ring to yourself at the beginning? My stinky husband did it on purpose again." As she was thinking about it, Li Mengyao lowered her head and took another bite. Why is my wife biting me again?" Lin Xuan grimaced in pain. "I'll bite you," Li Mengyao pouted. After that, Lin Xuan gently put Li Mengyao back on the shore, took out a cute swimming ring from the side, handed it to her, and said gently, "Wife, put it on and try swimming." Li Mengyao took the swimming ring, put it on carefully, and then jumped into the swimming pool. She floated on the water nervously, not daring to make any big movements. Seeing this, Lin Xuan quickly took her hand and encouraged her, "Don't be afraid, wife. Try to push the water backwards with your calves and feel the power of the water." Li Mengyao nodded, and according to Lin Xuan's instructions, she swam forward slowly with her calves moving hard. Since Li Mengyao is currently pregnant, practicing breathing requires her to hold her breath frequently, which may affect the oxygen supply and cause hypoxia in pregnant women and fetuses. So for safety reasons, Lin Xuan did not recommend her to practice breathing. So he continued to patiently guide Li Mengyao, and let her get familiar with the water first. Gradually, Li Mengyao's movements became more and more skillful, and a happy smile appeared on her face. At the same time, in the game room on the basement floor of the villa, Lin Cixi was sitting in front of the computer desk, holding the mouse tightly in both hands, her eyes fixed on the screen, her face full of tension and concentration. However, despite her best efforts, she continued to lose several games in a row, which made her very angry. "I don't want to play anymore." Lin Cixi slammed the table angrily, stood up, and went upstairs to find something to eat to comfort her wounded heart. She walked into the villa elevator, pressed the button, and soon arrived at the ground floor. After walking out of the elevator, she went straight to the kitchen and took out a large bag of snacks. Just as she tore open the package and prepared to eat, she suddenly heard a burst of laughter coming from not far away. Lin Cixi looked back and saw her brother and sister-in-law swimming happily in the villa garden. "The stinky old man didn't even call me. No wonder he told me to have fun in the game room this morning." Lin Cixi has loved swimming since she was a child. So she put down the snacks in her hand, hurried back to the room, changed into a tight swimsuit, then quickly trotted to the garden swimming pool and jumped in. "Brother, sister-in-law, I'm here to make dumplings too." Chapter 77. Just once. "Husband, please." In the blink of an eye, it was afternoon. After a good sleep, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao received the carefully selected seaside wedding album from the photography company. A set of soft and comfortable sofas was placed in the spacious and bright hall. Shang Xiaolan sat on it, with her daughter-in-law Li Mengyao sitting on her left and her son Lin Xuan on her right. Above the sofa, a small and cute head popped up. It was Lin Cixi. "It's really beautiful." Shang Xiaolan gently flipped through the album in her hand, her admiration evident in her words. "Every page is a classic." She continued. Ma, which one do you like best? Li Mingyao asked with a smile. This one is so beautiful. Shang Shulan pointed to a photo in the picture. Li Mingyao was sitting on the reef as gracefully as a fairy, while Lin Xuan was kneeling on one knee, proposing to her affectionately. At this moment, Lin Zhengjiuo was pacing back and forth behind them, and he also wanted to join in. However, the four little heads were pressed tightly together, covering the album completely, and no one could see anything. Lin Zhengjiuo had no choice but to quietly return to the sofa opposite and sit down. Ding dong! Suddenly, Lin Xuan's cell phone rang with a crisp sound. Lin Zhengjiuo, son, I want to see it too. Lin Xuan, Dad, wait a minute, I have an online version. Lin Zhengjiuo, send it quickly. Afterwards, Lin Xuan sent the online version of the album pictures to the group of loving families. Then, Lin Zhengjiuo began to carefully look at the beautiful wedding photos of his son and daughter-in-law taken at the beach, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. Lin Xuan selected 9 photos from these photos, which could just be put together to form a 9-square grid, and posted an update on his moments. Lin Xuan wrote in the copy, "The memory of the sea. The trace of love." Soon, a series of comments appeared below. Chu Quan. Wow, Brother Xuan, you are so romantic. Zhang Zhesheng. Brother Xuan, you are the one who knows how to show off your love. Chen Jingming, what about the wedding? Lin W. Anking, my sister-in-law is so pretty. At the same time, Li Mingyao also posted the same content on her circle of friends. Her caption reads, "Your company is the harbor of my heart. Chen Man, Yao Yao is so beautiful. Yang Lin, oh my god, this is too sweet. The Uuxin. My Yao Yao must be happy, kiss." After dinner in the evening, Lin Xuan took Li Mingyao to the park near Yanhae House for a walk. The environment in the park is very beautiful. Not only is it accompanied by the sea, but it is also surrounded by green trees. It is so pleasant. There are aunties dancing in the square, children playing on the slide, and some young people jogging to exercise. Lin Xuan and Li Mingyao walked in the park hand in hand, talking and laughing. Suddenly, Li Mingyao stopped and stood there, her beautiful eyes fixed on the food street not far ahead. Lin Xuan reacted instantly and quickly blocked her view with his tall body. He said gently, "Wife, we are almost there, are we ready to go back?" However, Li Mingyao did not respond to him, but smiled brightly and said, "Hubby, I want to eat that." She stretched out her slender little hand and pointed to the food street ahead. Lin Xuan said helplessly, "Wife, I can go home and cook whatever you wanna eat for you. I'm just worried that the food outside is not very hygienic." After hearing this, Li Mingyao pouted her lips, looked at Lin Xuan pitifully, and said cockathiously, "Hubby, I really want to eat it, just this once, okay?" As he said this, he stretched out a finger and made one gesture, indicating that he would only eat a little. "No," Lin Xuan said with a straight face. "Oh, just once, husband." Li Mingyao became anxious when she heard it, and hurriedly grabbed Lin Xuan's arm and shook it. "Although my husband's cooking is delicious, we should also have a taste of worldly life occasionally." Li Mingyao stared with her round eyes and pouted her little mouth, looking very cute. Under Li Mingyao's soft, hard, and cute offensive, Lin Xuan finally agreed reluctantly. Then, hand in hand, they came to a busy and complicated food street. There are people coming and going here, and the aroma of various delicious dishes wafts into the air, making people salivate. Li Mingyao excitedly pulled Lin Xuan to a small stall. "Boss, could you please give me 2 servings of grilled lamb kebabs?" she shouted happily. "Okay, 10 yuan a string, a total of 20 yuan. The boss responded enthusiastically. After a while, Lin Xuan and Li Mingyao had a steaming skewer of lamb in their hands. Lin Xuan took a bite first. Although the quality of the mutton skewer was not very good, it was at least fresh. "Hubby, this is for you." Li Mingyao handed the half-eaten lamb skewer to Lin Xuan. "What, can't eat anymore? If you can't eat, let's go back," he took the opportunity to say. "No, I want to try a little bit of each, and then I'll leave the rest to you, my husband." Li Mingyao playfully stuck out her cute little tongue and blinked her bright big eyes. "This girl is really smart." Lin Xuan smiled helplessly, and then Li Mingyao took his hand to continue exploring the bustling food street. "Boss, please give us 2 servings of shengji and bao." "Boss, please give us 2 servings of grilled squid." "Wow, this looks delicious." "Boss, give us 2 servings of octopus balls." At this moment, Li Mingyao suddenly smelled a familiar stench, and an excited smile instantly appeared on her face. "Boss, could you please give me 2 servings of stinky?" Lin Xuan was quick to grab Li Mingyao and stop her from saying the words that were about to come out of her mouth. He said to the boss with an embarrassed look on his face, "No need for stinky tofu. Wife, you're pregnant now, so it's better not to eat fermented food like stinky tofu, okay?" Lin Xuan persuaded softly. "Okay." Although Li Mingyao felt a little disappointed, she still nodded obediently. Soon, the two were almost full. After Li Mengyao put the last octopus ball into Lin Xuan's mouth, she patted her stomach contentedly and prepared to go home. At this moment, Lin Xuan glanced inadvertently and suddenly found a small stall selling candied haws not far ahead. His eyes lit up, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. He turned to look at his wife beside him and asked gently, "Wife, do you want to eat candied haws?" As he said this, "No want." At the same time, not far away, Shang Huiyan was watching all this quietly. When she saw how close, happy and sweet Lin Xuan and how beautiful Lin Xuan's wife was, she finally understood why Lin Xuan loved his wife so much. Chapter 78 Wife, I'm back. After Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao continued to stay in Yunhai City for a few days, they began to prepare to return to Jinghai City today. At noon that day, the family gathered together for a sumptuous lunch. After dinner, Shang Shelin came to the Xiaomi SU7 with a pile of luggage and started stuffing it into the trunk. "Mom, that's enough there, no more room." Lin Xuan looked at his mother's busy figure helplessly and began to persuade her. "Sure, believe in mom's ability," Shang Shelin replied without raising her head, her hands moving non-stop. She stuffed bag after bag into the trunk until the entire space was filled, and there was still room for more in the front. Finally, all the luggage was loaded into the car. And Shang Shelin clapped her hands contentedly. "Okay, that's about it," she said. "Everything is ready." Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao say goodbye to their parents. "Son, Mengyao, come back often when you have time," Shang Shelin reminded with a smile. "Be careful on the road," Lin's Ngguo added. "Brother, sister-in-law, remember to come back often." Lin Sisi held Li Mengyao's hand and said reluctantly. "Okay, Mom and Dad," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Sisi, you can come to Jinghai City to play when you have time," Li Mengyao said to Lin Sisi with a smile. "Okay, I will definitely go." Lin Sisi nodded happily. Afterwards, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao got into the Xiaomi SU7. The intelligent driving system automatically positioned itself at Jinwan Mansion in Jinghai City. And then the car started slowly and drove away from the Yunhai home villa. Lin Xuan looked back through the car window and saw his parents and sister standing at the door, waving goodbye to them. His heart was filled with warmth and emotion, knowing that no matter where he went, his family would always be his strongest support. Just as the car was about to arrive in Jinghai City, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao's future tech watches suddenly issued a warning voice. "Warning! Master's destination, Jinghai City, will be hit by a strong typhoon in the next 4 days, please take precautions." Strong typhoon? Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao were both slightly stunned. After the two looked at each other, they both looked out the window and found that the sun was shining brightly outside. It didn't look like there was a strong typhoon at all. "Is it true?" Li Mengyao asked with a frown. "It should be true," Lin Xuan replied. Lin Xuan still has great faith in the system. Soon, the Xiaomi SU7 parked steadily in the parking lot of Jinwan Mansion, and Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao finally returned to Jinghai City. After Lin Xuan moved all his luggage back to Jinwan Mansion, he prepared to go out. "Honey, where are you going?" Li Mengyao asked. "I'm going to buy some food for the next 4 days and some emergency items. I'm worried that I won't be able to go out after the strong typhoon comes," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Oh, okay, then you should come back early." Li Mengyao looked at the sky outside the window, and it was still sunny. She said with some concern, "But we have to face a strong typhoon right after arriving here. Isn't it a bit lucky?" "It's okay. We can have a good time at home for a few days anyway," Lin Xuan comforted. "Well, then you should be careful on the road." Li Mengyao nodded slightly. "Okay." Lin Xuan held Li Mengyao's face, kissed her tender lips gently, then turned and left. Li Mengyao simply cleaned the house. As she was cleaning quietly, she raised her head inadvertently and her heart suddenly tightened. She was surprised to find that the left side of the sky was still sunny, but on the right side there was a huge dark cloud, accompanied by lightning, approaching at an alarming speed. The clear blue sky and white clouds disappeared in an instant. Before long, the entire Jinwan prefecture was shrouded in dark clouds, and strong winds howled. Li Mengyao looked out the window worriedly. Although she was very afraid of thunder, she was more worried about her husband who was outside and had not returned yet. On the other side, Lin Xuan bought some food and was about to go shopping for other items. Suddenly, the Black Diamond technology watch on his wrist sounded the alarm again. Alarm. Please note, this super typhoon will further intensify within 10 minutes and become a super typhoon. It is estimated that the eye of the typhoon will land in Jinghai City in 20 minutes. Please evacuate immediately. After hearing this, Lin Xuan ran away, put the things he bought in the trunk of the car, quickly came to the driving seat, drove the Xiaomi SU7 himself and rushed home with his foot on the accelerator. Back in Jinwan Mansion, Li Mengyao also received an alarm from the Pink Diamond technology watch. At this moment, she was extremely anxious, clasped her hands tightly together, and prayed that her husband would return safely within 20 minutes. At this time, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Strong winds, lightning and thunder. Li Mengyao was terrified. She hid behind the door and trembled, staring out the window, hoping that the familiar figure would appear soon. 5 minutes passed and there was still no movement outside the door. 10 minutes passed and there was no sign of Lin Xuan. 15 minutes later, a super typhoon was about to sweep across Jingha, a city. The glass outside the window was banging as if it would break at any time. A violent wind raged and mercilessly tore the entire city apart, making people terrified. Li Mengyao turned pale and covered her ears with her hands, trying to ease her fear. She tremblingly turned on the positioning system of her high-tech watch to check Lin Xuan's location. The positioning system showed that Lin Xuan was speeding towards home, getting closer and closer to Jinwan Mansion. Seeing this news, Li Mengyao felt relieved. She stood at the door anxiously, observing the situation outside through the camera outside the door. Finally, the 20 minutes had passed and the super typhoon had officially landed in Jingha City. The wind was howling, the rain was pouring, and the whole world became dark. The entire Jingha city seemed to be caught in a whirlpool of terror in an instant, and the city's tall buildings were shaking in the strong wind. However, Li Mengyao stared at the positioning system of the watch. Lin Xuan's location showed that he was already in Jinwan Mansion. He didn't answer the phone. Why didn't he come up yet? Could it be that he encountered some danger downstairs in Jinwan Mansion? Thinking of this, Li Mengyao became very scared and her eyes gradually turned red. She stood at the door waiting anxiously, pacing back and forth. Just when Li Mengyao decided to go downstairs to look for Lin Xuan and was about to open the door suddenly opened. Lin Xuan walked in, all wet, with a big bag in his hand. His hair was wet from the rain, his clothes were completely soaked, and he looked in a state of disarray. But when he saw Li Mengyao, a smile immediately appeared on his face and he said softly, "Wife, I'm back." This call made Li Mengyao burst into tears instantly. She threw herself into Lin Xuan's arms without hesitation and hugged him tightly, as if she was afraid that he would disappear again. Wow, Li Mengyao cried very sadly. Her tears were like a flood that broke through the dam and she couldn't stop them. "Wife, I'm sorry for making you worry." Lin Xuan patted her back gently and comforted her. Li Mengyao raised her head, looked at Lin Xuan with tearful eyes, and said with a sob, "No, don't apologize, husband. It's good that you are back. It's good that you are back." She grasped Lin Xuan's clothes tightly with both hands, as if only in this way could she confirm that he had really returned to her side. Outside the house, the super typhoon was still raging across the entire Jingha city, with howling winds and heavy rain. The two people in the house hugged each other tightly, enjoying each other's warmth and love. There is no wind or rain in their world, only the existence of each other. Chapter 79. Even if his teammates are idle, he will win. Lin Xuan gently held Li Mengyao's face, wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes with his thumb, and said softly, "Don't cry, I'm fine." Li Mengyao still couldn't stop her tears and looked at Lin Xuan with tearful eyes. "It won't look good if the baby cries anymore." Lin Xuan looked at the person in front of him with a look of heartache and comforted him softly. "It doesn't matter if it doesn't look good, as long as my husband is here," Li Mengyao said while choking. "Hubby, go change your clothes, otherwise we will both catch a cold, okay?" Lin Xuan coaxed Li Mengyao with tenderness in his eyes. "I'll go with you." Li Mengyao sniffed and held Lin Xuan's hand tightly. "Good." Lin Xuan smiled slightly, letting Li Mengyao hold his hand tightly, and the two of them went to the bedroom together. "Husband is going to change clothes. Can you let go of one of your hands first?" Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao lovingly and asked with a smile. "Okay." Quickly let go of her little hand, then turned her head away shyly, not daring to look at Lin Xuan. Seeing this, Lin Xuan quickly took off all his wet clothes and threw them aside. Soon, Lin Xuan changed into a set of dry and comfortable pajamas, and looked refreshed. "Wife, your clothes are wet, to change them quickly, otherwise you will catch a cold and get sick," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "And husband, you turn around first," Li Mengyao said shyly. "Good." Lin Xuan turned around obediently. If it were any other time, he would definitely not be so honest and would definitely not be able to resist playing a trick on Li Mengyao. But now that my wife has just been so frightened, it's better to tease her as little as possible. As Lin Xuan was thinking, suddenly a pair of small hands gently wrapped around his waist. He smiled slightly and turned to face Li Mengyao, who looked aggrieved and tearful. "Your husband is always here and will never abandon you and the baby. Don't think too much. Can we sleep together?" Lin Xuan comforted gently. "Yeah." Li Mengyao nodded slightly and responded with a slightly coquettish tone. Lin Xuan carefully picked up Li Mengyao, gently placed her on the bed, and then lay down next to her. "Wife, sleep well, everything will be fine when you wake up." Lin Xuan coaxed her to sleep softly. Perhaps because she felt the warmth from Lin Xuan, or maybe because she was tired from crying, Li Mengyao soon fell asleep in Lin Xuan's arms. After Li Mengyao fell into a deep sleep, Lin Xuan got up carefully, left the room, and put the food he had bought away properly. And he went into the kitchen and began to prepare dinner for Li Mengyao. He knew that Li Mengyao would definitely be hungry when she woke up. After preparing dinner, Lin Xuan put the food into the thermal cabinet, then looked at the time. It was already past 8 o'clock in the evening. He walked into the room again, returned to Li Mengyao's side, lay down quietly, feeling her breathing. His heart filled with peace and satisfaction. Perhaps sensing some movement around her, Li Mengyao slowly opened her beautiful eyes. "Wife, are you hungry?" Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao tenderly and asked softly. "Well, I'm hungry. Hubby, carry me there." Li Mengyao nodded slightly, stretched out her hands, and a faint smile appeared on her face. "Okay." Lin Xuan smiled doubtingly, then gently picked up Li Mengyao by the waist. Soon, they arrived at the restaurant. Lin Xuan gently placed Li Mengyao on the chair, then turned around, opened the warming cabinet, and took out the steaming dinner. "Honey, when did you cook dinner?" Li Mengyao asked curiously. "Just now when you fell asleep," Lin Xuan said with a smile. Li Mengyao felt warm in her heart and felt surrounded by happiness. She couldn't help but move her little head forward and gently left a sweet kiss on Lin Xuan's lips. "Thank you, husband," Li Mengyao said with a red face, and then started to eat her meal in small bites. Lin Xuan sat aside, watching his wife eat quietly, his eyes full of pampering and happiness. After dinner, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao snuggled together on the spacious and soft sofa, enjoying this warm moment. At this time, the strong wind was still howling outside, but the room was filled with a warm atmosphere. "Wife, are you still scared now?" Lin Xuan asked gently, stroking Li Mengyao's hair gently. "A little bit." Li Mengyao still held Lin Xuan tightly. "Wife, let's play a game." Lin Xuan suddenly suggested he wanted his wife to play games to distract herself and not be so scared anymore. "Okay, what shall we play?" Li Mengyao instantly became interested and smiled happily. "The King of Pesticides." Lin Xuan thought of a game that Li Mengyao could quickly get started with. After all, Summoner's Rift is still a bit difficult for most girls. "Honey, I've played this game before," Li Mengyao said in a low voice. "After playing ranked games with UXIN a few times, I stopped playing. UXIN, Yao Yao and I played 5 ranked games, and she gave away 100 kills, which is an average of 20 kills per game. I can't do that." "Why?" "Because every time I was resurrected I died not long after." Li Mengyao pouted her lips a grieved lie and said with an innocent look on her face. Lin Xuan couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Don't laugh." Seeing this, Li Mengyao pouted angrily and gently hit Lin Xuan's chest with her little fist. Okay, I won't laugh anymore." Lin Xuan comforted her quickly, then looked at her seriously. "It's okay, I think it must be UXIN's problem, not my wife's." "The UXIN. When your husband takes you out to play, he promises to make you take off," Lin Xuan said confidently, patting his chest. "Are you kidding? Lin Xuan is a man at the top of the canyon after all. How could he lose to a mere king of pesticides? Even if his teammates are idle, he will win." "Really? Husband?" Li Mengyao looked at Lin Xuan with expectant eyes. "Of course, wife. Come on." Lin Xuan opened his phone confidently. Li Mengyao also turned on her cell phone. "Me." As the game's sound effect sounded, the two of them entered the World of Honor of Kings together. Their ranks are both platinum. Lin Xuan dropped to this rank because he hadn't played the game for a long time, while Li Mengyao tried her best to reach the highest rank she could. "It's just the platinum rank, can't one hand win?" DCH, Lin Xuan showed a disdainful expression. Chapter 80. It's all the other 3 teammates' fault. Effete. Lin Xuan looked at the phone screen with an unwilling look on his face. "Lost again? My wife is really not good at playing games. Honey, I'm sorry, I lost again." Lin Xuan quickly hugged Li Mengyao tightly in his arms and comforted her gently. "Honey, there's nothing to be sorry about it. It's all the fault of the other 3 teammates. As he spoke, he gently lifted Li Mengyao's chin and kissed her affectionately. "It's getting late, we should go to bed," Lin Xuan said softly, his eyes full of pampering. "Yeah." Li Mengyao nodded obediently, allowing Lin Xuan to hold her and slowly walk towards the bedroom. Lin Xuan thought, if he continued to lose, he might not be able to sleep tonight. Back on the soft and comfortable big bed, the two hugged each other tightly and soon fell into a sweet dream. In the past few days, the landing of the super typhoon has brought huge impact to Jinghe City, and many places have suffered from water and power outages. However, Jinwan Mansion where Lin Xuan lived was not greatly affected and the water and electricity supply were still normal. This is entirely due to the good quality of the community and the perfect preventive measures. During this special period, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao not only watched movies and TV series every day, but also played games happily together. After Lin Xuan experienced another series of defeats, he couldn't bear it anymore. "Wife, have you ever considered changing to a different hero?" Lin Xuan said to Li Mengyao with a smile. Li Mengyao likes to play Bull Demon King very much. She rushes up to him when she sees him. I think the Bull Demon King is quite interesting. Li Mengyao blinked her big eyes and replied. Who taught you to play Bull Demon King? Lin Juan asked curiously. Xin, she said that her little braised egg would feel safer with a big guy in front of her. Li Mengyao replied. That's just nonsense. Wife, let me recommend a hero that is more suitable for you. Her name is Yao Mei. Lin Juan laughed after hearing this. And then said seriously. Sister Yao, I don't think I have ever played this hero. Li Mengyao asked puzzled Lai. It's very simple, just click on the bright spot and choose your husband when you use the ultimate move, Lin Juan said with a smile. Okay. I'll try. Li Mengyao nodded slightly, indicating that she understood. So they started a game again. With this round, Lin Juan finally won. In the blink of an eye. A few days passed and the super typhoon slowly left the city. That night, Li Mengyao was leaning quietly against the head of the bed reading a book, while Lin Juan was lying on the bed, staring at his wife with a dull look. Lin Juan was counting the days silently in his mind, and suddenly realized that Li Mengyao was already 16 weeks pregnant and would soon be 17 weeks. At this time, a hearing of the babies in the belly begins to develop slowly, and they can already feel some sound stimulation from the outside world, so prenatal education can be carried out. Thinking of this, Lin Juan couldn't help but quietly move a little closer to Li Mengyao, and then gently lifted her clothes. Hubby, what are you doing again? Li Mengyao was startled and quickly threw the book in her hand aside, reaching out to grab Lin Juan's hand, trying to stop him. But it was too late. Lin Juan had already seen her white and tender belly. Wife, look. Our baby is already 16 weeks old. They can start prenatal education for the babies from now on. Lin Juan showed a happy smile on his face. Oh, then how do you plan to do prenatal education? Li Mengyao blinked confused and asked curiously. Prepare like this. After saying that, Lin Juan lowered his head and gently kissed Li Mengyao's soft belly, which exuded a fragrance. Stinky husband. Li Mengyao was so itchy that she stretched out her hands and pushed Lin Juan's head hard. Okay. I was wrong. Let's start the music prenatal education now. Lin Juan quickly begged for mercy. And Lin Juan took out his mobile phone, found a song called Twinkle Twinkle Little Star Variations, and started playing it. Li Mengyao lay on the bed, listening quietly to the beautiful melody. A happy smile on her face, and she felt happy both physically and mentally. Lin Juan gently put his ear against Li Mengyao's belly, listening carefully to the movements inside. Although he knew that he couldn't hear fetal movement through his stomach at this time, he still wanted to try and feel the baby's presence. After listening to a song, Lin Juan opened his mobile phone again and found Brahms' Lullaby to continue playing. This song has a beautiful melody and a soothing rhythm, making people feel as if they are in a quiet forest. As Li Mengyao listened, she gradually fell asleep. Looking at her peaceful sleeping face, Lin Juan couldn't help but smile, then carefully covered her with the quilt. Ding dong! A crisp and pleasant sound rang out. Congratulations to the host for completing the baby's prenatal music education. Reward top music master skills. Please check. In an instant, a stream of magical knowledge flooded into Lin Juan's mind like a tide. This knowledge includes a variety of music technique theories and performance methods. Lin Juan closed his eyes, feeling the impact of this knowledge. When he opened his eyes again, they were shining with confidence and white. At this time, he possessed unparalleled musical talent. After secretly admiring the power of the system, Lin Juan turned off the music. Lay back on the bed, hugged Li Mengyao tightly, closed his eyes, and fell asleep together. The next morning, sunlight poured into the room through the window, and Lin Juan slowly opened his eyes. Last night's typhoon has long gone, the sky is clear blue, and the place is peaceful and tranquil. Lin Juan left the bed quietly. Afraid to wake up Li Mengyao, who was still sleeping soundly, he went into the kitchen and prepared to make a hearty breakfast. After Lin Juan finished his breakfast, he put Li Mengyao's portion into the thermal cabinet. And he returned to the room, sat gently on the edge of the bed, looked at Li Mengyao's sweet sleeping posture, and couldn't help laughing softly. Lin Juan gently stroked her hair and said softly, "Little lazy bug, I'm going to the company, remember to have breakfast." After that, he left a soft kiss on her forehead and turned to leave the room. Lin Juan came to the underground parking lot of Jinwan Mansion and found his Mavic S6 Fabricati, which he had not driven for a long time. This luxury car has been parked here for some time, but it still retains its brilliance. Lin Juan opened the car door, sat in the driver's seat, and felt the familiar atmosphere in the car. He started the engine, and the Mavic emitted a deep and powerful roar. He then drove out of the parking lot and headed towards Jinwan Technology Co. Limited. He hasn't been to the company for so long, the security guards may not recognize him. Not long after, Lin Juan arrived at the gate of Jinwan Technology Co. Limited. However, as he expected, his Mavic was stopped by a security guard as he was about to enter. "Young man, who are you?" the security guard asked seriously. Chapter 81. Why are you all staring at each other? I am the chairman of this company, please open the door. Lin Juan said with a smile. Chairman, why haven't I seen you before? Whose chairman is so young? The security guard didn't believe Lin Juan's nonsense at all. Just as the two were in an awkward stalemate, a man in a security uniform walked over quickly. Captain, you're here at the right time. This young man said he was the chairman of the company. I was just about to ask him to leave quickly. As he spoke, the security guard pointed at Lin Juan. Really? Let me see. The security captain looked in the direction the security uncle pointed and instantly took a breath. And he turned around and scolded the security guard. This is the chairman of our company. Open the door. Then, he quickly put on a flattering smile and looked at Lin Juan cautiously. Good morning, MRLN. I'm very sorry this person is new here, so he doesn't know you. Please be magnanimous and don't bother with him. Lin Juan raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a gentle smile. It doesn't matter, he is very dedicated and deserves praise. After saying that, Lin Juan waved his hand gently, signaling the security guard not to be nervous, and then started the car and drove in. Soon, he arrived at the chairman's office on the top floor. As soon as he entered the office, Lin Juan made himself a cup of hot tea, then sat leisurely in the spacious and comfortable office chair, carefully reading the piles of documents and reports on the table. These are the company's recent operational reports. Although Yuan has managed it very well, he still briefly reviewed them. Since Lin Juan arrived very early, there was still some time before he officially started work. As time went by, other employees began to arrive at the company and started their busy day. Director Lin. As Xu Siyu just walked to the office door, she saw that the door of the chairman's office was open. Her heart tightened, and she walked over quickly. She found that it was the chairman Lin Juan, who had disappeared for half a month. Sorry, MRLN, I'm late, Xu Siyu said with her head down. She was 10 minutes late today because she missed the first subway. It's okay, I don't have any strict requirements on working hours. Just eat your breakfast first. Lin Juan smiled slightly and spoke in a gentle tone. He always believed that as long as he could complete the work on time, it was okay to be a little late for work. Okay, Xu Siyu was a little surprised, but still fled back to her office in a panic, and then wolfed down her breakfast. Chairman Lin finally came here once, but he was late. Thinking of this, Xu Siyu couldn't help but speed up his chewing, hoping to finish eating as soon as possible. After a while, Xu Siyu quickly finished her breakfast and returned to the door of the chairman's office. MRLN, what can I do for you? Xu Siyu took a deep breath and tried to make her tone sound calmer. Regarding the super typhoon a few days ago, I wonder how our company's employees are doing now. Is anyone encountering any difficulties? Lin Juan frowned and asked Xu Siyu with some concern. Xu Siyu nodded and replied, Yes, Director Lin. This super typhoon has had a certain impact on the company's employees. But fortunately everyone has safely evacuated the danger zone. Only the residences and vehicles of some employees suffered varying degrees of damage. Some employees were unable to go to work as normal because they needed to be transferred to a safe location. But overall, everyone is strong and there are no major problems. Lin Juan breathed a sigh of relief, and then asked, So are there any employees injured? I want to know the details. Xu Siyu thought for a moment and replied, Well actually, a few employees suffered minor injuries. They were injured by objects blown down by the wind, and are currently receiving treatment in the hospital. Doctors said their injuries were not serious and they are expected to recover and be discharged soon. Then you send out a notice that the company has decided to give each affected employee a consolation payment of 10,000 yuan for the injured employees. The company will pay for the medical expenses, Lin Juan said. Okay, MRLN. Xu Siyu returned to her office and started to get busy. Lin Juan then continued to focus on the documents at hand. At this moment, General Manager Yuan came to the chairman's office. Director Lin. Lin Juan raised his head, showed a warm smile, stood up to greet him at the door, and said kindly, Boss Liu, please come in. After Li Wen walked into the office with a smile, Lin Juan handed him a cup of hot tea and the two sat down to talk. The company has been running very well recently, President Liu. It's all thanks to your strategic planning, Lin Juan praised. No, it's all thanks to your great leadership, Mr. Lin. I'm just doing my duty, Liu Wen also responded with a smile. Lin Juan thought to himself, I don't seem to have done anything. By the way, Director Lin, the company recently signed a big project, which will bring the company 30 additional income in the future. How do you think we should arrange this money? I see. How about this? Give each employee a 10 salary increase and allocate 5 to middle level and above leaders as dividends. The rest will continue to be invested in the company's daily operations. Lin Juan smiled, his eyes revealing determination and confidence. Okay, MRLN, Li Wen said excitedly. Hearing this, a hint of surprise and emotion flashed in Li Wen's eyes. You know, if it was the previous chairman, he might have taken most of the profits for himself, but Lin Juan was the first to think of raising the employees' salaries, which really made him admire him very much. Then Liu Wen reported to Lin Xuan about the company's recent operations and put forward some suggestions and questions. Finally, Liu Wen said gratefully, "Director Lin, I will go back to work first." Lin Xuan nodded and responded with a smile, "Go ahead." Liu Wen then left the chairman's office. Lin Xuan saw that the work here had been almost settled, and thought of his good brother Zhang Zesheng, who was still working as a department manager in the RD department, so he decided to go down and see him. Soon, Lin Xuan took the elevator to the RD department on the 5th floor. As soon as he walked out of the elevator, he felt a tense and busy atmosphere. Lin Xuan walked into the RD department's conference room and found that a meeting was being held inside. He immediately recognized Zhang Zesheng sitting in the chairman's seat, who was concentrating on discussing something with other employees. I saw him carefully analyzing various technical problems, proposing solutions, and then breaking down the tasks. Lin Xuan gently pushed the door open and stood at the door, observing quietly. Finally, Zhang Zesheng said something at the end. "I guarantee no rest on Saturday, but I don't guarantee rest on Sunday. This is the situation, please help everyone during this period." Because Lin Xuan had his back to Zhang Zesheng, he did not notice it. But the employees below were looking at Director Lin in surprise. "This is only temporary, why are you all staring at each other?" Zhang Zesheng turned his head doubtfully. "Chapter 82 Is your father Liu Wen?" Zhang Zesheng looked back and saw Lin Xuan looking at him with a smile. "Hey, Mr. Lin, when did you come back?" Zhang Zesheng quickly stood up, a look of surprise on his face, and hurried to greet him. "You have all worked hard, let's adjourn the meeting first," Lin Xuan said to the employees below with a smile. As he finished speaking, the employees in the RD department stood up and left the meeting room one after another. After everyone left, Lin Xuan looked at Zhang Zesheng and said teasingly with a smile, "You are great, you little brat, you have learned how to exploit your employees. Do you even guarantee them a break?" Hearing Lin Xuan's words, Zhang Zesheng suddenly felt a little embarrassed, scratched his head, and explained, "Father Xuan, didn't you sign a big project recently? So we have to hurry up and catch up on the progress, and I've given you enough overtime pay." Lin Xuan nodded to show his understanding, but still said seriously, "We can't let employees not rest under normal circumstances. We should ensure today's off a week. Now, under special circumstances, we must have one day off on Saturday and Sunday to maintain the team's combat effectiveness and efficiency." "Okay, Brother Xuan, I understand. But Zesheng, you have done a good job recently," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "That's all thanks to Lin's promotion. I really want to make progress," Zhang Zesheng also joked. "Okay, stop talking to me about this nonsense. I'm going home to be with my wife. Let's find some time to get together with the brothers in the dormitory some other day," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Okay. No problem," Zhang Zesheng replied with a smile. Afterwards, he sent Lin Xuan out of the RD office, and then turned back to his workstation, continued to be busy. Lin Xuan returned to the chairman's office, packed up briefly and prepared to take the elevator downstairs. As the elevator slowly rose from the first floor, the door gradually opened, and a familiar figure appeared in front of Lin Xuan. "Liu-Xin?" Lin Xuan widened his eyes, his face full of shock. "Lin Xuan?" Liu-Xin was also shocked. The two of them exclaimed almost at the same time, with expressions of disbelief on their faces. "Lin Xuan, why are you here?" Liu-Xin asked in surprise, with a puzzled gleam in her eyes. Lin Xuan smiled and said, "I work here? But you, why are you here?" "I came to get something from my dad, he's the general manager of this company. So if you need any help, you can come to me," Liu-Xin smiled. Seeing how well Lin Xuan had taken care of Li Mingyao during this period, Liu-Xin put aside her doubts about him. Now that she saw that Lin Xuan was her father's subordinate, she would definitely help in any way she could. "Your father is Liu Wen?" Lin Xuan asked in surprise. "Yes, so if you have any questions, just tell me and I will let my dad help you." Liu-Xin nodded slightly, with a proud expression on her face. Just then, Liu Wen walked out of the general manager's office and saw his daughter chatting with Director Lin. His eyes suddenly lit up and he instantly felt that there was hope. "MRLN, let me introduce you. This is my daughter, Liu-Xin. Like you, she graduated from Jingha University." Liu Wen walked up to Lin Xuan and introduced her to him with a smile. "What, Dad, you said he is Mr. Lin?" Liu-Xin widened her eyes and looked at Lin Xuan in disbelief. "Yes, he is the chairman of our company," Liu Wen said. After hearing this, Liu-Xin was completely stunned. She could never have imagined that Lin Xuan, such a young man, would be the chairman of the company and her father's immediate superior. What made her feel even more ashamed was that she had just told Lin Xuan that if he needed any help, he could come to her at any time. "Mr. Liu, actually Uxin, and I have known each other for a long time. She is my wife's best friend," Lin Xuan explained with a smile. "So that's the case. I didn't expect that Mr. Lin got married at such a young age." Liu Wen smiled awkwardly. Li Yuan secretly cursed his useless daughter in his heart for not taking action on such a good man earlier. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Lin Xuan said goodbye to the two of them. Wait, Lin Xuan? Is Yao Yao at home now? Liu Yuxian suddenly asked. Yes, she is at home. Lin Xuan nodded and replied. Then can I go play with Yao Yao later? I haven't seen her for a long time. Liu Yuxian asked, a little embarrassed. Why? Of course, but I have to buy some vegetables to cook later, so you can go directly, Lin Xuan said after thinking for a while. Okay, Liu Yuxian said happily. In fact, she had wanted to go find Yao Yao to play for a long time. And this was a good opportunity for her to have a good chat with her, and she could also have a meal with Lin Xuan, which was really killing two birds with one stone. Then, Lin Xuan came to the company's parking lot, got into his Maybach, started the engine, and sped towards the vegetable market. At the same time, Yu Yuxian also walked out of her father's office and drove straight to Jinwan Mansion. Ding dong. At this moment, Li Mengyao was sitting quietly on the sofa, reading a book attentively. Suddenly, the ringing of the doorbell broke the silence and made her nervous instantly. Since the house is equipped with a smart door lock, it does not require a key to open it, so the person who rang the doorbell was definitely not her husband. So who is it? With an uneasy mood, Li Mengyao walked to the door carefully and looked out through the camera on the gate. There is no one? Just as she was puzzled, a familiar voice came into her ears. Hey, I'm here. Li Mengyao looked carefully and found that it was her good friend Liu Yuxian. Liu Yuxian poked her head out from the corridor beside her and winked at her mischievously. Li Mengyao couldn't help but be stunned for a moment after confirming that the person in front of her was indeed Liu Yuxian. Her heart finally settled down and she opened the door with a smile. Hey, Yao Yao, you didn't expect it was me? Liu Yuxian's face was filled with joy. She jumped to Li Mengyao and hugged her. Li Mengyao was startled by Yu Yuxian's sudden action, but she quickly recovered and rolled her eyes helplessly. Xin. Are you childish? You are so grown up and still playing such childish tricks. It's been a while since I last saw Yao Yao. Let's go and have a good chat. And the two of them went to the sofa in the living room and started chatting. Li Mengyao was also very happy after all. She hadn't seen her best friend Liu Yuxian for a long time. After a while, just as they were chatting excitedly, Li Mengyao heard the sound of the door unlocking. She immediately jumped up from the sofa and walked quickly to the door. She knew that it must be her husband coming back. Wife, I'm back. Lin Xuan pushed open the door with a happy smile on his face. Welcome home. Li Mengyao threw herself into Lin Xuan's arms as usual. Chapter 83. Then you have to ask my husband. Liu Yuxian was also watching from the side. And what was different from the past was that a relieved smile appeared on her face. She was truly happy that her best friend Li Mengyao had found happiness. After Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao spent some time together, Lin Xuan returned to the kitchen to prepare dinner, while Li Mengyao returned to the soft sofa and sat next to Liu Yuxian. Is intimacy enough? Liu Yuxian asked jokingly. A blush appeared on Li Mengyao's delicate face. Then it's my turn. I want to sleep with you at noon today, otherwise I will stay here and not leave. Liu Yuxian said proudly. And you have to ask my husband, Li Mengyao said in a low voice shyly. Liu Yuxian was speechless. On the other side, Lin Xuan was making lunch today. He was going to make a stir-fried fish. But considering that Li Mengyao is pregnant and can't eat spicy food, he only put a little bit of chili, the southerners, slightly spicy. After a while, Lin Xuan finished 3 dishes and 1 soup. Stir-fried fish with garlic, oysters, lettuce with oyster sauce, and kelp and pork rib soup. Let's eat. Lin Xuan walked out of the kitchen with the food and shouted. Li Mengyao and Liu Yuxian couldn't wait to come to the restaurant. Lin Xuan, your cooking skills are amazing. I want to come to your place for dinner every day. Liu Yuxian couldn't help but sigh after eating Lin Xuan's cooking again after a long time. Especially the stir-fried fish when it was served. The fish pieces were golden and attractive, dotted with red peppers and chopped green onions. As soon as the stir-fried fish enters your mouth, the spicy and fragrant flavor instantly spreads in your mouth, making you unable to stop. Sure. It's a good opportunity for me to accompany Mengyao, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Hey, Yao Yao. Let me tell you, Lin Xuan is actually the chairman of my dad's company, Liu Yuxian suddenly said to Li Mengyao. What a coincidence. Li Mengyao, who was eating in small sips at the side, was also slightly stunned. Yes, the world is really that small, Liu Yuxian said with a smile. Lin Xuan, how come you are the chairman of Jinwan Technology Company? Liu Yuxian asked curiously. She vaguely remembered that the previous chairman was not Lin Xuan. It was just acquired not long ago. Lin Xuan replied calmly. Lin Xuan, you are so rich that's a big company, Liu Yuxian said in surprise. The 3 of them ate while chatting happily. After eating, Liu Yuxian took the initiative to grab the bowl and chopsticks. She said that she came here to eat and drink for free, so she had to do something. Lin Xuan had no choice but to let her do it. At noon, Liu Yuxin wanted to take a nap with Li Mengjiao. Lin Xuan watched them leave helplessly, shook his head, turned and walked into his bedroom. He lay on the soft big bed and closed his eyes. However, the two women in the next room were still chattering, and the sound came into his ears through the wall. The two lay on the bed and continued chatting. Yao Yao, let me ask you, have you had any more sex since you got drunk last time? Liu Yuxin asked curiously. What? Li Mengyao looked confused and blinked her big eyes, as if she didn't understand what the other party was saying. Oh, it was that time when you were drunk and threw yourself into Lin Xuan's arms, Liu Yuxin explained anxiously. No, Li Mengyao's cheeks turned red instantly, like a ripe apple. Really not? Liu Yuxin asked. Really not. Li Mengyao nodded shyly, but she was thinking. I was just kissed many times. So are you two just at the kissing stage now? Liu Yuxin showed a sly smile and continued to pry into her best friend's privacy. Yeah, Li Mengyao nodded gently, not daring to look into the other person's eyes. Yao Yao, let me tell you. Liu Yuxin suddenly lowered her voice and a sly smile appeared on her face. Yuxin. Stop talking. Li Mengyao's face turned red, and she quickly covered her face with her hands. Are you shy? Liu Yuxin couldn't help laughing when she saw Li Mengyao's reaction. Stinky Xin. Li Mengyao glared at Liu Yuxin angrily, then reached out to tickle her waist. It's so itchy. Stop scratching. Liu Yuxin begged for mercy with a smile, and the two of them started fighting on the bed. She didn't dare to fight back against Li Mengyao, a pregnant woman, and could only be tickled. When Lin Xuan heard the laughter coming from next door, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Lin Xuan thought to himself that it would be a good choice to let Liu Yuxin come over and accompany his wife occasionally. But without his wife holding him while he slept, Lin Xuan tossed and turned in bed and couldn't fall asleep. Time passed by minute, and Lin Xuan endured it until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Finally, he couldn't help but pick up his phone and sent a text message to Shu Quan. Quaner, are you there? At this moment, Shu Quan was immersed in the game. Collapsed suddenly. He received a text message from Lin Xuan. He immediately stopped what he was doing and quickly replied. I'm here, Brother Xuan. Lin Xuan continued. Is the restaurant about to open? I plan to go over and take a look. Okay. Father Xuan, I'll be there right away. After saying that, Shu Quan happily turned off Beng Tai. With a smile on his face, his luck seemed to be particularly good recently, and he hadn't had any bad luck since he changed the game. Lin Xuan also quickly got up from the bed, put on his clothes and went out. Not long after, he arrived at Xuan Meng Restaurant on the 5th floor of Jinwan Plaza. When he arrived at the place, Lin Xuan found that Shu Quan had not arrived yet, so he waited there for a while. Brother Xuan, I'm here. Shu Quan trotted over. At this time, Shu Quan had already bought his own new car, so he no longer needed Lin Xuan to pick him up. How is the restaurant preparation going recently? When will it open? Lin Xuan looked at Shu Quan and asked. Brother Xuan, everything is basically ready, and the personnel have been gathered. We plan to open in a few days, on August 1st. Shu Quan answered with a smile as he led Lin Xuan into Xuan Meng Restaurant. Lin Xuan glanced at Xuan Meng Restaurant and found that everything was ready just as Shu Quan said. He felt very satisfied. I didn't expect Shu Quan to be so capable. Quaner, is the money enough? Lin Xuan asked. It's enough. And there's still plenty, Shu Quan replied. Okay then, I feel relieved to have you in charge here. By the way, do you have anything to do later? Lin Xuan asked. Nothing, Shu Quan replied. That's great, come with me to see the piano later, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Lin Xuan thought of the top music master skills given by the system, so he planned to buy a piano so that he could give music education to his babies. Chapter 80 For the Wind Rises. Brother Xuan, there is a Steinway piano store downstairs. Shu Quan is quite familiar with Jinwan Plaza because he often comes to this area. Let's go then. Lin Xuan and Shu Quan went to a Steinway piano store on the 2nd floor together. The store is located at the corner of the 2nd floor. The decoration style of the store is simple and generous, giving people a sense of elegance. As soon as the two walked in, a young, handsome and elegant male clerk came to greet them. He was wearing a well-tailored suit and had a friendly and warm smile. Hello. Both of you, are you here to see the Steinway piano? The male clerk asked with a smile, his voice gentle and magnetic. Yes, may I ask what models of Steinway pianos we have in the store now? Lin Xuan asked with a smile, his eyes falling on the pianos displayed in the store. Excuse me, are you buying the Steinway piano mainly for performances? The male clerk continued to ask. No, it's mainly for home use. Okay, please follow me. The male clerk smiled and nodded. Then lead the two people to a piano. The piano lies there quietly, like a work of art. The lines of its body are smooth and elegant, as if it were a carefully carved work of art. The black paint surface is as smooth as silk and sparkles in the light, exuding a mysterious and noble aura. The curve of the edge of the piano lid is natural and graceful. Like the corner of a slightly upturned mouth, the legs are solid and straight, supporting the entire body of the piano. The ivory white keys in the black piano body form a sharp and harmonious contrast, just like the twinkling stars in the night sky. This is a Steinway Piano S155, one of our Steinway Piano line piano series. It is moderately sized, has excellent sound quality, exquisite workmanship, and an elegant design, making it very suitable for home use. The male clerk introduced. Lin Xuan looked at the beautifully designed Steinway Piano S155 piano in front of him. With a hint of surprise in his eyes, he turned to the male clerk and said, "Can I try the sound?" The male clerk smiled politely and replied, "Of course." Chu Quan, who was standing by, was stunned when he heard Lin Xuan's words. He asked in surprise, "Brother Xuan, do you also understand music?" He originally thought that Lin Xuan just wanted to buy a piano for Li Mingyao, but he didn't expect that Lin Xuan actually knew how to test the sound. "I know a little bit," Lin Xuan said with a smile. He then sat down in front of the Steinway Piano S155, adjusting his sitting posture so that his body was at an appropriate distance from the piano to ensure that he could play comfortably. And he stretched out his hands and gently placed them on the keys, starting with the notes near middle C, playing single notes one by one, feeling the touch and timbre of each key. Chu Quan, who was standing by, watched Lin Xuan typing the piano keys one by one, with a smile on his face. "Just play one key at a time. And I can do it too." However, at this moment, a beautiful melody suddenly sounded, interrupting Chu Quan's thoughts. Chu Quan widened his eyes and stared at Lin Xuan. He saw Lin Xuan sitting elegantly in front of the piano, his hands dancing lightly on the keys, as if he was dancing gracefully. His fingers struck each note flexibly and accurately, producing beautiful melodies, which was the climax of The Wind Rises. Lin Xuan hummed softly, his singing accompanied by the sound of the piano, like a stream of clear spring flowing in the air. The male clerk and Chu Quan were both stunned. This was something that only a top pianist could produce. Lin Xuan's singing voice is equally intoxicating, as pleasant as the sound of nature. After the song ended, Lin Xuan slowly stood up with a satisfied smile on his face. He gently stroked the keys, then turned to the male clerk and asked, "Hello, how much is this piano? I want to buy it." The male clerk was obviously still immersed in the wonderful music just now, and he was not awakened until Lin Xuan's voice sounded again. His eyes widened, and he stammered, "This Steinway piano, Piano S155, costs $500,000. Just then, a middle-aged man walked over. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and a well-tailored suit, looking very elegant, like a gentleman. The middle-aged man walked up to Lin Xuan and introduced himself with a smile. "Hello, I am Ezia Chai Yuan, the manager of this store. May I ask your name?" Lin Xuan turned around, looked at Ezia Chai Yuan, and said with a smile, "Hello, my name is Lin Xuan." A hint of surprise flashed in Ezia Chai Yuan's eyes, and he quickly stretched out his hand to shake hands with Lin Xuan, and exclaimed, "Hello, Lin Xuan, I just heard you play a piece on the Steinway piano. It was wonderful. Your piano playing is perfect and I admire it very much. I wonder if you would like to make friends with me." Lin Xuan smiled slightly and nodded in agreement. "As for the price just now, I can give you a certain discount." Ezia Chai Yuan couldn't help but feel happy when he saw Lin Xuan agreed. Specifically, the original price of 500,000 yuan can be reduced by 100,000 yuan. After hearing this, Lin Xuan thought that the discount was not bad, so he readily accepted Ezia Chai Yuan's proposal. Therefore, Ezia Chai Yuan immediately ordered his employees to prepare the relevant procedures, and at the same time invited Lin Xuan and Chu Quan to the VIP room to take a rest. In the VIP room, Lin Xuan and Ezia Chai Yuan continued their pleasant conversation. The two started talking about music, and Ezia Chai Yuan was surprised to find Lin Xuan's amazing knowledge and talent in music. Before I knew it, time passed quickly and it was soon evening. Lin Xuan stood up and said goodbye, thanked Ezia Chai Yuan for his hospitality, and expressed the hope that they would have the opportunity to meet again in the future. Ezia Chai Yuan personally saw Lin Xuan and Chu Quan out. The two sides exchanged contact information and agreed to keep in touch. Ezia Chai Yuan believes that young people who can play such beautiful melodies will definitely achieve great things in the music industry in the future. After the two walked out of the Steinway store, Chu Quan couldn't help but ask, "Brother Xuan, when did you learn music?" "I learned it recently in order to give my baby music prenatal education," Lin Xuan said with a smile. Chu Quan was inexplicably fed another wave of dog food. "Quaner, how are you going to prepare dinner?" Lin Xuan looked at the time and it was almost time to go back and cook for his wife. "Hey, can I go to Brother Xuan's place for a meal? I haven't eaten there for a long time." Chu Quan almost drooled at the thought. "Of course you can, but my wife's best friend is here too. Do you want to go too?" Lin Xuan said with a smile. Chu Quan smiled cheerfully. What are you afraid of? I, Shuquan, have the thickest skin in my body. Chapter 85. My stinky husband lied to me again. Lin Xuan and Shuquan quickly arrived at Jinwan Mansion in their respective cars. As soon as Lin Xuan opened the door, Li Mengyao was already standing at the door to greet him with a smile. I'm back, Lin Xuan said with a gentle smile on his face. Thank you for your hard work, husband. Li Mengyao responded with a slight smile. At this time, Shuquan jumped out from the side and said with a smile on his face, Hello, sister-in-law, I'm here to eat with you again. Hello, come in. Li Mengyao replied with a smile. Then as soon as Shuquan walked into the room, he saw Yu Yuxin sitting on the sofa. He was instantly attracted by her beauty and couldn't help but sigh in his heart, so beautiful. Let me introduce you, this is my college roommate. Liu Yuxin. Li Mengyao then introduced Liu Yuxin to Shuquan. Then Li Mengyao introduced Shuquan. This is Lin Xuan's college roommate. Shuquan. Hello, Li Yuxin said softly. Hello. Hello. For some reason, Shuquan suddenly became a little stuttering and was a little nervous when he spoke. Okay Shuquan. Since you're here to eat for free, come and help me. Lin Xuan glanced at Shuquan and said with a smile. This was the first time he saw Shuquan. A usually lively and cheerful person, looking so nervous. Coming. Shuquan finally came back to his senses and responded. Then, the two of them walked into the kitchen together and started to get busy. In a short while, Lin Xuan prepared a table full of delicious dishes. Lin Xuan, Li Mengyao and Liu Xin were all chatting happily, while Shuquan was eating silently and rarely spoke. This surprised Lin Xuan, but when he noticed that Shuquan was occasionally stealing glances at Liu Yuxin, he understood immediately. Not long after, everyone had finished their dinner, and after chatting for a while, Liu Yuxin and Shuquan left one after another. After taking a shower, Lin Xuan came to the room and saw Li Mengyao preparing to blow-dry her hair. Honey, let me help you, he said with a gentle smile. Okay. Li Mengyao smiled sweetly, full of happiness. Lin Xuan held the hair dryer in one hand and gently lifted her long hair with the other hand, blowing it softly. And bursts of fresh hair fragrance filled the air. After their hair was dried, they lay down on the soft big bed together. Li Mengyao snuggled in Lin Xuan's arms like a little bird, and her little hands playfully drew circles on his chest. Wife, I want to ask you something, Lin Xuan asked softly with a smile on his face. What's the matter? Li Mengyao raised her head and looked at Lin Xuan in confusion. Does Yu Yuxin have a boyfriend now? Lin Xuan suddenly asked. Hearing this, Li Mengyao blinked, then raised her eyebrows and said jokingly, Husband. Why are you asking this? Could it be that you like my best friend? Lin Xuan smiled helplessly, stretched out his hand and gently pinched Li Mengyao's nose, and explained, What are you thinking about in your little head all day long? I'm asking on behalf of Shuquan. Li Mengyao smiled and said, Well, Yuxin is still single. She did have a boyfriend in college, but they broke up a long time ago. Lin Xuan nodded and smiled with satisfaction. That's good. I think Shuquan must have fallen in love with Yu Yuxin at first sight. Li Mengyao looked at Lin Xuan in surprise and asked doubtfully, Husband, how did you know that? Lin Xuan smiled and said, Because I know Shuquan. As soon as he sticks his butt out, I know what he wants to do. When I met Liu Yuxin today, he looked so nervous and shy. I have never seen him like that before. Li Mengyao nodded slightly, and then said, Then I will ask Yuxin what her impression of Shuquan is some other day. Lin Xuan smiled and said, Okay. Let's not talk about this anymore, let us do some music prenatal education for the baby first. As he spoke, he skillfully lifted up Li Mengyao's clothes, revealing her charming little belly. Honey, I heard that you don't need to lift up your clothes to do prenatal music education. Hearing this, Lin Xuan shuddered and thought to himself, Am I going to be discovered? In fact, he just wanted to put his face on Li Mengyao's belly. Lin Xuan pretended to be calm and made up a story. It will be better if we uncover it. Oh, Li Mengyao nodded blankly, but she always felt something was strange. Afterwards, Lin Xuan continued to find a piece of music suitable for prenatal education and played it. Li Mengyao still didn't quite believe what Lin Xuan had just said, so she secretly took out her cell phone and searched for relevant information. The results clearly show that prenatal education does not require exposing the belly. My stinky husband lied to me again, Li Mengyao muttered angrily. After Li Mengyao finished listening to a song, she couldn't bear it anymore, so she quickly pushed Lin Xuan away and quickly covered her belly tightly. Wife. What's wrong? Lin Xuan asked innocently. Damn husband, there's no need to open up the belly for prenatal education, Li Mengyao said angrily. Lin Xuan was dumbfounded. It was over, he was discovered. Wife, please listen to my explanation, Lin Xuan hurriedly tried to explain. Big liar. I don't want to listen to your explanation. Li Mengyao turned around and faced Lin Xuan with her back. Lin Xuan had no choice but to turn off the lights, hugged Li Mengyao from behind and prepared to go to sleep. Wife, I didn't sleep much at noon, Lin Xuan suddenly said. Why? Li Mengyao moved slightly, turned her head to look at Lin Xuan, and asked curiously, I can't sleep because my wife is not around. Lin Xuan smiled and answered softly. After saying that, he followed Li Mengyao's movements, turned her over and held her in his arms. Oh, I didn't sleep much either, Li Mengyao said softly. And let's go to bed now. As he said that, he gently kissed Li Mengyao on the forehead. Li Mengyao closed her eyes, with a happy smile on her face, and responded, yeah. Following this soft moan, the two of them fell into a sweet dream together. Time quickly came to August 12, 2024. Tonight, Xuanmeng Restaurant in Jinwan Plaza will officially open. Li Mengyao dressed up carefully. She wore an elegant dress and delicate makeup exuding charming charm. She and Lin Xuan came to Jinwan Plaza hand in hand. The two of them came to the 5th floor and saw a long line in front of the entrance of Xuanmeng Restaurant from afar. Originally, Lin Xuan wanted to try the food in his own restaurant himself. But faced with such a lively scene, he could only shake his head helplessly. Honey, let's go to the movies first. Let's come back after the movie, maybe there will be fewer people there. Li Mengyao smiled slightly. Li Mengyao thought that she had never watched a movie in the cinema with her husband. Okay, Lin Xuan said with eyes full of doting. So, the two of them walked hand in hand to Jinwan Cinema. Chapter Itixis. Do you like Liu Uxin? Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao came to the Jinwan Cinema hand in hand looking at the big screen in front of them. They picked and chose but still couldn't find a satisfactory movie. Suddenly, Lin Xuan caught a glimpse of an animated film, but was playing Natsume's Book of Friends, the movie. His eyes suddenly lit up and an excited smile appeared on his face. Wife, let's go see this. As he spoke, Lin Xuan pointed at the screen, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Li Mengyao looked in the direction of Lin Xuan's finger and was slightly stunned. A look of surprise flashed across her face. Hubby, I didn't expect you still watch anime? There was a hint of curiosity and confusion in her voice after all. Since she had been with Lin Xuan, she had never seen him so enthusiastic about watching anime. I watched it when I was in high school. Natsume's Book of Friends is a very warm and healing work. I'm sure you will like it, honey, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Well, let's go. Li Mengyao smiled charmingly after hearing Lin Xuan's words. So Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao walked to the front desk, and Lin Xuan smiled and said to the ticket seller, please give us 2 tickets for Natsume's Book of Friends, a bucket of popcorn and 2 glasses of freshly squeezed juice, thank you. The conductor smiled and replied, okay, please wait a moment. Soon, Lin Xuan, holding a bucket of popcorn, and Li Mengyao, holding 2 tickets, walked into screening room No. 3 together. When they walked into the screening room, they found it empty. Honey, it seems like we have the entire theater to ourselves, Li Mengyao said in surprise. This movie is not very popular in China, so it is expected that we will book out the entire theater. Lin Xuan said with a smile. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao chose a comfortable seat and sat down, ready to enjoy this unique movie-watching experience. As the lights dimmed, the movie began to play. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao were immersed in the story, feeling the warmth and touching moments. The entire screening room was filled with a peaceful and warm atmosphere, as if time had stopped. Natsume's Book of Friends, the movie, is a work of great charm and value, with fresh and natural pictures and soothing and melodious music, making the audience feel as if they are in a fantasy and beautiful world. It mainly tells various touching stories about Natsume and the monster. She treats the monsters with his kindness and sincerity, illuminating people's deep desire for gentleness and love. P.S. I strongly recommend Natsume's Book of Friends, a very warm and healing anime. The two of them just sat there quietly, enjoying this warm time. Soon, 2 hours passed. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao walked out of the cinema holding hands. Honey, that cat teacher is so cute, so round and plump. Li Mengyao looked at Lin Xuan with a smile. Wife, do you like cats? Lin Xuan asked with a smile. I like it, Li Mengyao smiled and nodded. And let's go to the pet store when we have time. We can keep a cat at home, Lin Xuan said. Really? Can I keep a cat while I'm pregnant? Li Mengyao asked with a happy look on her face. You can keep a cat while you are pregnant, but the cat must be clean, Lin Xuan explained with a smile. Okay. Li Mengyao smiled sweetly. It was already 10 o'clock when the two came out of the cinema. They returned to the 5th floor of Jinwan Plaza and found that Xuanmeng Restaurant was still crowded. However, a customer happened to leave, so Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao walked in. Unexpectedly, a waitress stopped them. I'm sorry, guys, since there were so many people opening today, all the ingredients have been sold out. We are going to close now. It's okay, let's go in and take a look. As he said that, Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand and walked into Xuanmeng Restaurant. There's nothing you can do when you go in. The waitress was about to continue speaking when she was interrupted by a voice. Brother Xuan. Chu Quan came out of the kitchen and saw Lin Xuan and his sister-in-law Li Mengyao. Chu Quan, how is the opening of Xuanmeng Restaurant today? Lin Xuan asked. It's very popular. I'm too busy to handle it all. I thought you, the boss, wouldn't come, Shu Quan said with a smile, with a hint of sarcasm in his tone. A waitress beside him opened her eyes wide when she heard this. It turned out that this handsome guy was the owner of the restaurant. Brother Xuan, do you know? I just roughly calculated that our store's turnover today has exceeded 500. Shu Quan's face was filled with an excited smile. Lin Xuan raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a satisfied smile. Well, not bad by the way, Shu Quan. Do you have any ingredients in your store? Shu Quan quickly replied, yes. A customer just cancelled an order, so we have an extra vegetable. Lin Xuan nodded and said with a smile, that's good. How about this, I will be a customer today, and you can help me cook this dish. Okay. Other Xuan, please wait a moment. After Shu Quan said this, he went back to the kitchen to make arrangements. Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand and found a quiet corner to sit down. After a while, a plate of fragrant steamed turbo was placed in front of them. Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao tenderly and said softly, wife, come and taste it. As he spoke, he picked up a piece of juicy fish with chopsticks and put it into Li Mengyao's bowl. Although they had eaten something before coming here, their stomachs started growling again after watching a movie. Well, it's delicious. But still not as delicious as my husband's, Li Mengyao said with a smile while eating small bites of fish. Lin Xuan also picked up the chopsticks, picked up a piece of fish and tasted it. Although it's not as good as what he makes himself, it's far better than what his peers make and is quite delicious. After Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao had eaten, Shu Quan summoned all the employees of Xuan Meng restaurant to come to Lin Xuan. Brother Xuan, these are all the employees of our Xuan Meng restaurant, Shu Quan introduced. Lin Xuan looked at the dozen people in front of him. Except for Xu Yong and Wang Li, whom he had met before, the rest were unfamiliar faces. I just tasted it and it's delicious. Thank you all for your hard work, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Thank you, boss. Everyone said in unison. Afterwards, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao walked out of Xuan Meng restaurant and prepared to go home. Suddenly Lin Xuan thought of something. Shu Quan, come here for a moment, I have something to ask you, Lin Xuan shouted to Shu Quan. Brother Xuan, what's the matter? Shu Quan also came out and asked puzzled Lai. Lin Xuan gave a wicked smile. Do you like Liu Yuxin? Chapter 87. I feel there's still hope. How could that be? I didn't, it was nothing. Shu Quan's face flushed, his eyes avoided. And his speech began to stutter. Really? That's a pity. Lin Xuan raised the corners of his mouth and deliberately showed a regretful expression. What a pity? Shu Quan asked puzzled Lai. My wife said that Yuxin is somewhat interested in you, but it's a pity that you are not interested. Lin Xuan looked at Shu Quan with a cunning look in his eyes. Really? Shu Quan widened his eyes and almost jumped up with excitement. Why are you so excited? Didn't you say you didn't like it? Lin Xuan suppressed his smile and continued following Shu Quan's words. I like her a little bit. Shu Quan scratched his head, embarrassed Lai. A blush on his face. I knew it. Lin Xuan couldn't help laughing anymore. So what you just said is true? Shu Quan then realized that he might have been fooled by Lin Xuan. He looked at Lin Xuan with some anger and humiliation. Fake. Lin Xuan shrugged and said lightly. Shu Quan, I'll fight you. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao came to the parking lot and got into the Maybach. After hearing what Lin Xuan had successfully said about Shu Quan, Li Mengyao couldn't stop smiling. Husband, you are so bad, Li Mengyao said with a smile. Wife, when you have time, ask Liu Yuxin what her impression of Shu Quan is, Lin Xuan said to Li Mengyao as he started the car. Okay, Li Mengyao responded, then took out her cell phone and found Liu Yuxin. Xin. Are you there? Li Mengyao sent a message. Soon, the other party replied. Xin is already dead, you picked her, idol? Liu Yuxin had just come back from overtime work and was almost exhausted. She lay in bed and didn't want to move. When Li Mengyao saw the message, she couldn't help laughing out loud. Xin, I see you can still make jokes, which means you are still alive, Li Mengyao replied with a smile. If you have something to say it quickly. If you have to fart quickly, otherwise, I'm going to sleep, Liu Yuxin said unhappily. Okay, let me ask you something, Li Mengyao said quickly. Xin, do you still remember the boy Shu Quan who had dinner at my house a few days ago? Liu Yuxin closed her eyes and tried hard to recall. I remember. What's wrong? Liu Yuxin asked. I just want to ask what your impression of him is, Li Mengyao asked. A very cute boy, Liu Yuxin replied. Li Mengyao felt there was hope after seeing it, but it seemed like nothing happened the next second. He looks like a little brother, Liu Yuxin replied immediately. There's nothing you can do about it. Shu Quan is small in stature. Even shorter than Liu Yuxin, but he looks very delicate, with good skin and fair, tender flesh. Honey, I don't think there's any hope. Li Mengyao raised her head and said to Lin Xuan. Why? Yuxian said he is like a lovely younger brother, Li Mengyao said. And there's no hope. I'll come back and give Xu Quan a heavy blow, Lin Xuan said with a smile. No, I think there's still hope. Besides, aren't you also a younger brother? Li Mengyao raised her eyebrows and smiled. I'm not, Lin Xuan retorted quickly. You are, nasty little brother. Li Mengyao pinched Lin Xuan's cheek with her hand. Lin Xuan was speechless. After the two returned to Jinwan Mansion, they each went into the bathroom to take a shower. After taking a shower, they lay on the bed and played with their mobile phones. Suddenly, Lin Xuan turned around and hugged Li Mengyao, showing his signature smile. Damn husband, what do you want to do now? Li Mengyao turned around with great effort, put her hands on Lin Xuan's chest, and said, Coca the Sly. Who called me a stinky little brother just now? Ah, Lin Xuan said with a smile. You are the stinky little brother, why don't you admit it? Li Mengyao said angrily. Lin Xuan didn't give in either. He took the opportunity to hug Li Mengyao tightly and lowered his head slightly to kiss her delicate lips. The next morning, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao got up early and had a hearty breakfast. They decided to go to a nearby Meow Meow pet store together and pick out a kitten of their own. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao walked hand in hand into a Meow Meow pet shop. The interior of the pet shop was very exquisitely decorated, and the walls were covered with photos of various cats, which was dazzling. Welcome, both of you. A sweet-looking, petite and cute girl came up to them. I am the manager of this cat shop. Are you here to buy cats? The female manager asked enthusiastically. Yes, we want to have a cat. What breeds of cats do you have here? Li Mengyao asked curiously. Please look this way. The female manager pointed to one side. This is a short-haired cat from Country M, which is commonly known as the American Shorthair cat. They have lively and docile personalities, round heads and round brains, and feel soft to the touch. They feel particularly good and are very popular. They are also easy to raise and have a strong ability to adapt to the environment, the female store manager introduced. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao came forward to check. I saw the American Shorthair cat lying there quietly, a furry ball, like a moving fur ball. Its eyes are round and sparkling with bright light, and have a playful look, which is extremely cute. Is there anything else? Lin Xuan asked with a smile. Yes, please look at the other side, the female clerk replied enthusiastically and led them to another display area. She pointed to the cat inside and said, This is a silver-shaded cat, a very popular cat breed. Then, she continued, this cat has a very unique fur color, with white undercoat and light silver tips, creating a soft and elegant silver-gray gradient effect. Their eyes are big and round, like bright gems, their heads are round and their ears are small and cute. In terms of personality, he is docile, lively and active, likes to interact with people and is very affectionate to his owner. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao walked forward again to check. I saw a silver tabby with a pair of big emerald green eyes like gems, a delicate face with small ears, hair like fine silver frost, and a round and cute body, which was very lovable. Perhaps the kitten saw someone coming, so it took graceful steps, wagging its silver tail, walked in front of the glass and stared with its big round eyes. Meow. Chapter 88 Yu. A crisp meow sound came into the ears of the two. Wow, so cute. Li Mengyao's heart softened when she heard it. Lin Xuan looked at his wife who loved the kitten so much and a gentle smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He turned to look at the female store manager and asked softly, Boss, how big is this silver gradient? The female store manager smiled and replied, She is just 6 months old, a female kitten. Lin Xuan nodded and asked, Has it received all the vaccines? My wife is pregnant now, so I'm worried that the cat might be infected with Toxoplasma. The female store manager quickly explained, This silver tabby has received all the vaccinations. Here is the vaccination book, sir. You can take a look. Lin Xuan checked carefully and confirmed that the information on the vaccination book was complete. You can keep a cat while you are pregnant, as long as the cat is dewormed regularly and fully vaccinated. However, it should be noted that pregnant women cannot come into contact with cat feces, the female store manager continued. After hearing this, Lin Xuan nodded with relief. He looked at the silver tabby again, his heart filled with love. Then he turned around and asked gently, Excuse me, how much is this silver tabby? The female store manager smiled and replied, This is a purebred silver tabby cat. So the price is a little higher, 8,000 yuan. Okay. This is the one. Lin Xuan looked at the cute little kitten with a satisfied smile on his face. Okay, thank you, I'll get the cat carrier ready for you. Then Lin Xuan bought some cat food, cat litter, and cat toys. Soon, Lin Xuan walked out of Meow Meow pet shop holding Li Mengyao in one hand and carrying a cat cage in the other. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao came to the Maybach Lin Xuan put the cat cage containing the cat on the back seat, then started the car and drove to Jinwan Mansion. After a while, the Maybach parked steadily in the Jinwan Fu parking lot. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao returned home. Li Mengyao couldn't wait to open the cat cage to see how the kitten was doing. I saw this little guy hiding inside, looking around, not daring to come out. Seeing this, Li Mingyao quickly put the cat food she had just bought in her hand to lure the kitten. Sure enough, the little kitten smelled the scent of cat food, slowly came forward, looked at Li Mingyao with its big round eyes, then lowered its head and began to lick the palm of Li Mingyao's hand with its little tongue. Li Mingyao was amused by the kitten's behavior. She thought the kitten was so cute. "Honey, let's give it a name," Li Mingyao said happily. "Sure. Honey, what name do you want to give this little guy?" Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Best call me Yu Yu." Meow. The kitten looked at the two of them with its cute big eyes, as if it knew something. "Look, honey, it likes this name." Li Mingyao smiled brightly. "Then I'll call you Yu Yu from now on." So, the kitten had his own name, Yu Yu. And Lin Xuan walked into the kitchen and started preparing lunch. He took out fresh ingredients from the refrigerator and skillfully cut and cooked the vegetables. After a while, bursts of tempting aroma wafted from the kitchen. Li Mingyao was holding a cat toy and playing happily with Yu Yu. Yu Yu excitedly chased the cat toy, making cheerful noises from time to time. Soon, Lin Xuan prepared a sumptuous lunch that was delicious. After eating, they returned to the bedroom to rest. Seeing that no one was playing with it, Yu Yu obediently returned to the soft cat bed that Li Mingyao had just made for it, curled up into a ball, and fell asleep quietly. The afternoon sun shone through the curtains onto the bed. Lin Xuan slowly opened his eyes and looked at Li Mingyao, who was sleeping beside him. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He reached out and gently pushed aside the hair in front of her forehead, then lightly stroked her cheek with his fingers, feeling her delicate skin. Suddenly, the phone rang. "Hello, Jingming?" Lin Xuan picked up the phone and pressed the answer button. "Brother Xuan, are you still in Jinghai City?" Chen Jingming asked. "Yes, what's wrong?" Lin Xuan rubbed his eyes and said. "I have 2 tickets for a piano concert at 4 p.m. at the Jinghai Grand Theater. I wanted to go with my girlfriend, but her mentor suddenly had something to do and she had to go help, so she couldn't come. It would be pointless for me to go alone. So I want to ask you and your sister-in-law if you want to go," Chen Jingming said. Chen Jingming's girlfriend studies music, and this concert was recommended to her by her mentor. Lin Xuan thought, a piano concert, it would be a good opportunity to give his wife some music prenatal education. So he said, "Okay, I'll ask." And Lin Xuan leaned over, put his lips close to her ear, and whispered, "Wife, there is a piano concert at the Jinghai Grand Theater this afternoon. Do you want to go and listen together?" His voice was gentle and low, as if it carried a hint of magic. Li Mingyao seemed to hear Lin Xuan's call. She moved slightly, then slowly opened her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were still a little confused, but when she saw Lin Xuan, a sweet smile immediately appeared on her face. Then she sat up in bed and smiled. "Piano recital, great, I haven't been to one yet." "Jingming, where are you now? I'll come to find you later," Lin Xuan said after taking the phone back. "I'm at the graduate campus of Jinghai University," Chen Jingming replied. "Okay, wait for me." Lin Xuan hung up the phone. Then they got up, dressed carefully and prepared to go out. Just when the two were about to go out, Yu Yu came jogging over, and it seemed that she wanted to go out too. "Yu Yu, you have to be a good boy at home." Then Li Mingyao gently closed the door, leaving only a long meow sound. 10 minutes later, a Maybach stopped steadily at the door of a dormitory in the graduate student area of Jinghai University. Lin Xuan picked up his phone and called Chen Jingming. "Jingming, we're here. Here I come." And Chen Jingming jogged down the street, as saw the dark and slender Maybach at a glance. "Brother Xuan, long time no see. Here are 2 tickets." Chen Jingming smiled and stuffed 2 exquisite tickets into the car, as well as a red envelope. "My mentor has something else to do, so I'll leave first. Please keep this wedding gift." Then Chen Jingming went back without looking back. Lin Xuan had indeed not seen Chen Jingming for a long time. Every time the 4 of them in the dormitory were going to get together, he was not available to come. Lin Xuan smiled, then started the car and drove towards the Jinghai Grand Theater. Arriving at the theater entrance, Lin Xuan stopped the car, turned to Li Mingyao and said, "Wife, we're here." Li Mingyao opened the car door and got out. She was wearing a light blue dress, a hem of her skirt fluttering in the wind, like a fairy descending to earth. Lin Xuan looked at her, his eyes full of love. They walked into the theater, found their seats and sat down. The lights on the stage were bright, and a black grand piano was placed in the center, the piano body shining with dazzling light. The audience also took their seats one after another, looking forward to this wonderful performance. As the concert began, a melodious piano music echoed throughout the theater. Li Mingyao was immersed in the world of music with a happy smile on her face. Lin Xuan sat quietly beside her, admiring her beautiful profile, his heart filled with satisfaction. Chapter 89, Playing Only for My Wife and Babies. "Wife, I'm going to the bathroom," Lin Xuan whispered into Li Mingyao's ear. "Well, go ahead." Li Mengyao nodded with a smile. Afterwards, Lin Xuan quietly stood up from his seat, walked out of the concert hall, and soon came to the toilet next to it. However, when he just walked out of the toilet, he unexpectedly met a person. Izia Chaiyuan. MRLN, long time no see. Izia Chaiyuan greeted warmly with a smile on his face. Boss He, it seems like we just met a few days ago, Lin Xuan said with some confusion. It feels like a long time since we last met. Izia Chaiyuan laughed heartily. Boss He, is he also here to watch the concert? Lin Xuan asked. Lin Xuan and Izia Chaiyuan walked towards the concert together. They did not return to their seats, but chose to stand a little further away so as not to affect other audiences. Yes, what do you think of the piano players nowadays? Izia Chaiyuan asked. Lin Xuan and Izia Chai looked from afar at the musician playing the piano in the center of the stage and listened to the music attentively. Despite the distance, they could still feel the shock brought by the beautiful melody. His piano playing is excellent overall, with precise control of rhythm. But there are occasional subtle discordant notes, Lin Xuan said after listening carefully for a while. Thanks to the top music masters given by the system, Lin Xuan's hearing is much better than that of ordinary people. And he can accurately judge this person's playing level. You are worthy of being the person I have chosen. You are indeed capable, Izia Chaiyuan said to Lin Xuan with admiration. Lin Xuan shook his head modestly. I only know a little bit, not as good as professional musicians. In fact, Lin Xuan didn't want to be in the spotlight, he just hoped that his wife and baby could hear the music he played. Izia Chaiyuan patted Lin Xuan on the shoulder and said with a smile. You are too modest. Lin Xuan suddenly thought of his Steinway piano, so he asked, Boss He, when will my piano arrive? Izia Chaiyuan smiled slightly. It will be there tomorrow afternoon. Then, Izia Chaiyuan suddenly became serious and asked earnestly, are you interested in holding a piano concert of your own there? Lin Xuan was stunned for a moment, but soon regained his composure. He replied firmly, thank you for your kindness, Boss He, I don't want to play for others. So forget it. Well, if you change your mind, you can tell me anytime. Izia Chaiyuan sighed and said regretfully, Boss He, can you let me hold a piano concert at the Jinghai Grand Theater at any time? Lin Xuan asked curiously. To be honest, I'm actually the president of the Jinghai City Piano Association. If you want, Mr. Lin, I can arrange it at any time. Forget it. I should go back now. Goodbye, Mr. He, Lin Xuan said politely. After Lin Xuan finished speaking, he left and soon returned to Li Mengyao. After Lin Xuan left, Izia Chaiyuan couldn't help but sigh, feeling very sorry. If Lin Xuan could agree to hold a piano concert in his hotel, it would definitely cause quite a stir. However, he felt that Lin Xuan might change his mind in the future. Thinking of this, Izia Chaiyuan smiled expectantly, then turned and left. After Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao finished listening to the piano concert, Li Mengyao still felt a little unsatisfied. She narrowed her eyes slightly, seeming to be still immersed in the wonderful world of music. After a while, she came back to her senses, gently pulled Lin Xuan's sleeve, and whispered, Hubby, let's go to a music restaurant for dinner. As she spoke, she stretched out her little finger and pointed to a music restaurant, not far away, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Okay, let's go. Lin Xuan looked at her with a smile, touched her head lovingly, and said gently. After saying that, he took Li Mengyao's hand and led her towards the music restaurant. The two soon arrived at the music restaurant. As soon as they entered the door, they were attracted by the warm and peaceful atmosphere inside. Soft background music is playing in the restaurant. The beautiful music is like the gurgling water, as if bringing people into another world. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao chose a quiet corner to sit down. At this time, a waiter came over with a menu and asked enthusiastically, Hello, both of you, what would you like to eat? Lin Xuan took the menu and took a look at it, then turned around and handed it to Li Mengyao. Wife, come on. Li Mengyao thought for a moment and replied with a smile, I want 2 fillet steaks, 1 spaghetti bolognese, and 1 margarina pizza. Oh, and 2 fruit salads. Lin Xuan nodded, then handed the menu to the waiter and said, That's all, thank you. The waiter smiled politely and turned away. Soon, all the dishes were served. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao were enjoying the warm atmosphere in the restaurant. They were listening to soothing music and savoring delicious dinner, feeling very comfortable. After dinner, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao drove home. As soon as I opened the door, I heard a crisp meow sound. It turned out that Yu Yu was squatting in front of the door, making noises non-stop. Oh, husband, we were so busy eating that we forgot about Yu Yu. Li Mengyao quickly walked into the house, took out cat food from the cabinet, and started feeding Yu Yu. Yes, I forgot. I will go to Taobao and buy an automatic feeding machine later, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Yu Yu seemed to be very hungry. It wolfed down the cat food, but it kept meowing from its mouth, as if to say, how could you forget me? After Yu Yu had filled its stomach, It crawled contentedly to Li Mengyao and rubbed its round head against her, looking like a spoiled child. That round little head is so cute. Li Mengyao gently stroked Yu's fur, with a happy smile on her face. As the night gradually deepened, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao returned to the bedroom, hugged each other tightly, kissed each other goodnight, and fell into a sweet dream. Chapter 90 Confession Balloon. The next day came. The early morning sunlight shone into the room through the curtains, and Lin Xuan was awakened early in the morning by the meow coming from outside the door. He rubbed his eyes, yawned, stretched, and slowly got up from the bed. After feeding the greedy Yu breakfast, I stroked its chubby little head hard. Then he turned back to the living room, poured himself a glass of water and drank it in one gulp. Then, Lin Xuan walked into the kitchen, skillfully kneaded the flour into dough, cut it into small pieces, rolled it into thin skins, wrapped it with 3 fresh fillings, and pinched it into small and exquisite buns. Next, he cooked a pot of fig porridge and boiled some eggs. Before long, the table was filled with delicious food that made people salivate. At this moment, Li Mengyao opened her beautiful eyes in a daze, slowly got up from the bed, and walked to the smart body fat scale in a daze, stood on it and weighed herself. As a result, she found that she had gained weight again. This made her a little depressed, so after washing up, she pouted and came to the living room, looking unhappy. When Lin Xuan saw Li Mengyao's expression, his heart tightened. He quickly came to her side, hugged her gently, and asked with concern, "Wife, what's wrong? Didn't you sleep well?" Li Mengyao turned her head away, not wanting to look at Lin Xuan, and pouted her lips and said, "Nothing. It's all Lin Xuan's fault. All stinky men are pigs. Pregnant women are always sentimental. Lin Xuan has already figured it out. Have you weighed yourself again?" Lin Xuan stroked her hair gently and said softly. Li Mengyao listened quietly without saying anything. A weight gain means the babies are developing normally, Lin Xuan comforted with a smile. "But I will become ugly," Li Mengyao said with some concern. "No, after you give birth to the baby, you will still be as beautiful as before." Lin Xuan stroked her cheek gently. "Really?" Li Mengyao turned around and asked expectantly. "Of course it's true, my wife is always the most beautiful," Lin Xuan replied firmly. Hearing Lin Xuan's words, Li Mengyao showed a happy smile on her face. "Thank you, husband." "I'm sorry, husband, I just lost my temper again," Li Mengyao said with some guilt. "It's okay, my wife is very cute when she gets angry," Lin Xuan said gently. Li Mengyao raised her little face proudly and said coquettously, "My little cutie is out of power, I need to charge it now." "Okay, husband will get you breakfast." Lin Xuan thought Li Mengyao was hungry, and was about to turn around and go to the kitchen, but was pulled back by Li Mengyao. "Breakfast can't recharge you," said Li Mengyao. "Then what can be charged?" Lin Xuan asked puzzled Li. "I want a kiss." Li Mengyao leaned forward actively, waiting for Lin Xuan's kiss. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, then took the beauty into his arms and bent his head to give Li Mengyao a good morning kiss. After the kiss, Li Mengyao began to enjoy Lin Xuan's loving breakfast. After breakfast, Li Mengyao lazily lay on the soft sofa in the living room, holding an exquisite cat toy in her hand. Her eyes fixed on Yu, who was lying on the ground. She gently waved the cat toy in her hand, and Yu was immediately attracted. He jumped left and right excitedly, trying to catch the cat toy. At this moment, Li Mengyao's mobile phone screen lit up, indicating that there was a new message. She put down the cat toy in her hand and picked up her phone to check. It turned out to be the name of the group in Li Mengyao's university dormitory, for rich ladies. "Jen Man. Sisters, let's make an appointment at noon and go out for lunch and shopping together." "Yanglin, great. It's finally the weekend." "Liuxin, working overtime, please don't disturb me." At this moment, Liuxin is working overtime in the company and accepting the beatings of society. "Jen Man, Purexinxin. Yui Jiaoya, do you want to come?" After seeing this, Li Mengyao turned around and asked Lin Xuan, who was leaning beside her. Li Mengyao looked at the screen of her mobile phone, turned her head to look at Lin Xuan, who was leaning beside her, and asked softly, "Honey, my roommates asked me to go to lunch and shopping together at noon." Lin Xuan looked at her lovingly, smiled gently and said, "Go if you want to. It's nice to go out and relax occasionally." After hearing this, Li Mengyao smiled happily and responded, "Yeah. Time flies," and before I knew it, it was almost noon. At this time, Li Mengyao was staying in the room, dressing up carefully. After a moment, the door was gently pushed open and Li Mengyao walked out of the room. At this moment, Li Mengyao was wearing a V-neck white top and a light brown skirt. He looked fresh, refined and elegant. "Honey, I'm going out." Her beautiful appearance made Lin Xuan stunned. He stared at her intently, and even felt that he would not be able to help but rush over and hug her tightly in his arms the next moment. Li Mengyao had obviously anticipated this situation, so she didn't give Lin Xuan any chance. She rushed to the door as fast as she could, changed her shoes, and then rushed out like a gust of wind. Before leaving, she turned around and shouted to Lin Xuan, Goodbye, husband. Then she ran away without looking back. Li Mingyao drove her Xiaomi Su7 and went to a barbecue restaurant with her roommates. The three of them enjoyed the meal happily. After lunch, the three of them went to a shopping mall to shop. During the shopping process, Li Mingyao specially selected several pieces of clothes suitable for Lin Xuan. She couldn't help but mutter to herself, "My husband is really like that. If I don't buy him clothes, he will never buy them." The camera returns to Jinwan Mansion. Because his wife is not at home, Lin Xuan is too lazy to cook and just orders some takeout to get by. The afternoon sun poured into the room through the window, and the Steinway piano S155 that Lin Xuan ordered was finally delivered to his home. Lin Xuan enthusiastically invited the movers to place the piano in the center of the spacious and bright living room, which was large enough to accommodate this elegant instrument. After 2 hours of careful installation, a stunning Steinway piano S155 was presented to everyone. Its black paint surface shines brightly, the keys are as white as pearls, and the whole piano exudes nobility and elegance. Lin Xuan sat on the chair in front of the piano, gently stroking the keys, feeling their texture when he was about to play. The door was suddenly pushed open. "Honey, I'm back. I brought you some delicious food." Li Mengyao's cheerful voice came. She walked into the house carrying several bags full of supplies and went straight to the living room. As she entered the living room, her eyes were immediately drawn to the exquisite Steinway piano S155 piano. "Honey, did you buy a piano?" Li Mengyao asked in surprise, with excitement flashing in her eyes. She put down the shopping bag in her hand, walked quickly to Lin Xuan, and sat down next to him. "Yes, I will use this piano to give my baby music prenatal education in the future," Lin Xuan answered gently, with a happy smile on his face. "Husband, can you still play the piano?" Li Mengyao looked at Lin Xuan curiously, her eyes full of doubts. She had never seen Lin Xuan demonstrate any talent related to music performance. "I just learned it recently. Your husband will play a song for you now," Lin Xuan said gently with a slight smile on his face. Then, his fingers gently pressed the keys, and melodious notes slowly flowed out. The song Castle in the Sky flows like a clear spring, full of warmth and tranquility. The beautiful piano music permeates the air, as if bringing people into a dreamlike world, making people feel extremely relaxed and happy. Li Mengyao sat quietly aside, leaning her little head gently on Lin Xuan's shoulder, closing her eyes, and immersed in the wonderful music. After the song ended, Li Mengyao slowly opened her beautiful eyes, raised her head, and looked at Lin Xuan with surprise. She never expected that her husband could play the piano so well. He even played better than the musician at the piano concert yesterday. Lin Xuan, who was already handsome and charming, was even more charming in her eyes. The little baby has heard it all. But what about the big baby? Li Mengyao playfully stretched out her little finger and pointed at herself, indicating that she was also a big baby who needed to be taken care of. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, picked up Li Mengyao and let her sit on his lap. "What song does the big baby want to listen to?" Lin Xuan asked gently. Li Mengyao stretched out her arms and hugged Lin Yixuan's neck tightly, with a happy smile on her face. "Honey, I like whatever you play," Li Mengyao replied sweetly. Lin Xuan's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a bright smile. He first kissed Li Mengyao's tender red lips affectionately, and then his fingers danced on the piano again, accompanied by his gentle singing, like a stream of clear spring flowing in the air. "Coffee on the left bank of the Seine. I have a cup in my hand to taste your beauty." The mouth that left lit Prince. "Dear, I love you. From that day on. Sweet and easy. Dear, don't be willful. Your eyes. Saying I do." Chapter 91. My wife is greedy again. Jay Chu's song Confession Balloon has finished playing. Lin Xuan slowly turned his head, looked at Li Mengyao lovingly, and said with a smile, "Wife, is this song nice?" Tears were flashing in Li Mengyao's eyes, and her heart was filled with emotion and happiness. She threw herself at Lin Xuan without hesitation and kissed him passionately on the lips. I don't know how long it took before the two lips parted. Lin Xuan smiled and said, "Wife, what do you want to eat tonight?" Li Mengyao smiled and replied, "All right." Then Lin Xuan came to the kitchen and started to get busy. Soon, Lin Xuan prepared a sumptuous meal. When he brought the dishes to the table, he found Li Mengyao sitting on the sofa in the living room, daydreaming. "Let's go eat quickly, the babies must be starving," Lin Xuan said to Li Mengyao with a smile. "Yeah." Li Mengyao smiled and nodded. And Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand, then went to the restaurant to enjoy a delicious dinner. "Honey, let's go back to Jingha University tonight," Li Mengyao said to Lin Xuan while eating happily. "Huh? Why do you suddenly want to go back to school?" Lin Xuan asked, puzzled. "Why? Because I heard from Yanglin this afternoon that a very delicious dessert shop opened inside Jingha University." A hint of anticipation and happiness flashed across Li Mengyao's face. "Okay. My wife is greedy again," Lin Xuan joked with a smile. "You are the greedy one. It's the babies who want to eat it." Not me, Li Mengyao pretended to be angry and scolded. Okay. It's the babies who want to eat, not my wife, Lin Xuan coaxed hurriedly. After dinner, the two rested for a while and then prepared to leave for Jinghe University. After Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao got into the Maybach, Lin Xuan started the car and slowly drove towards Jinghe University. Not long after, they arrived at Jinghe University. After parking the car, the two walked into the campus hand in hand. The Jinghe University campus is quiet and beautiful at night. The moonlight shines on the ground, as if covering the entire campus with a layer of silver. Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao for a stroll on the campus path, feeling the familiar atmosphere. Soon, they arrived at the legendary dessert shop. The store was crowded with people and business was booming. Lin Xuan carefully took Li Mengyao into the store and looked around for a seat. Finally, they found an empty seat and walked over quickly to sit down. Lin Xuan took out his mobile phone, scanned the QR code on the table and started ordering. Wife, what do you want to eat? Lin Xuan asked softly. I want this starry sky mirror cake. Li Mengyao stretched out her slender index finger and pointed at the exquisite starry sky mirror cake on the menu, with a sweet smile on her lips. Seeing this cake, she couldn't help but think of the beautiful starry sky she had seen in Yunshan Town, Lin Xuan's hometown. The vast and boundless starry sky made her intoxicated. Okay. Lin Xuan nodded with a smile. Afterwards, he ordered a potted dessert with great interest, and found the shape very novel and interesting. After a while, a young waiter brought over two exquisite desserts. Please enjoy your meal, both of you, the waiter said politely, gently put down the tray and left. Li Mengyao couldn't wait to pick up her mobile phone and take pictures of these mouth-watering delicacies. Then, she couldn't wait to pick up the spoon and began to taste it in small bites. Every bite made her feel extremely satisfied and happy. Honey, it's really delicious. You should try it too. Li Mengyao happily scooped up a spoonful and handed it to Lin Xuan's mouth. Lin Xuan also cooperated and opened his mouth to put the spoonful of delicious steak into his mouth. Suddenly, a sweet taste filled his tongue, and Lin Xuan couldn't help but exclaimed, "Wow, it's really delicious." Lin Xuan was not to be outdone, and pushed his own oddly shaped potted dessert in front of Li Mengyao. Li Mengyao looked at this unique dessert curiously, then gently scooped out a small piece with a spoon and put it into her mouth. The sweet cream and delicate chocolate blend together to create a wonderful taste experience. At this moment, Li Mengyao's face was filled with a happy smile, as bright and dazzling as a flower blooming in spring. After eating dessert, the two continued to stroll hand in hand in the campus of Jinghe University. Before they knew it, they walked onto the school playground. The moonlight shines on the green grass at night, and the breeze brings a touch of coolness. At this time, there were still some students exercising and running on the playground, and some people even started a small concert in the middle of the playground. Although it is August now and most students have gone home for the holidays, some students still choose to stay in school and continue their studies. Ani, look! There are people playing guitar and singing over there. Li Mengyao pointed to the crowd not far away and said with a happy smile on her face. Lin Xuan looked in the direction of Li Mengyao's finger and saw a group of young people sitting together. One of the boys was playing the guitar, and the others were humming along with the rhythm. Lin Xuan's mouth corners slightly raised. Well, it looks quite lively. Your husband can do it too. Do you want to hear it? Lin Xuan suddenly turned and looked at Li Mengyao, his eyes full of tenderness and pampering. Hearing this, Li Mengyao's eyes lit up instantly, and she excitedly grabbed Lin Xuan's hand. I want to. Her face was filled with anticipation, as if Lin Xuan was the shining star in her heart. Chapter 90. Too many of my old clothes no longer fit. Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao's cute appearance and couldn't help but laugh. And I'll buy a guitar and play it for you tomorrow. He patted Li Mengyao's hand gently, wanting to pull her forward. But I want to listen to it now. Li Mengyao stood still and said coquettously. Ever since she learned that her husband was a great musician, she had been longing to hear him sing in person. Okay then. Lin Xuan reached out and gently pinched Li Mengyao's little face, saying with a gentle smile on his face. Although he had said before that he would only play the music for his wife and babies, now that his wife asked to listen to it, he had no choice but to agree. So, the two of them walked hand in hand and slowly to the small concert in the playground, listening quietly. A boy was seen playing the guitar and singing passionately. Both the sound of the guitar and the singing were very beautiful. Lin Xuan guessed that the boy should be a student majoring in music. Finally, after the boy finished playing, Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand and slowly walked forward. Hello, classmate. Can I borrow your guitar? I also want to play a song here, Lin Xuan said to the boy with a smile. When everyone saw a handsome guy coming over, they applauded to welcome him, and some girls stared at Lin Xuan in a daze. Wow, he's so handsome. And don't break my guitar, it's very expensive. Don't worry. I will definitely compensate you if it breaks. Lin Xuan took the guitar and pulled Li Mengyao to sit on the soft grass. Wife, what kind of song do you want to listen to? Lin Xuan asked Li Mengyao gently while tuning the strings of the guitar. It's all fine. Li Mengyao leaned her little head on Lin Xuan's shoulder and said softly. Lin Xuan smiled slightly. And then his fingers kept moving on the guitar, producing a series of beautiful notes. Lin Xuan closed his eyes slightly and began to sing emotionally. I can accept all of you. All the little tantrums. I can take you to eat a lot. Lots of good stuff. I can bring it to you occasionally. Bringing a little sweetness. I can heal your broken heart. You are the only one who can give me happiness. Let's not separate anymore. Can I be with you? We have so many memories together. There's no reason to fall in love with you. It just happened that I met you when I first fell in love. Lin Xuan gave Li Mengyao a song called Can I? His singing is like clear spring water flowing through the heart, bringing full warmth. Every note seems to be given life, jumping in the air and weaving into a beautiful picture. At this time, Li Mengyao also showed a sweet smile. She felt as if she was in a gorgeous starry sky, and Lin Xuan's singing was like the bright stars, illuminating the whole world. At this moment, their eyes met, and there was only each other in each other's eyes. Their love was like this beautiful melody, deeply imprinted in everyone's heart. At this time, everyone was stunned. How could he play a song here? It was clearly played specifically for his wife. The boy was even more shocked. His eyes widened, his mouth opened wide, and his face was full of disbelief. He didn't expect to meet a music master here. At the same time, his heart was filled with admiration and amazement, and he was completely impressed by Lin Xuan's talent. After Lin Xuan finished playing, the crowd burst into warm applause. People stood up and applauded Lin Xuan. They expressed their love and appreciation for Lin Xuan's music in the warmest way. Lin Xuan's face was filled with a confident and satisfied smile, and he felt everyone's enthusiasm and support. Hello? Are you also studying music? My name is Zhu Muyang. The boy quickly ran up and asked excitedly. Hello? My name is Lin Xuan. I majored in computer science and just graduated from Jinghe University this year, Lin Xuan said with a smile. It seems that we are from the same class. I just graduated from college this year and am currently studying for a master's degree in the Department of Music at Jinghe University, Zhu Muyang said with a smile. Then he said, I have never seen a guitar player as good as you. I wonder if I can become your apprentice. Lin Xuan smiled and replied, I'm sorry, I just play occasionally. And I don't plan to take in any apprentices. Then can you teach me if you have time? Zhu Muyang continued to ask. Lin Xuan still replied with a smile, if time permits, of course. They left each other their contact information. Then Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand and turned away. At this time, the small concert held on the playground of Jinghe University was recorded and uploaded to the internet. In particular, a video of Lin Xuan singing and playing the guitar specifically for Li Mengyao attracted widespread attention and quickly became popular on a certain audio platform. Netizens left comments. Wow, this couple is so enviable. That boy is so handsome. This guitar playing and singing level is definitely among the best in the country. It's amazing. Some people even praised Li Mengyao. That girl is simply a fairy from heaven. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao drove back home, took a shower, and lay on the bed watching TikTok. Suddenly, Li Mengyao shouted in surprise, Husband! Look, you seem to be famous. She excitedly handed the phone to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan took the phone and found that his video had attracted widespread attention online. Well, it's because your husband is so outstanding, Lin Xuan smiled. Li Mengyao raised her eyebrows mischievously and asked with a half smile, How good is it? Lin Xuan answered confidently, One of the best. After saying that, he and Li Mengyao burst into laughter. Okay, time to go to bed. Then, Lin Xuan got up and turned off the lights, then hugged Li Mengyao and kissed her, and the two fell into a sweet dream. In the next few days, Lin Xuan would go to the company when he had nothing to do in the morning, and as time went by, Li Mengyao's belly began to show gradually. That day, Lin Xuan just returned home, and as soon as he entered the door, he saw Li Mengyao sitting on the sofa with an unhappy look on her face. He hurried to Li Mengyao and asked with concern, What's wrong, wife? Are you feeling unwell? Li Mengyao pouted, looked at Lin Xuan pitifully, and said a grieved lie. Hubby, I feel so ugly now. Many of my old clothes can no longer fit me. Chapter 93 The Baby Moves. Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao's slightly bulging belly, calculated the time in his mind, and found that his wife was already 18 weeks pregnant, which was more than 4 months. Now I'm finally starting to show my pregnancy. Wife, what are you talking about? You are always the most beautiful. Lin Xuan quickly comforted her. Men's words are full of lies. Li Mengyao raised her head and looked at Lin Xuan with a slightly aggrieved look. It doesn't matter if you can't wear your old clothes. Let's go shopping in my new clothes this afternoon to cover up your little belly, okay? Lin Xuan touched Li Mengyao's hair with heartache and said softly. Li Mengyao nodded slightly to show her agreement. Okay. Husband, go cook the dishes we bought today are all your favorites. After Lin Xuan hugged Li Mengyao and kissed her, he went back to the kitchen and started to get busy. After a while, a sumptuous lunch was ready. When Li Mengyao smelled the fragrance of the food, her mood instantly improved. She temporarily forgot the troubles brought by her small pregnant belly and began to enjoy the delicious food. Wife, let's go for the pregnancy check tomorrow morning, Lin Xuan said to Li Mengyao with a smile. Okay, Li Mengyao responded happily while eating. After the two of them had their lunch, they slowly returned to the bedroom, ready to enjoy a relaxing nap. Lin Xuan hugged Li Mengyao tightly, feeling her warmth and softness. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he suddenly heard a tender cry. He suddenly opened his eyes, looked at Li Mengyao in his arms nervously, and asked with concern, "What's wrong with my wife? Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Li Mengyao looked shy and happy. She stretched out her little hand and gently stroked her belly, saying softly, "The baby is moving." When Lin Xuan heard this, a surprised smile suddenly broke out on his face, and he almost jumped up with excitement. Really? He couldn't wait to sit up, then skillfully lifted Li Mengyao's clothes, revealing her slightly bulging belly. He gently put his ear on it, trying to listen to the baby's voice. However, even though the pregnancy has reached 18 weeks, the fetal movement is still very slight and almost imperceptible to the outside world. Lin Xuan tried hard for a long time, but still got nothing. But he was not disappointed. Instead, he happily lay back on the bed, continued to hug his wife, and said gently, "It's okay. You will definitely feel it in the future." Li Mengyao smiled slightly and comforted softly, "Well, don't worry. Let's get some good sleep first." Afterwards, the two of them fell asleep in each other's arms and had a good nap. In the afternoon, Lin Xuan brought Li Mengyao to the door of a clothing store that specializes in maternity wear. He took her hand and walked into the store and began to pick out some clothes that would be suitable for Li Mengyao. Although she had bought some maternity clothes before, Lin Xuan always felt that the quantity might not be enough, so she planned to buy more this time. After careful selection, Li Mengyao chose several beautiful maternity dresses, comfortable maternity pajamas and practical maternity belly support pants. They then went to other fashion stores and bought some baggy clothes. Li Mengyao has a slim figure, and her belly is not too big now. After wearing these loose clothes, her small pregnant belly is almost invisible. While Li Mengyao was still trying on clothes in the fitting room, Lin Xuan's cell phone suddenly rang. "Hello? Is this MRLN?" A middle-aged man's voice came from the phone. "Is it Boss He?" Lin Xuan asked. "It's me," He Ziyuan said with a smile. "Boss He, what do you want to talk to me about?" Lin Xuan continued to ask. "MRLN, I just want to ask you again, are you willing to have a piano concert at the Jinghai Grand Theater?" He Ziyuan looked at Lin Xuan with anticipation. "I saw you playing guitar in front of a group of people on a certain audio platform," He Ziyuan added. Lin Xuan had previously said that he would only play for his wife and babies, but now this reason is no longer valid. "Sorry," Lin Xuan was about to refuse, but he suddenly remembered that today is August 7, 2024, and the day after tomorrow, August 9, is his wife Li Mengyao's birthday. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. MRLN, if you have any conditions, I will try my best to satisfy them," He Ziyuan hurriedly said when he heard that Lin Xuan was about to refuse him again. He Ziyuan really wanted Lin Xuan to hold a piano concert at the Jinghai Grand Theater. With Lin Xuan's ability, he will definitely make a sensation across the country, and then I can recommend him to the National Piano Association and discover a musical talent for our country. When the time comes, I can tell others that I discovered a music master like Lin Xuan. It will be a proud thing. "Okay, bossy, but I have two conditions," Lin Xuan said. "What conditions? Just name them," He Ziyuan asked impatiently. "First, I want to be able to perform freely and play whatever piece I want." Lin Xuan put forward his first condition. Of course there are no restrictions for a music master like Mr. Lin, He Ziyuan quickly agreed. "Second, I want to book all the seats in the first row in the front." Lin Xuan then put forward the second condition. "No problem, it's decided happily then Mr. Lin, when is it convenient for you to come over and perform?" He Ziyuan asked interestedly. "Let's set the time for the night after tomorrow," Lin Xuan replied with a smile. "Okay, see you the day after tomorrow night." He Ziyuan was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. After ending the call, Lin Xuan turned and looked towards the fitting room, only to find that Li Mengyao had already come out after trying on clothes. She looked particularly beautiful in her new clothes. "Honey, do you think the one just now looks better or this one?" Li Mengyao asked with a smile. "Both pieces look good. Let's buy them together," Lin Xuan said with a smile. So, Lin Xuan held Li Mengyao's hand with one hand and carried a bag full of new clothes with the other hand, and happily took her home. Chapter 90. For both little ones are developing very well. The next day came, the sun was shining brightly, and Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao arrived at Jinghai People's Hospital early. They are going to do a 4-month pregnancy checkup today. After entering the hospital, Lin Xuan carefully supported Li Mengyao. They first went to the obstetrics and gynecology department. And after completing the formalities, they began to queue up for examination. It was Li Mengyao's turn to be examined, and Lin Xuan accompanied her into the clinic. After asking some detailed questions, the doctor began a series of examinations. The first thing was an ultrasound examination through the screen. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao saw the cute little eyes wriggling in their mother's belly, and their hearts were filled with joy. Next is Down syndrome screening, basic physical examination, and blood and urine routine tests. After the examination, Li Mengyao received a thick examination report, which recorded various indicators of her and her babies. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao came to the doctor's office with the examination report. After carefully reviewing the report, the doctor smiled and said, "Well, both little ones are developing very well." Hearing this, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao smiled at each other, their eyes full of happiness. The doctor then advised, "In the future, you should still pay attention to balanced nutrition and eat more foods rich in protein and vitamins. At the same time, you should also exercise properly, such as taking a walk, which is conducive to production. In addition, it is also very important to keep a happy mood." "Okay, thank you, doctor." Lin Xuan smiled slightly after hearing this, and took Li Mengyao's hand and left the hospital. The two drove back to Jinwan Mansion. After Lin Xuan parked the car, he and Li Mengyao walked into the house together. "As soon as I opened the door, Yu squatted at the door obediently as usual, meowing non-stop. It greets its owner in this way every time. Yu, have you been good at home today?" Li Mengyao squatted down and gently stroked Yu's soft hair. Yu seemed to like being petted. It squinted its eyes and made a satisfied meow sound. Now, an automatic feeder has been installed at home, and Yu no longer has to worry about going hungry. Lin Xuan walked into the kitchen and prepared to start preparing lunch for today. Li Mengyao continued to play with Yu. Come, let me show you another little fat cat." Li Mengyao picked up the kitten and played Natsun's Book of Friends on the TV in the living room. When Yu saw Teacher Meow, its emerald green eyes widened and it kept meowing. Seeing this scene, Li Mengyao couldn't help but laugh happily. Sure enough, having a cute little kitty by your side can really make a pregnant woman happy. At this moment, Lin Xuan walked into the living room with a sumptuous lunch and said to Li Mengyao gently, "Wife, dinner is ready. Here I come." Li Mengyao immediately turned off the TV. At the same time, the automatic feeding machine made a cheerful sound. Yu, it's time to eat." Dong, 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 as a pile of cat food rolled down. Yu quickly ran to his small bowl and started eating. Li Mengyao first took out a bag of dried fish from the cabinet above and gently placed it in Yu's bowl as a snack. Then Li Mengyao happily came to the living room and enjoyed a delicious lunch with Lin Xuan. After lunch, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao returned to the bedroom to rest. Just as Lin Xuan was holding Li Mengyao and preparing to fall asleep, the sound came from his mind again. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host for accompanying the baby for another pregnancy checkup. A reward is 5 million yuan in cash, and it also triggers a 2x critical strike. For a total of 10 million yuan it has been transferred to your bank card through formal channels, please check it." Ding dong. It is detected that the host has been accompanying the babies in their healthy development for more than 4 months. Reward, top-notch massage technique, please check. Immediately afterwards, a huge amount of information flooded into Lin Xuan's mind. The information contained various advanced massage techniques, allowing him to master the skill in an instant. Nowadays, if someone were to select the best technician in the country, I'm afraid no one would dare to compete with Lin Xuan. Li Mengyao is now 4 months pregnant. Proper massage is good for the fetus. Just when Lin Xuan wanted to give his wife a massage, Li Mengyao was already sleeping soundly in his arms. Lin Xuan didn't want to wake his wife, so he had to wait until night. Soon it was afternoon. Lin Xuan opened his eyes first. He lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling with empty eyes. He thought that in addition to giving his wife a special piano concert tomorrow, he also had to prepare a gift. "But, I already have rings, diamonds, necklaces and so on. So what should I give as a gift?" At this moment, Lin Xuan suddenly remembered the 10 million that had just arrived at noon. He suddenly had an idea. And the corners of his mouth slightly raised, as if he had thought of a good idea. Then he got out of bed carefully, afraid of waking up his wife who was sleeping beside him. After putting on his clothes, Lin Xuan walked out of the room quietly and sent a message to his wife on his mobile phone, telling her that he had to go out for something. Lin Xuan came to the parking lot downstairs, got into the Maybach, started the car, slowly drove out of the parking space, and drove towards the entrance of the community. Not long after, Lin Xuan arrived at a Bentley Ford store in the center of Jinghe City. "Welcome, sir. Are you here to buy a car?" A young female salesperson in a professional suit and with a good figure greeted me enthusiastically. "Yes, I want to buy a convertible sports car suitable for girls," Lin Xuan replied. "No problem, sir. please follow me. The young female salesperson smiled and led Lin Xuan to the display area in the store. She saw that Lin Xuan came in a Maybach S6 180, so she thought the car he was going to buy would definitely not be cheap. When they walked in front of a brand new Bentley, Lin Xuan's eyes lit up. A Bentley Continental convertible sports car with a Brewer blue body color appeared in his sight. The exterior design of this car combines elegance and sportiness, with smooth body lines and dynamic contours, showing Bentley's unique design style. That touch of Brewer's blue is as deep and mysterious as the ocean, sparkling with unique charm in the sun, showing its kingly demeanor. This is our Bentley Continental 2024 GT Mulliner convertible luxury sports car. Its appearance is simply a walking work of art, with classic and elegant body lines, and this brewery blue color is also very suitable for girls to drive. The young female salesperson introduced in detail. Lin Xuan first sat in the car, felt the softness and comfort of the seat, and then looked at the various configurations and functions in the car. He felt very satisfied and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It is worthy of being a top luxury car. How much is this car? Lin Xuan asked the young female salesperson beside him with a smile. This 2024 Bentley Continental GT Mulliner convertible luxury sports car costs a total of 4.2 million yuan. The young female salesperson replied enthusiastically. Okay, I'll buy it, Lin Xuan said lightly. Lin Xuan imagined the wonderful scene. He and his wife drove a Bentley Continental convertible sports car, slowly moving along the winding and picturesque coastline. The sun shone on her and the breeze gently blew through her hair, bringing a fresh ocean scent. She had a smile on her face and her eyes were full of happiness and satisfaction. Chapter 95. I hope this kid won't stand us up again. Excuse me, sir. Would you like to pay in installments or in full? The young female salesperson had a bright smile on her face and her voice was full of joy. She successfully brokered a big deal and felt a great sense of accomplishment. The young man standing in front of her at this moment is not only handsome, but also generous. I wonder if he has a girlfriend. I just heard him say that this car is for a girl, maybe his sister or elder sister. No matter what, I must find a way to get his contact information. Full payment, Lin Xuan answered calmly. The young female salesperson was slightly stunned, with a hint of surprise in her eyes. I didn't expect the other party to be so generous and chose to pay the full amount in one go without hesitation. He is really rich. And this car be delivered tomorrow morning? Lin Xuan asked immediately. Of course, for VIP customers like you. We will give priority to your order and ensure that you can get the car as soon as possible. The young female salesperson responded with a smile and a very enthusiastic attitude. Okay, thank you. Lin Xuan smiled faintly. You're welcome. I will prepare the relevant contracts and procedures for you right away. Please wait a moment. After saying this, the young female salesperson turned around and went back to the office to prepare the relevant documents. Not long after, Lin Xuan successfully completed the payment process and signed the car purchase contract. So he bought this valuable Bentley Continental 2024 GT Mulliner convertible sedan in full. Just as Lin Xuan was about to leave, he was stopped by the young female salesperson. Sir, could you please add your contact information? The young female salesperson asked nervously. Lin Xuan looked back at her, feeling a little confused, but still replied, oh, sure. Lin Xuan thought it would be fine to add a contact method. After all, it would be easier to find someone when he came to pick up the car tomorrow, so he didn't think much about it. After the two added each other's contact information, Lin Xuan drove the Maybach away from the OULI4's store. The young female salesperson stood there, looking at Lin Xuan's departing back, and a ripple appeared in her heart. The young female salesperson is named Lin Ruex. She is 23 years old and came to work in this Ford's store after graduating from university. She is beautiful, tall, gentle and kind, and is deeply loved by her colleagues. Lin Ruex. I returned to the store, and a female receptionist who was about her age suddenly called her. Ruex, the client you just had was quite handsome. Kiki, why did you suddenly scare me? Lin Ruex. rolled her eyes at her. Are you moved? Hurry up and make a move. If I weren't married, I would have pounced on you long ago. Wei Qi looked at Lin Ruex with a sly smile. Lin Ruex shook her head helplessly and said with a smile, how can it be that easy? We don't even know if he has a girlfriend. How will you know if you don't ask? Just dress up nicely and attract his attention, Wei Qi encouraged. After hearing Wei Qi's words, Lin Ruex couldn't help but feel a surge of courage in her heart. Soon, Lin Xuan drove back home. As soon as he opened the door, Li Mengyao couldn't wait to throw herself into Lin Xuan's arms. Honey, where have you been? Why did you take so long to come back? Li Mengyao raised her head with a happy smile on her face. Oh, honey, be careful, you're pregnant now. You can't be so hasty. What if you crush the baby? Lin Xuan gently scratched Li Mengyao's little nose, his eyes full of pampering and tenderness. I know, I'll pay attention next time. Li Mengyao blushed and nodded slightly. Seeing this, Lin Xuan hurriedly took Li Mengyao to the living room and let her sit on the soft sofa. You haven't told me where you went this afternoon yet. Li Mengyao snuggled in Lin Xuan's arms like a spoiled child, blinking her big eyes and asked curiously. In the past, whenever Lin Xuan went out, he would tell her where he was going and what he was going to do, but this time, Lin Xuan simply said that he had something to do and needed to go out. This made Li Mengyao feel suspicious. She felt that Lin Xuan must be hiding something from her. After thinking carefully, Li Mengyao suddenly understood that tomorrow was her birthday. I went to the company in the afternoon and had some urgent matters to deal with. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, his tone relaxed and natural. Lin Xuan wanted to give his wife a surprise, so he told a white lie. Really? Li Mengyao narrowed her beautiful eyes and smiled. Honey, are you hungry? I'll go prepare dinner. Lin Xuan felt a little nervous when Li Mengyao stared at him, so he quickly ran away. Seeing her husband running away, Li Mengyao's mouth corners slightly raised, and the beautiful arc like a crescent moon was really beautiful. Soon, Lin Xuan prepared dinner. The two sat at the dining table and enjoyed the delicious meal. After dinner, the two of them lay on the comfortable sofa and watched TV together. At this moment, Lin Xuan's cell phone started vibrating non-stop. 622 Fantong Group. Chen Jingming, my kids, Daddy is finally free tonight. How about having a midnight snack? Zhang Zisheng, you son of a bitch, you want to rebel? You have already failed so many times. Xu Quan, that's right, it's your treat tonight. Chen Jingming, where is Lin Xuan? The other party threw a bomb. Only then did Lin Xuan pick up his phone and take a look. Wife, let's get together in the university dormitory tonight for a midnight snack. Is that okay? Lin Xuan said with a smile. Of course, I can take care of myself at home. But I can't come back too late. Li Mengyao put her little face on Lin Xuan's neck, rubbed it like a spoiled child, and said softly, okay, I'll be back soon. Lin Xuan lowered his head and gave a passionate kiss to those alluring lips. And he picked up the mobile phone beside him and sent a message to his brothers in the dormitory. Lin Xuan, where is the location? Soon, he received a reply. Chen Jingming, the old place, the barbecue stand next to the university. So Lin Xuan walked into the bedroom, changed into casual clothes, and went out. He came to the underground parking lot of Jinwan Mansion, started a Maybach, and slowly drove out of the community. Not long after, Lin Xuan arrived at a barbecue stall near Jingha University. This place is full of the atmosphere of everyday life and was a place they often visited during their college years. As soon as Lin Xuan got out of the car, he saw Zhang Zisheng and Xu Quan sitting at a table chatting. When the two saw Lin Xuan, they showed happy smiles on their faces. Father Xuan, you're here. When Xu Quan saw Lin Xuan, he quickly stood up, greeted him warmly, and quickly poured him a glass of Coke. He knew that his sister-in-law Li Mengyao was pregnant, so he didn't bring beer to Lin Xuan. Where is Jingming? Hasn't he arrived yet? Lin Xuan asked, puzzled. Live? I don't know. I wonder if this guy will stand us up again. Zhang Zisheng picked up his phone and prepared to call Chen Jingming. Chapter 96. My husband also knows how to give massages. Here I come. Here I come. Chen Jingming trotted over from a distance with an excited smile on his face. Finally he came to the stool, sat down, and said breathlessly, sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. Brother Jingming, what's wrong with you? You're late, so drink 3 cups as a punishment. Xu Quan joked with a smile, and quickly picked up the bottle and poured Chen Jingming a full glass of beer. Without saying a word, Chen Jingming took the glass and drank it all in one gulp. Then, he wiped the corners of his mouth with satisfaction and sighed, I'm dying of thirst. It turned out that Chen Jingming had just been running all the way here and was already sweating profusely after taking a sip of ice cold beer. He immediately felt cool. Just when I was about to go out, my tutor suddenly sent me a message asking me to modify a file, so I was late. Chen Jingming explained, with a hint of helplessness in his tone. After hearing this, everyone expressed their understanding. Zhang Zisheng asked curiously, Jingming, is it fun to study for a master's degree? Zhang Zisheng originally had the opportunity to be admitted to graduate school directly. But he ultimately chose to give up. He wanted to go out into society first and see what the business environment was like out there. Unexpectedly, he ended up working at Lin Xuan's company. Yes, brother Jingming, you should be happy to continue staying in school. I already miss my college days. Xu Quan said. What a bullshit, I envy your freedom. I am being squeezed into the lab by my supervisor every day. Isn't the school a holiday? My supervisor has kept me here to continue doing experiments and collecting data. I feel like I'm just cheap labor. Even having a midnight snack with you guys is hard to come by. I want to drop out of school, Chen Jingming said with a bitter look on his face. Is it that serious? Lin Xuan asked in surprise. The barbecue is here. At this time, the owner of the barbecue stall brought up a large pot of fragrant grilled skewers. Yeah. Alas, it's all tears if I talk too much, Chen Jingming said helplessly as he picked up a skewer of barbecue and started eating. What about your girlfriend? Xu Quan asked. She is also very busy, but her mentor is more kind, while mine is quite extreme. Chen Jingming said with a sigh. I feel like you chose a bad mentor, Zhang Zisheng also said. Yes. I was blind to choose him. Now I can't change my supervisor, and I dare not offend him. If I offend him, I won't be able to graduate as a graduate student. Chu Quan comforted him. Brother Jingming, just bear with it, it will be over soon. Chen Jingming nodded and smiled helplessly. And he suddenly seemed to remember something and turned to ask them, by the way, how are you doing recently? Chen Jingming knew that Xu Quan started a business and managed a restaurant, while Zhang Zisheng went directly to work in a technology company. Upon hearing this question, a smug smile immediately appeared on Xu Quan's face. He replied excitedly, Brother Jingming, I feel great now. I am now managing a restaurant in Jinwan Plaza, and the business is booming. My boss is also very good. He and I split the profits 30 to 70, and I get a guaranteed base salary of 20. Xu Quan glanced at Lin Xuan and said with a smile. Lin Xuan sat aside, eating barbecue attentively, while chatting with his wife on the phone. Li Mengyao, husband, when will you come back? Lin Xuan, wait a moment, baby, be good. Is your boss better than mine? My boss at Jinwan Technology Co. Limited directly promoted me to R&D manager and paid me on an annual basis. Zhang Zisheng glanced at Lin Xuan proudly and said unwillingly. He secretly felt lucky that he had found the right job following such a capable and visionary boss. His future was bright. That must be my good. Xu Quan naturally would not give in and responded immediately. He firmly believed that his choice was right. Lin Xuan not only gave him a chance, but also allowed him to grow. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look at Lin Xuan with gratitude. My boss is good. Zhang Zisheng retorted without hesitation. He knew that his current position was not easy to come by, and Lin Xuan was the noble person who gave him the opportunity. Who is your boss? Chen Jingming asked with a puzzled look. My boss is Brother Xuan. The two answered in unison. Their eyes revealed their admiration and respect for Lin Xuan. Hearing this answer, Chen Jingming was stunned and didn't react for a while. Xu Quan and Zhang Zisheng looked at each other and blinked. Which Brother Xuan are you? Zhang Zisheng spoke first, with a hint of tentativeness in his tone. It's Lin Xuan, are you also? Xu Quan opened his mouth in surprise and looked at Zhang Zisheng in disbelief. What are you two arguing about? At this moment, Lin Xuan put down the phone in his hand and looked at them with a smile. Good guy, it turns out that your boss is the same person, Lin Xuan. Chen Jingming suddenly realized and finally understood. Brother Xuan, why didn't you tell me? Xu Quan looked at Lin Xuan in surprise and asked. You didn't ask. Lin Xuan smiled slightly. So Xu Quan is also working for you? Zhang Zisheng couldn't help laughing, and there was a hint of surprise and unexpected in his laughter. Brother Xuan, someday you can take me with you too. You can't be partial. Chen Jingming was envious, his eyes gleaming with desire. Let's talk about it after you graduate from graduate school. Lin Xuan said jokingly with a smile. That will take a long time, Chen Jingming said helplessly. On the other side, Li Mengyao was quietly staying at home watching TV, eating snacks in her hands. She looked at the time. It was already 11 o'clock. Why didn't her husband come back yet? Just as Li Mengyao was about to call Lin Xuan, she suddenly heard the sound of the door being unlocked. My husband is back. She was delighted and immediately put down the snacks in her hand, stood up and walked quickly to the door. Yu also stood up quickly and walked quickly to the door. Wife, I'm back. Welcome home. A bright smile bloomed on Li Mengyao's face. She walked forward and hugged Lin Xuan tightly, feeling the warmth from him. Why aren't you sleeping so late? Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao with a gentle smile on his lips. Wait for you to sleep together. Li Mengyao smiled sweetly. Then wife, go back to bed and lie down first. Your husband will give you a massage after taking a bath. After saying that, he gently took Li Mengyao's hand and walked towards the bedroom together. As Li Mengyao walked, she couldn't help but think to herself. My husband also knows how to give massage. Chapter 97. What day is today? After Lin Xuan carefully placed Li Mengyao on the bed, he immediately turned into the bathroom and started taking a shower. Li Mengyao heard the sound of water splashing in the bathroom at this moment. Her little head was still wondering, is her husband's massage decent? When she thought of this, a shy blush suddenly appeared on her delicate face. While Li Mengyao was still daydreaming, Lin Xuan had already finished taking a shower and came out of the bathroom. He climbed onto the bed gently, hugged Li Mengyao gently, and asked with a gentle smile on his face. Wife, what's wrong with you? Your face is as red as a ripe apple. Nothing. Li Mengyao lowered her head slightly and answered softly. Lin Xuan looked at his wife's shy appearance and didn't know what she was shy about. Come, let your husband give you a massage. Lin Xuan sat up and gently stroked Li Mengyao's shoulders, his voice full of tenderness and care. Giving pregnant women proper massage does have many benefits. It can relieve physical fatigue, improve sleep quality, and reduce their anxiety and tension. Of course, for pregnant women who are less than 3 months pregnant, since the fetus is not yet stable, massage should be avoided as much as possible to avoid causing unnecessary effects on the fetus. My wife is now more than 4 months pregnant, and she can have appropriate massage during the second trimester. How are you going to massage? Li Mengyao asked. Wife, please lie down first, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Lin Xuan possesses top-level massage skills granted by the system. He skillfully uses the index, middle and ring fingers of both hands to gently slide and press from the center of Li Mengyao's eyebrows along the forehead to both sides. And he gently pressed her temple with the tip of his thumb, his movements gentle and just right. Wife, is this strength appropriate? Lin Xuan asked softly. Well, so comfortable. Li Mengyao closed her eyes, immersed in the comfort, with a happy smile on her face. After completing the head massage, Lin Xuan then prepared to massage his wife's back. Wife, now lie down on your side. I'm going to start massaging your back, Lin Xuan said gently. Okay. Li Mengyao obediently lay down on her side. Lin Xuan used gentle techniques to press and knead Li Mengyao's back muscles gently, massaging from the waist upwards to the shoulders, while carefully avoiding the middle of the waist. Because he knows that if this part is stimulated, it may have adverse effects on the baby in the belly. During the entire massage process, Lin Xuan always maintained a high level of concentration and carefulness, ensuring that every movement made his wife feel comfortable and relaxed. After the massage, Lin Xuan gently held Li Mengyao in his arms, ready to fall into a sweet dream together. However, Li Mengyao raised her head, with a naughty smile on her lips, and asked softly, Husband, where did you learn this massage skill? Lin Xuan smiled slightly and replied, I learned it outside recently. Li Mengyao blinked and continued to ask. Outside? Where is outside? Do you often go to those places? As she spoke, she narrowed her beautiful eyes slightly, with a cunning light flashing in them, as if she was deliberately teasing Lin Xuan. In fact, Li Mengyao knew very well that her husband would never go to such a messy place. She just wanted to take this opportunity to tease her husband. After hearing this, Lin Xuan suddenly became a little nervous and quickly explained. No way, I learned it from a regular professional massage institution outside. Seeing Lin Xuan's panic, Li Mengyao couldn't help but burst out laughing and said, I just want to ask, why you panicking, husband? Only then did Lin Xuan realize that he was being teased by his wife. Lin Xuan's eyes were full of tenderness and consideration. It's already late today, let's go to bed quickly, okay? Considering the late hour, he was reluctant to let his wife stay up late as it might affect the baby's health. Li Mengyao nodded slightly. She also understood her husband's worry and concern, and her heart was filled with emotion. So the two of them fell asleep in each other's arms. Time passed, and it was the next morning. Lin Xuan slowly opened his eyes and saw Li Mengyao in his arms, blinking her beautiful eyes and staring at him quietly. Honey, are you awake? A bright smile broke out on Li Mengyao's face. Lin Xuan smiled slightly and asked with concern, Wife, why did you wake up so early today? Li Mengyao chuckled and replied, Hubby, do you know what day it is today? Lin Xuan pretended to be confused and asked in confusion. What day is today? Damn husband, Li Mengyao frowned, raised her little pink fist and punched Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan looked at her lovingly and laughed. Of course I know, today is a special day. It's my baby's birthday. After hearing this, Li Mengyao felt sweet inside and pouted her lips and said, Kokethis lie, huh? You still know that? Lin Xuan reached out and held Li Mengyao's hand, then hugged her tightly in his arms, smiling gently. How could I not know? Happy birthday, my baby. Li Mengyao raised her head slightly, her eyes sparkling with joy, and the corners of her mouth raised. Then do you have any gifts? Lin Xuan stroked her hair and said softly, Of course, my husband has been ready for a long time. Really? Where is it? Li Mengyao asked excitedly, unable to wait to see her birthday present. Lin Xuan smiled slightly. It's outside. Hearing this, Li Mengyao quickly broke free from Lin Xuan's arms, got out of bed happily, walked out of the bedroom, and went to the living room to look for gifts. However, when she looked around, she found no trace of any gifts in the living room. Only Yu raised her head and looked at her with a silly face. There is nothing. She pouted in disappointment, walked back to the bedroom angrily, sat on the edge of the bed with her back to Lin Xuan, without saying a word. Lin Xuan also laughed when he saw it. Wife, I'm not talking about outside the room, I'm talking about outside the house. Li Mengyao blinked, looking puzzled. Outside the house? Lin Xuan nodded and said seriously, Well, after we finish breakfast, I will take you to see your birthday present. Li Mengyao's eyes lit up and she smiled happily. Okay. Chapter 98 The Mysterious Musician. So Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao started to get up and wash. After finishing their breakfast, they walked out of the house together. They walked hand in hand downstairs of Jinwan Mansion. Li Mengyao suddenly stopped and asked in confusion, Husband, don't we drive there? Usually they would drive directly to the underground parking lot. But this time Lin Xuan did not take her to the parking lot. Instead, he took her hand and went directly to the gate of Jinwon Mansion. Lin Chuan smiled slightly and explained, "Let's take a taxi today." After saying that, he turned on his phone and called an online taxi. Soon, a white online hailing car drove over and stopped in front of them. Lin Chuan opened the car door, let Li Mengyao get in first, and then he got in himself. The online car hailing vehicle then slowly drove towards its destination. Along the way, Li Mengyao kept asking Lin Chuan where he was taking her, but Lin Chuan just smiled and shook his head, refusing to reveal a word. After a while, the car finally arrived at its destination, a luxury car for a store. Lin Chuan took Li Mengyao out of the car, came to the door of the Bentley Force store, and walked in. Lin Chuan took out his cell phone and called Lin Ruoxai, the female salesperson who received him yesterday. "Hello, I'm Mr. Ellen who bought the Bentley Continental yesterday. We are here now." "Okay, I'll be there right away," Lin Ruoxai said. Lin Ruoxai looked in the mirror in the office. She had dressed up nicely today, put on delicate makeup and chose a beautiful dress, hoping to leave a good impression on Lin Chuan. After all, there are very few young, handsome and generous boys like Lin Chuan, so I have to seize the opportunity. Lin Ruoxai walked out of the office and saw Lin Chuan standing in the store holding a girl. The girl looked very pure and sweet. She was wearing a light blue dress, with long hair draped over her shoulders. Her skin was as white as snow, and her beautiful eyes were clear and bright, as if they could speak. Lin Ruoxai's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that he already has a girlfriend? "Hello, Mr. Lin, this is..." Lin Ruoxai walked forward with a smile, greeted Lin Chuan politely and asked, "Oh, this is my wife," Lin Chuan introduced with a smile. His eyes were full of tenderness and love, and he held hands tightly with the woman beside him. Hearing this, Lin Ruoxai's mood instantly fell to the bottom. She originally still held out a glimmer of hope, but now it seems that she has completely lost her chance. "Hello? Could you please take us to pick up the car?" Lin Chuan looked at Lin Ruoxai, who was standing there in a daze, feeling a little confused, and couldn't help but ask, "Okay. Please follow me." Lin Ruoxai came back to her senses, forced a smile on her face, turned around and led the way. Lin Chuan held Li Mengyao's hand tightly and walked behind. "Honey, why did you buy another car?" Li Mengyao gently squeezed Lin Chuan's hand, with a gleam of surprise in her eyes, and asked curiously, "I'll get you a new car. You'll definitely like it." "My wife." Lin Chuan raised the corners of his mouth and revealed a doting smile. Soon, Lin Chuan and Li Mengyao arrived at the car pickup site. Li Mengyao's attention was immediately attracted by the brewery blue Bentley Continental, and her eyes brightened. The car's body lines are smooth and elegant, and its unique brewer's blue color is like a dazzling sapphire, exuding a charming luster. In the sunlight, it looks particularly dazzling. Its front design is exquisite and grand, and the iconic Bentley grille and sharp headlights make it recognizable at a glance. The design of the wheel hub is simple and elegant, yet distinctive. The design of the rear of the car is equally exquisite, and the rounded lines complement the overall style. The exhaust pipe has a unique shape, exuding a luxurious atmosphere. The whole car is as flawless as a work of art. Surrounded by flowers and balloons, it is like a shining pearl, attracting everyone's attention. Lin Chuan took an exquisite blue Bentley key from Lin Xiaoyuo and gently placed it in Li Mengyao's palm. "Wife, this blue Bentley Continental GT is your birthday gift," Lin Chuan said with a smile. "Thank you, husband." Li Mengyao stretched out her little hands and hugged Lin Chuan tightly, with a happy smile on her face. Then Li Mengyao carefully opened the car door, and a faint scent of leather wafted from the car. She looked carefully at every detail inside the car, her heart filled with joy. Then Lin Chuan took a bouquet of blue tulips, walked towards Li Mengyao with a smile, and handed the flowers to her. Li Mengyao took the flowers and smiled sweetly. At this moment, the staff gently pressed the shutter to record this beautiful moment. Finally, Li Mengyao and Lin Chuan got into the Bentley Continental together. Li Mengyao drove the car and slowly drove out of the Ford store. Along the way, the sunlight shone on the car windows, forming golden rays of light. A breeze blew by, bringing fresh air. Li Mengyao hummed a song happily, while Lin Chuan sat quietly in the passenger seat, admiring her beautiful profile. Soon, the car arrived at the underground parking lot of Jinwon Mansion. Li Mengyao parked the car steadily next to the Xiaomi SU7. She turned her head and took a look at the two cars, feeling a little conflicted. "Which of these two cars should I drive?" she muttered to herself. Lin Chuan seemed to see what Li Mengyao was thinking and smiled. "You can drive whichever car you want when the time comes, as long as you are happy." "Yeah." Li Mengyao took Lin Chuan's hand and left the parking lot with him. After returning home, Lin Chuan immediately got busy preparing a sumptuous lunch for Li Mengyao. After lunch, the two returned to the bedroom to rest. Since Li Mengyao got up early in the morning, she fell asleep quickly after lying on the bed. Time quickly came to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Lin Chuan gently woke Li Mengyao up. "Wife, wake up quickly, you can't sleep too long." What time is it now? Li Mengyao asked sleepily. It's already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Lin Xuan replied with a smile. I actually slept for so long. Li Mengyao suddenly opened her beautiful eyes and quickly sat up from the bed. Wife, let's go to another concert tonight, Lin Xuan suggested gently. Okay. Li Mengyao agreed happily, with a beautiful smile on her face. As night fell, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao enjoyed a sumptuous dinner. Then, they drove the brand new Bentley Continental towards the Jinghai Grand Theater. When they arrived at the theater, Lin Xuan first led Li Mengyao to the seat in the center of the front row and carefully adjusted the angle of the seat for her. And he told Li Mengyao that he was going to the bathroom and would be back soon. Li Mengyao sat there quietly, waiting for the performance to begin. Have you heard that the piano performer this time is a mysterious musician? Yes, he is advertised as a music master. I'm really looking forward to it. The audience behind started to talk. At this moment, the spotlight on the stage suddenly lit up, shining brightly. She was surprised to find that Lin Xuan was wearing a black suit. Sitting elegantly in front of a gorgeous piano, looking at her affectionately, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a warm smile. Chapter 99 Happy Birthday to You. Li Mengyao couldn't help but feel her heart beating faster, and a shy blush appeared on her face. Her eyes were like being attracted by a magnet. Unable to move away from Lin Xuan. His handsome appearance and charming temperament attracted her deeply and made her heart beat faster. She never thought that Lin Xuan would appear in front of her in such a unique way, which made her feel extremely surprised. However, the audience did not see it that way. They could not help but feel disappointed and angry when they found out that the mysterious musician they had been waiting for turned out to be a young man. Why is there a young man on the stage? Wasn't there a mysterious musician? And he play the piano? I feel cheated isn't this just a gigolo? Refund. These doubts and condemnations came one after another, and the situation was once out of control. But at this time, there was indeed an exception among the audience, who was looking at Lin Xuan on the stage with anticipation. This person was Zhu Muyang, who used to play guitar at Jinghai University. He happened to come to the concert today. Faced with the dissatisfaction and doubts of the audience, Lin Xuan did not get angry or panic. On the contrary, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a confident and calm smile. At this moment, Lin Xuan's fingers gently touched the piano keys. And the crisp notes jumped in the air like lively elves. Immediately afterwards, a series of smooth and beautiful melodies played, like the sound of nature, lingering in the entire theater. The audience, who had been noisy just a moment ago, suddenly became quiet, conquered by the wonderful music. As Lin Xuan's fingers gently touched the piano keys, melodious music sounded, like a stream of clear spring, lingering throughout the theater. Lin Xuan played classic pieces including Wedding in the Dream, Starry Sky, and Romance of Love. Every song was intoxicating, and Li Mengyao felt Lin Xuan's affectionate confession to her. She sat quietly in the audience, her eyes moist and tears welling up in her sockets. At the same time, she was also immersed in the beautiful melody, feeling Lin Xuan's love for her. As the last note fell, the entire theater fell into silence. Then thunderous applause broke out. The audience stood up and gave Lin Xuan warm applause and cheers. Their faces were filled with appreciation and admiration, and their original dissatisfaction had long since disappeared. After the applause ended, Lin Xuan stood up and bowed to everyone. Thank you very much for coming to my concert. The main purpose of holding a concert here is to give my wife a special concert. His voice was low and magnetic, and his eyes looked at the audience firmly. After saying this, he slowly pointed his finger at his wife, Li Mengyao, who was sitting in the front row. At this time, Li Mengyao was already moved to tears. She stood up excitedly, covering her mouth with her hands, her eyes full of happiness and surprise. Then she trotted to the stage and threw herself into Lin Xuan's arms. Lin Xuan hugged Li Mengyao tenderly, stroked her hair gently, and wiped away the tears from her face with his hands. Today is my wife's birthday. So I have one last song for her, Lin Xuan said affectionately. He held Li Mengyao's little hand and slowly walked to the piano, asked her to sit down first. And then he sat next to her. The two of them clung to each other, as if they were the only two people left in the world. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a faint smile, and then his fingers lightly touched the piano keys, making a crisp and pleasant sound. Then he began to play a cheerful and beautiful song, Happy Birthday, accompanied by beautiful notes. He sang softly, Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. The audience was infected by the warm atmosphere and sang along with him. Their singing merged into a warm torrent, filling the entire space. Happy birthday to you. These lyrics convey good wishes to everyone. Li Mengyao leaned quietly beside Lin Xuan, feeling the joy and emotion brought by the music. She closed her eyes and listened to the melodious melody, as if she was in a dreamlike state. At this moment, she felt that she was the happiest woman in the world. As the concert ended, The audience stood up and left their seats, their faces filled with satisfaction and joyful smiles. Wow, this concert was amazing, someone exclaimed. Yeah, I think the ticket price is really worth it, the music is so good, another person echoed. Although the performer is young, his piano level is so high, it's really amazing, someone else exclaimed. He is simply a talented musician, someone else commented excitedly. And the last part of the passionate confession. His wife must be very happy. Everyone was talking about it with envy. At this time, Lin Chuan and Li Mengyao had already walked out of the concert hall hand in hand, with happy smiles on their faces. They arrived at the parking lot of the Jingha Grand Theatre. Lin Chuan opened the door of the Bentley like a gentleman and invited Li Mengyao to sit in the passenger seat. He then walked around to the driver's side, got in and prepared to start the engine. Wife, why didn't you say anything along the way? Lin Chuan noticed Li Mengyao's silence and asked with concern. Abi, you are so good to me. Li Mengyao's eyes suddenly became moist and she choked. I'm your husband. Of course I'll treat you well, Lin Chuan said gently, then gently hugged Li Mengyao. He had a smile on his face and his eyes were full of love and fondness. Li Mengyao raised her head slightly, her eyes sparkling with crystal tears, as if containing endless emotions. She took the initiative to move forward and offered her pink and soft lips. Chapter 100 Happy Birthday, Yao Yao. It wasn't clear how long the kiss lasted. Li Mengyao gently pushed Lin Chuan away, then pressed her little head against Lin Chuan's chest. Go home. Li Mengyao lowered her head slightly and said in a low voice. Okay. Lin Chuan carried Li Mengyao back to the passenger seat and helped her fasten her seat belt. Then he started the car, left the Jingha Grand Theatre and drove towards Jinwan Mansion. Soon, Lin Chuan and Li Mengyao returned to their doorstep. The moment Li Mengyao opened the door, a surprise happened. Happy birthday! There were only two loud bangs, followed by countless colorful ribbons floating down, and Li Mengyao's eyes were suddenly filled with splendor. It turned out that Chen Man and Yang Lin were setting off birthday fireworks on both sides. Behind the two of them, Liu Uxin was holding a big birthday cake and looking at Li Mengyao with a smile. Happy birthday, Yao Yao, Liu Uxin said with a smile. You, Li Mengyao covered her mouth, too surprised to speak. This was all your husband's idea. Don't just stand there, come in. Chen Man pulled Li Mengyao into the house. The house is filled with colorful balloons. Like a group of cheerful elves dancing in the air, the bright lights are like stars, illuminating every happy corner. Everyone sat around the dining table. Lin Chuan lit the candles on the cake and then turned off the lights. Li Mengyao clenched her hands, closed her beautiful eyes, and prepared to make a wish to the birthday cake. Her beautiful face looked particularly charming in the candlelight. Lin Chuan looked at her quietly, his heart filled with happiness. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Liu Uxin sang first. Then everyone started to sing along. The song echoed in the room, warm and touching. Li Mengyao opened her eyes, tears glistening in them. Thank you, everyone, I'm really happy. Then she blew out the candle, and the room was suddenly dark. However, there was an atmosphere of warmth and happiness in the darkness. Then Lin Chuan turned on the lights in the house, took out a cake knife, and prepared to cut into the poor birthday cake. Not long after, a big birthday cake was cut into pieces and distributed to everyone. Li Mengyao and her sisters also came to the living room and tasted delicious cakes while watching TV. Lin Chuan returned to the kitchen and prepared some snacks for them. Yao Yao, this is for you, your birthday present. Yang Lin handed an exquisite gift box to Li Mengyao. And mine, Yao Yao's birthday present. Chen Man also handed over the gift she had prepared. This is mine. Liu Uxin smiled slightly and handed the gift to Li Mengyao. Thank you. Li Mengyao took the three gifts, put them aside carefully, and continued to chat happily with her sisters. In the evening, after Li Mengyao saw off her three good sisters, she returned to the living room and hugged Lin Chuan tightly. Honey, I'm really happy today. This is the happiest birthday I've ever had. Well, as long as you are happy. Lin Chuan stroked her hair gently and said tenderly. By the way, wife, what wish did you make just now? Lin Chuan asked curiously. If I don't tell you, it won't work if I tell you. Li Mengyao answered mischievously, with a happy smile on her face. Then I'll go take a shower, Li Mengyao said softly. And she gently broke free from Lin Chuan's arms, kissed him on the face, and floated towards the bathroom like a light butterfly. Lin Chuan looked at her departing back, a gentle smile appearing on his lips. In fact, Lin Chuan could roughly guess it. Li Mengyao's wish is to be happily together with Lin Chuan forever. After taking a shower, Li Mengyao exuded a faint fragrance all over her body, like a blooming flower. Then Lin Chuan walked into the bathroom and started taking a shower. At this time, Li Mengyao was sitting on the sofa in the living room, opening the gifts given to her by her sisters one by one. Li Mengyao first opened the gifts from Yang Lin and Chen Man, which contained two exquisite and lovely little gifts. She took them out to admire them with great joy and placed them in the living room as decorations. Then, when her eyes fell on the gift given by Liu Yuxin, she couldn't help but feel curious. From the outside, it looks like a piece of clothing. So she carefully tore open the package, opened it and took a look. Her face instantly blushed. She quickly took out her phone, opened the chat window with Liu Yuxin, and wrote, "Stinky XIN, what is this?" Liu Yuxin replied, "What I gave was just an ordinary piece of clothing." Li Mengyao widened her eyes and said in disbelief, "Ordinary clothes?" Liu Yuxin smiled mischievously. "Yao Yao, I'll help you here. I still have to go to work tomorrow, so I'm going to sleep. Bye." Li Mengyao looked at the clothes in her hands, her eyes firm as if she had made some kind of decision, and then she quickly walked back to the bedroom. After Lin Xuan came out of the shower, he walked to the living room while wiping his hair. However, he did not see his wife, and a sense of doubt arose in his heart. So he walked towards the bedroom, gently pushed open the door, but found it was pitch black inside. "Wife, why don't you turn on the lights?" Lin Xuan asked softly. Just as he was about to reach out and press the switch, Li Mengyao in the dark suddenly stopped him and said, "Hubby, don't turn on the light." "Why?" Lin Xuan asked with confusion on his face. "No reason, husband. Just come up." Li Mengyao's voice was shy and nervous, which made people feel pity for her. Lin Xuan walked slowly into the bedroom, his steps soft and cautious. At the dim night light, he found that Li Mengyao was wrapped tightly in the quilt, with only her cute little face exposed, like a well-behaved little kitten. Lin Xuan climbed onto the bed gently and slowly lifted the quilt. When he finally saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned. "Wife, what are you doing?" Lin Xuan was about to continue speaking when Li Mengyao stretched out her hands and hooked her neck, and her cherry lips blocked his mouth. Chapter 101 Hug Your Husband. The next morning, the sun shone through the curtains onto the bed. Lin Xuan slowly opened his eyes, and what came into view was Li Mengyao's beautiful face. She was nestled in his arms with a happy smile on her lips. At this moment, Li Mengyao used Lin Xuan's arm as a pillow and hugged it tightly. Time passed minute by minute, and about an hour later, Li Mengyao's eyelashes trembled slightly and then her charming eyes slowly opened. "Wife, are you awake?" Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao affectionately and asked softly. Li Mengyao raised her little hands and rubbed her eyes gently. After a while, when Li Mengyao recovered, she blinked her big eyes and said to Lin Xuan, "Kokathis Lai. Hubby, I'm hungry." Lin Xuan said gently, "I'll go prepare breakfast now." After saying that, he quickly jumped out of bed, put on his clothes, and walked out of the bedroom. Just as Lin Xuan was making a delicious breakfast for Li Mengyao, the system's voice rang again. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host for giving the baby's mother an unforgettable birthday. A reward is for $1,000,000 in cash, and it also triggers a 3x critical hit. For a total of 12 million yuan it has been transferred to your bank card through formal channels. Please check it." Ding dong, it is detected that the host has bought a new car for the baby's mother, for the safety of the babies. The system will once again help you load the top intelligent driving system of future technology for free. Congratulations to the host for successfully loading the top intelligent driving system of future technology into the Bentley Continental. Just like the previous Xiaomi SU7, the host does not need manual driving. Lin Xuan was very surprised. Not only did they send another sum of money, but they also perfectly integrated gasoline vehicles and smart driving. It was simply amazing. In this way, he would feel at ease letting his wife drive. The more Lin Xuan thought about it, the happier he became. So he sped up preparing breakfast. In a short while, Lin Xuan prepared delicious sweet potato millet porridge, golden fried eggs and fragrant vegetable buns. After Lin Xuan brought breakfast to the dining table, he walked into the bedroom. He gently pushed open the door and found Li Mengyao lying back on the bed, playing with her mobile phone with a smile on her face. "Baby, get up and wash up. It's time for breakfast." Lin Xuan walked to Li Mengyao and said softly, "I've just washed up, but I still feel so tired." Li Mengyao closed her beautiful eyes and pouted. "And what should we do?" Lin Xuan asked with eyes full of doting. "Hubby, give me a hug." Li Mengyao stretched out her little hand and said, "Kokathis Lai." "Okay." Lin Xuan smiled happily, held Li Mengyao gently in his arms like a little princess, and slowly walked towards the restaurant. Then the two of them happily enjoyed the sumptuous breakfast. After breakfast, Lin Xuan was responsible for cleaning up the dishes, while Li Mengyao started to play with the kitten with a cat toy. So Yu ran left and then right, and was so tired that he was out of breath. He lay on the ground and stuck out his little tongue. No matter how we teased him, he refused to move. Seeing this scene, Li Mengyao smiled and shook her head, and took out a can of cat food and placed it in front of Yu as a reward. Then, she took out a book from the study, lay down leisurely on the comfortable sofa, and quietly enjoyed the reading time. 10 minutes later, Lin Xuan walked out of the kitchen and sat down next to Li Mengyao. At this moment, the cell phone in his pocket rang again. "Excuse me, is this MRLN?" A deep and steady male voice came from the other end of the phone. Yes, it's me, May. I ask who you are? Lin Juan replied calmly. Oh, I'm the chief engineer in charge of the renovation of room 8, Wolvo 1 in Times Garden. Your house has now been fully renovated and you can come over for acceptance at any time. If you are not satisfied with any aspect, please feel free to contact me. The reply came from the other end of the phone. Okay. I got it, thank you for your notice. Lin Juan hung up the phone. Honey, whose phone is this? Li Mingyao came over and asked curiously. It's from the decoration company. He said that our Times Garden in Jingshui City has been renovated. Lin Juan replied with a smile. Really? Then can we go back and take a look? Li Mingyao's face was full of anticipation. Lin Juan smiled slightly, hugged her gently, and then kissed her beautiful lips. Wife. Not now. Li Mingyao was a little confused by the kiss, but she still snorted and asked unwillingly, why? Lin Juan patiently explained, because the house has just been renovated, there is still a lot of formaldehyde that has not completely dissipated. If we move in now, it will be harmful to our health, especially since you are pregnant with a baby. Li Mingyao couldn't help but reveal a hint of disappointment when she heard this. How long will it take before we can move in? Lin Juan smiled and said, generally speaking, it takes 3 to 6 months, but I can ask them to hire a professional formaldehyde removal company to help deal with it. This should speed up the process and it can be done in a month. Why don't we wait until September to return to Jingshui City? Okay. Li Mingyao suddenly became happy again, with joy shining in her eyes. Chapter 100. To preparing it on about a gift. At noon, Lin Juan brought the chicken soup he had carefully prepared to the table, and the aroma filled the air. Wife, try it soon. He looked tenderly at Li Mingyao, who was sitting at the dining table. Li Mingyao took the bowl, gently blew away the hot steam from the soup, and then took a careful sip. Suddenly, a rich fragrance spread in her mouth, making her unable to help but smile with satisfaction. Delicious. After lunch, the two returned to the bedroom. It's time for Technician Lin to come online. Relying on top-notch massage techniques, Lin Juan gave Li Mingyao another comfortable massage. Li Mingyao lay quietly on the bed, closed her eyes, and enjoyed it quietly. Not long after, she fell into a deep sleep. It was afternoon, and Lin Juan sat in front of the Steinway piano, holding Li Mingyao as usual, and played beautiful music with his hands. The notes jump and dance in the air like elves, making people intoxicated. At the same time, the Jinghai City Piano Association is holding an important meeting. In a spacious and bright conference room, a group of well-dressed and focused people sat together. There was a large screen TV on the podium, which was playing a video of Lin Juan playing the piano at the Jinghai Grand Theater. The entire conference room was filled with a strong artistic atmosphere, and everyone was immersed in the beautiful and moving melody, intoxicated and unable to extricate themselves. When the video ended, there was silence in the conference room. Everyone's face showed deep shock and admiration. After a while, Izzy Chaiyuan broke the silence and asked with a smile, "What do you think?" As soon as the words fell, everyone came to their senses and expressed their opinions. This is simply the sound of nature. I have never heard such beautiful piano music. This young man's playing skills have reached master level. His piano skills are second to none in the country. Such a musical talent is hard to come by in a century. Everyone spoke highly of Lin Juan and praised him highly. When Izzy Chaiyuan heard these words of praise, he couldn't help feeling a little proud. After all, Lin Juan was a talent he discovered. I met such a musical genius by chance, he said with a smile. Since there is such a talented person, we must not miss him. Someone suggested, we should recruit him into our piano association as soon as possible. Yes, if we don't hurry up, we may be overtaken by associations in other regions, another person echoed. However, Izzy Chaiyuan frowned and sighed. Well, I also want to recruit him, but I'm afraid he himself is unwilling to join. At the beginning, he had to work very hard to get Lin Juan to agree to hold a piano concert. At night, Lin Juan and Li Mingyao lay together on the lazy chairs on the balcony, enjoying the sparkling waves on the river and the comfort brought by the breeze. Li Mingyao curled up in Lin Juan's arms like a docile kitten, sometimes playing with her mobile phone, sometimes reading quietly. She liked this the most. At the same time, Lin Juan was immersed in the charming fragrance of his wife, gazing at the river in the distance, thinking to himself, the day after tomorrow is the Chinese Valentine's Day in the lunar calendar. What kind of gift should I give to my wife? Suddenly he remembered that his wife loved taking pictures of beautiful scenery with her mobile phone, so Lin Juan had an idea. Li Mingyao was also thinking about what kind of gift she should prepare for her husband on the Chinese Valentine's Day the day after tomorrow. Give yourself to him? It seems like I gave myself to him yesterday. Thinking of this, Li Mingyao's delicate little face turned red instantly. So she shook her little head and tried to calm down. Suddenly she remembered Lin Juan's love for Jaichu's songs when he played the piano, and an idea suddenly came to her mind. Husband, Li Mengyao called softly, raising her head and blinking her elegant eyes gently. What's wrong? Lin Xuan lowered his head and looked at Li Mengyao with a smile. Nothing. I just called you. Li Mengyao stuck out her tongue playfully, with a sweet smile on her lips. Lin Xuan continued to hold Li Mengyao. His thoughts drifting away again, he was thinking in his mind which camera would be most suitable for his wife. Leica Q2 or Sony A7 or IV. It seems Nikon Z7i is also very good. Just as he was absorbed in his thoughts, he heard a sweet voice calling out again, "Husband." The voice was playful and cunning, which made Lin Xuan couldn't help laughing. He lowered his head, showing his signature gentle smile, and asked softly, "What's wrong?" Li Mengyao blinked and said with a smile, "Nothing." However, before she could finish her words, Lin Xuan kissed her lips. Seeing that his wife is so naughty and cute, Lin Xuan naturally won't spoil her. Chapter 103 Happy Chinese Valentine's Day. The time has come to the day after tomorrow. Today is the 7th day of the 7th month in the lunar calendar, which is also the Chinese Valentine's Day. A day when Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao got their marriage certificate was July 7th in the lunar calendar, which was like the special holidays for them. The early morning sunlight shone through the curtains onto the bed. Lin Xuan slowly opened his eyes and looked at Li Mengyao, who was sleeping quietly in his arms, with a happy smile on his face. He climbed out of bed carefully, fearing to wake her up, and took out a beautiful gift from the cabinet beside him. This gift was the Chinese Valentine's Day gift he specially prepared for Li Mengyao, the Nikon Z7i camera. This camera has a high-pixel full-frame mirrorless design with excellent image quality and focusing performance. At the same time, its body is light and portable, very suitable for girls to use. The price is not expensive, about 30,000. Lin Xuan gently placed the Nikon Z7i on the bedside table and left a handwritten note. And he quietly left the room and began to prepare a hearty breakfast for his wife. Lin Xuan walked out of the bedroom and came to the living room, and saw a record on the piano stand. At a glance, he walked closer with curiosity and found that it was Jay Chou's latest album, The Greatest Work, with Jay Chou's autograph on it. He picked up the record and looked at it carefully, but felt a note underneath. Bad husband, Happy Chinese Valentine's Day. There was also a heart drawn by Li Mengyao herself at the end. Lin Xuan smiled slightly when he saw it, and felt touched in his heart. On the other side, Li Mengyao also opened her beautiful eyes HAZILY after lying quietly on the bed for a while. She saw an exquisite camera on the bedside table at a glance. This surprised her because Li Mengyao has always loved photography, but since a good camera is expensive, she can only use her mobile phone to record the beautiful moments in life. Now with this Nikon camera, she can better capture those beautiful landscapes and precious moments. Li Mengyao blinked happily and picked up the Nikon camera and started fiddling with it in her hands. She carefully opened the lens cap, adjusted the focus and aperture, and felt the tacit understanding between her fingers and the shutter. Every time you press the shutter, it's like creating a new world. She was immersed in this world full of creativity and ardent forgot the passage of time. After fiddling with it for a while, Li Mengyao saw another note on the bedside table. She curiously stretched out her little hand to take it, and saw that it was left by her bad husband. Thaby, Happy Chinese Valentine's Day. I love your husband. There was also a kiss pattern drawn on the back. Li Mengyao looked at the note and smiled sweetly. Why does my husband always think about kissing me? At this moment, Lin Xuan gently pushed open the door and saw Li Mengyao sitting upright on the bed, looking at him with a smile on her face. Lin Xuan walked forward happily, sat down next to Li Mengyao, and asked softly, "Wife, are you awake?" Li Mengyao nodded and chuckled, and responded, "Well, thank you for the gift from my husband, I like it very much." As she spoke, she hugged Lin Xuan tightly and gently placed a sweet kiss on his left cheek. Lin Xuan felt the warmth, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he said jokingly, "I also like my wife's gift very much. Is this the end?" Li Mengyao smiled shyly, and kissed Lin Xuan on the right cheek again, and said gently, "One more thing, this is symmetrical." There was a hint of playfulness and cuteness on her beautiful face. Seeing this, Lin Xuan smiled and said, "In that case, my wife has almost kissed you, isn't it my turn now?" Before he finished speaking, he couldn't wait to move closer to Li Mengyao's delicate lips and tried to kiss her. "No, I'm going to wash up." Li Mengyao dodged flexibly, quickly broke free from Lin Xuan's arms, walked quickly into the bathroom and started washing up. Lin Xuan shook his head helplessly. He had no way to deal with this naughty wife. He could only go back to the kitchen and put the breakfast he had carefully prepared on the dining table. Not long after, Li Mengyao finished washing up and slowly walked to the restaurant, and the two began to enjoy a delicious breakfast. "Wife, let's go to Jinghai Disneyland later," Lin Xuan said softly with a smile on his face. Hearing this, Li Mengyao smiled brightly. Her eyes became crescent-shaped. "Okay." So, after they had eaten and taken a short rest, they returned to the bedroom together to change their clothes. Li Mengyao turned around and started changing clothes with her back to Lin Xuan. Although she was still a little shy, she thought that he had already seen everything she should see. So she didn't worry about it anymore. After all, she couldn't stop her husband who was always acting like a hooligan. At the same time, Lin Xuan quickly changed into a handsome outfit, then sat quietly beside the bed, admiring his wife's carefully dressed appearance. Not long after, Li Mengyao had finished putting on her makeup. Her makeup is very light yet sophisticated. This makes her, who is already naturally beautiful, even more graceful and pure. Afterwards, Li Mengyao changed into an apricot floral maternity dress. The design of the dress is both fashionable and comfortable, and very suitable for pregnant women to wear. Then she put on a sun protection shirt, which not only protects against the sun, but also adds a sense of layering to the overall look. Finally, Li Mengyao wore a cute little hat, which added a touch of playfulness to the whole outfit. She turned around in front of the mirror, looked at herself in the mirror, and smiled with satisfaction. Li Mengyao now looks fresh, charming and beautiful like a painting. Honey, let's go. When everything was ready, Li Mengyao took Lin Xuan's arm and walked out of the house together. The two came to the Jinwan mansion parking lot. Lin Xuan carefully helped Li Mengyao to the passenger seat, and then he walked to the driver's seat of the Bentley Continental and sat down. Wife, this Bentley Continental can now also drive intelligently, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Isn't it a gasoline truck? Li Mengyao tilted her head slightly and asked in confusion. It was just upgraded recently, honey. You can drive it in the future just like the previous Xiaomi SU7, without manual driving. Okay. Li Mengyao felt that this was very convenient and no longer wondered why gasoline cars could be driven intelligently. So Lin Xuan started the car, turned on the top intelligent driving mode, and then the Bentley Continental began to automatically drive towards Jinghe Disneyland. Chapter 100 For I Feel Like a Princess. Soon, the Bentley Continental parked steadily in the parking lot of Beijing Disneyland. Lin Xuan got out of the car first, and when he was about to go to the passenger seat to help his wife, Li Mengyao's cute little head popped out first. She blinked her eyes in delight, a hint of happiness flashing across her face. There was a huge Mickey Mouse sculpture greeting every visitor with a big smile on its face. Surrounded by gorgeous arches and fluttering ribbons, the dreamy castle spire shines mysteriously under the blue sky and white clouds. The bustling crowd is filled with happy smiles, and cute cartoon characters are dancing happily at the door, warmly inviting people to enter this world full of miracles. Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand and followed the crowd into the world of Jinghe Disney. Because Li Mengyao had never been here before, she was looking around the whole time. Whenever she saw something she liked, she would take pictures of it with the Nikon Z7i camera that Lin Xuan gave her. Lin Xuan began to explore step by step according to the Disney travel guide he found on the internet. Li Mengyao is pregnant now, so she cannot experience many exciting activities. So Lin Xuan brought Li Mengyao to the Disney Carousel project. This carousel moves relatively gently and is relatively safe for pregnant women, so they can play on it with confidence. The carousel at Beijing Disneyland is a splendid visual feast. The tall and gorgeous wooden horse installation shines with colorful lights. The carvings on the wooden horse are meticulously done, with every detail showing exquisite craftsmanship. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao quayed quietly at the back. Soon, it was their turn. Li Mengyao picked a pink wooden horse. Lin Xuan helped Li Mengyao onto the horse and carefully fastened her seatbelt. The latter held the handrail and waited for the horse to start. Then Lin Xuan sat on a white wooden horse next to Li Mengyao, like a prince charming, looking at Li Mengyao with a smile. When the music starts, the wooden horse slowly turns, and people seem to be in a dreamy fairy tale world, intoxicated by it. While Li Mengyao shouted excitedly, "So beautiful, I feel like a princess." She was as excited as a child, with a happy smile on her face. "Wife, give me the Nikon camera and I'll take a picture for you," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Okay." Li Mengyao responded with a smile. She took out a camera from her bag and handed it to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan took the camera and adjusted the focus. As the carousel slowly turned, a bright smile appeared on Li Mengyao's face, an expression of innocence and happiness. Lin Xuan pressed the shutter and recorded this beautiful moment in the camera. After experiencing the carousel, Lin Xuan brought Li Mengyao to Crystal Colorful Flight. This is a place full of fantasy, making people feel like they have entered a fairy tale world. Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao boarded the Crystal Cruise and began a wonderful journey like a dream. The boats move leisurely in the sparkling waterway, and the scenery on both sides of the river unfolds like a series of colorful paintings. The colorful lights and wonderful sound effects interweave to create a mysterious and romantic atmosphere. As the boat slowly passes through the mysterious cave, colorful lights illuminate the entire space, making people feel as if they are in a magical world. The flowers blooming by the waterway exude a charming fragrance, and the breeze brings a touch of freshness and comfort. Li Mengyao held Lin Xuan in her arms, quietly appreciating the beautiful scenery before her. At noon, Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao to a restaurant in Disney, Mickey's Pals Tasty Market. For lunch, Lin Xuan ordered their signature dishes: slow-cooked lamb tendon, seafood laksa noodles, German grilled sausage, and pineapple and shrimp fried rice. Looking at the table full of delicious food, Li Mengyao was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling. And then she had a full meal happily. After lunch, Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao's hand and strolled to the wonderful memory house. As soon as she entered the store, Li Mengyao was attracted by the various goods. She excitedly pointed at the exquisite crystal ornaments in front of her and exclaimed, "Wow, this is so beautiful." Then, she turned her head and saw those uniquely shaped badges. Her eyes lit up. "This badge is so cute too." Lin Xuan looked at Li Mengyao's happy expression, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. He smiled and said, "Which one do you like? Your husband will buy it for you." In the end, the two picked out a cute badge and pinned it on each other's clothes. After leaving the wonderful memory house, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao both had a cute badge on their clothes. They smiled at each other and continued to stroll around Disney. As they walked, Lin Xuan noticed that Li Mengyao's forehead had begun to sweat and a hint of fatigue appeared on her face. He asked gently, "Honey, are you tired?" Li Mengyao nodded gently and said, "It's a bit hot." Lin Xuan knew that the sun was strongest and the temperature was highest at noon, so he had booked a hotel in advance for his lunch break. So the two of them came to the hotel. "I'm so tired." Li Mengyao lay on the soft big bed and let out a contented sigh. Lin Xuan also lay down, hugged her tightly, and said with a smile, "Wife, the weather will be very hot in the afternoon, let's go out later." "Yeah." Li Mengyao nodded in agreement. So the two of them snuggled together and soon fell asleep. After the afternoon heat passed, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao left the hotel and continued exploring Jinghe Disneyland. The two first visited Alice's Wonderland maze, then walked through a maze made up of hedges, stone walls, giant flowers and other fantasy sculptures, and also met the Miu cat and the little white rabbit. Afterwards, Lin Xuan continued to take Li Mengyao to watch Frozen, as if they had stepped into an ethereal, pure and magical world of ice and snow. After the tour, Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao came to Disney's Old Vinery restaurant for dinner. They sat by the window and admired the night view outside. Then, Li Mengyao looked at the siblings who were eating at the table next to her, and a warm smile appeared on her face. The younger brother said pitifully, "Sister, I want to have some of yours, too." But my sister answered firmly, "No, you didn't order it just now." The younger brother said a grieved lie, "I just eat a little." My sister responded somewhat helplessly, "Then you can't eat too much." As a result, my brother suddenly grabbed a hamburger and took a bite, finishing most of it. "My burger," my sister screamed. When Li Mengyao saw this scene, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. Then she touched her slightly bulging belly and imagined whether her future babies would also be so cute and naughty. At 8 o'clock in the evening, as night fell, a soul-stirring fireworks show kicked off at Beijing Disneyland. A brilliant fireworks bloomed in the night sky, like gorgeous flowers blooming in an instant, or like stars falling to the earth. The colorful lights illuminated the entire paradise. People looked up, their faces filled with smiles of happiness and joy. "Husband!" Li Mengyao looked up and shouted. Her voice was drowned out by the noisy environment around them, but Lin Xuan keenly caught her call. He lowered his head and looked at his beautiful wife in front of him, with a gentle smile on his face. "What's wrong?" At this moment, a huge firework soared into the sky, like a dazzling dragon soaring into the sky. Li Mengyao stretched out her little hands and hugged Lin Xuan's neck, stood on tiptoes and gave him a sweet kiss. Lin Xuan was slightly stunned, and responded to her enthusiasm, and the two of them were immersed in a sweet atmosphere. Bang! But the loud bang! Huge fireworks exploded in the air, like a fairy waving her colorful sleeves and scattering countless gorgeous petals. At the same time, it also illuminates the figure of Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao hugging and kissing. Chapter 105 Honorary President. Ein flies like a white horse, and soon it is the annual Zhongyuan Festival, also known as Ghost Festival or Mid-July Festival. According to folk tradition, a heaven and earth palace will open the gates of hell and release all ghosts, allowing deceased ancestors to return home and reunite with their families. I remember that at that time, whenever the Ghost Festival came, Lin Xuan would always be reluctant to go home because he wanted to play. His mother, Shang Xiaolan, would scare him by saying, "There will be many ghosts haunting tonight." Coupled with Lin W. Anking's fanning the flames, the young Lin Xuan was so scared that he dared not step out of the house. Now, as he gets older, Lin Xuan no longer believes it. Ghosts and such don't exist. In the early morning, sunlight poured into the room through the gaps in the curtains. Lin Xuan slowly opened his eyes, feeling the gentle breathing of his wife Li Mengyao in his arms. At this moment, she snuggled tightly in Lin Xuan's arms, with the corners of her mouth slightly raised, revealing a happy smile. Lin Xuan gently left an affectionate kiss on Li Mengyao's forehead, and carefully got out of bed. After washing up, Lin Xuan walked into the kitchen and carefully prepared a sumptuous breakfast. After finishing the meal, He put his wife's portion in the warmer then. Lin Chuan left home and went to Jinwan Technology Company. An hour later, Li Mengyang also woke up from her sweet dream. She blinked her beautiful eyes dazedly and looked around with a hazy look. When I saw that my husband was no longer in bed, I felt a slight sense of loss in my heart, but I also knew that he had gone to the company. So she lay quietly on the bed for a while, enjoying this moment of tranquility and laziness. Then she slowly got out of bed, walked to the bathroom and started washing up. Then she went to the kitchen, opened the warming cabinet, and found a familiar loving breakfast inside. Li Mengyao's face was filled with a happy smile. She sat happily at the dining table, slowly savoring the delicious breakfast. Just then, the cell phone rang suddenly, interrupting her thoughts. She picked up the phone and saw that it was Liu Yuxian calling her via video. Li Mengyao was slightly stunned, then clicked the answer button, and Liu Yuxian's smiling face immediately appeared on the screen. Yao Yao, let's go out and play later. Liu Yuxian said excitedly. Xin, don't you have to go to work? Li Mengyao asked curiously. What kind of work? I don't want to work in this life. When Liu Yuxian heard the word work, her face instantly fell and she looked unhappy. Is it fake? Li Mengyao laughed out loud at Liu Yuxian's expression. Zun. I'm on vacation today and don't want to discuss work, that's it. I'll go take a nap and leave as soon as I wake up, Liu Yuxian said and hung up the video call. After finishing her breakfast, Li Mengyao sat down on the sofa in the living room with a book in her hand at the same time. She did not forget to pick up the cat toy to tease the cat. Time passed minute by minute, and about an hour later, she suddenly received a cute emoticon package from Liu Yuxian. Half an hour later, Li Mengyao finally finished dressing up. She looked at herself in the mirror, nodded with satisfaction, and then left the room. Before going out, she took out her cell phone and sent a message to Lin Chuan to report. Then she opened the door and walked out. Since Liu Yuxian's car broke down not long ago, Li Mengyao was responsible for driving to pick her up this time. Li Mengyao walked to the Bentley Continental, gently opened the door, and got into the spacious and comfortable driver's seat. And she pressed the start button and activated the top-level intelligent driving system. With a slight roar, the car slowly drove out of Jinwan Prefecture and headed towards its destination. Not long after, Li Mengyao drove to the gate of Liu Yuxian's community. Just at this moment, Liu Yuxian happened to walk out from the gate of the community. Liu Yuxian saw the brand new convertible sports car that Li Mengyao was driving. A hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. She walked quickly to the car excitedly, opened the passenger door, and sat in. Wow Yao, when did you buy such a beautiful convertible sports car? Liu Yuxian asked curiously. This is the gift Lin Chuan gave me on my birthday, Li Mengyao said with a smile. TSK. That's great, now she has completely turned into a little rich woman, Liu Yuxian teased. Don't talk nonsense. You are the rich woman, you make me sound old. Where are we going now? Li Mengyao rolled her eyes at Liu Yuxian and asked with a slight smile on her lips. Let's go eat first, I haven't had breakfast yet. Liu Yuxian stretched out her little hand and pointed forward. Li Mengyao looked at Liu Yuxian speechlessly, then started the car and drove slowly forward. Yao, don't you drive without holding the steering wheel? Liu Yuxian looked at Li Mengyao with her hands on her legs and said nervously. No need, my car has smart driving, Li Mengyao said with a relaxed smile. How can a gasoline car have intelligent driving? On this side, Lin Chuan happily returned home after simply handling some things in the company. He just opened the door, but his wife didn't greet him with a hug. Hey, where's my wife? Lin Chuan muttered to himself as he walked into the living room, and walked into the bedroom and looked around, but no one was there. Strange, where is my wife? Lin Chuan scratched his head, then took out his cell phone and saw the message Li Mengyao sent him. Husband, Yuxian and I went out shopping and will be back in the afternoon. Lin Chuan sighed helplessly. Well, my wife has been kidnapped by her best friend again. It seems that I can only solve lunch by myself. As he said that, Lin Chuan walked towards the kitchen and prepared to make something to eat. Just when Lin Chuan was having lunch at noon, the phone suddenly rang. Lin Chuan picked it up and saw that it showed a call from Yizia Chaiyuan. So he pressed the answer button. Brother Lin Chuan, are you having lunch? Yizia Chaiyuan asked kindly on the other end of the phone. Yes, I'm eating. What's the matter? Boss he? Lin Chuan replied with a smile. That's really unfortunate. I was planning to invite you out for dinner. Do you have time in the evening? Yizia Chaiyuan asked. I have to have dinner with my wife tonight, but bossy. Just tell me whatever you have to say, Lin Chuan replied. Actually it is like this. Yizia Chaiyuan laughed heartily, and then said. I would like to sincerely invite you to serve as the honorary president of our Jinghai Piano Association. What do you think? Chapter 106. Not bad, President Lin. Honorary president? Lin Chuan never expected that Yizia Chaiyuan would so directly let him serve as the honorary president of Jinghai City. Yes, The honorary president does not need to directly participate in the daily management of the association, he just hangs his title on the list and shows up occasionally. Xie Chaiyuan smiled and explained, of course. If you have spare time, you can also provide some guidance to the newcomers. Why me? Lin Chuan asked, puzzled. Lai. As a top-level pianist like you should naturally serve as the most prestigious honorary president. Xie Chaiyuan smiled and replied, besides, when your child is born, it will provide more convenience in the field of music, right? Lin Chuan thought about it carefully and felt that what Xie Chaiyuan said made sense. After all, it is always beneficial to make more connections. It can be said that he and Xie Chaiyuan each got what they needed. Okay. I am willing to accept the position of honorary president. Lin Chuan finally nodded in agreement, but at the same time emphasized, however, my priority is still my family. If there is a conflict in my schedule, I will definitely give priority to my family. Of course. Xie Chaiyuan quickly expressed his understanding. Would it be convenient for you to come over this afternoon? Our piano association will hold a grand hiring ceremony. I'm free in the afternoon. Lin Chuan replied. Okay, see you this afternoon. After hanging up the phone, Xie Chaiyuan was very happy that he finally introduced Lin Chuan into his piano association. On the other side, Li Mengyao and Liu Yuxin came to a restaurant, which was the legendary Xuanmeng restaurant. Yao Yao, let me tell you, this Xuanmeng restaurant is super popular in Jinghe City. I made an appointment several days in advance before I was able to successfully reserve a seat. Liu Yuxin excitedly grabbed Li Mengyao's hand and walked into Xuanmeng restaurant with anticipation on her face. The two found a comfortable seat, and after sitting down, Liu Yuxin ordered the food. When the waiter left, Liu Yuxin showed a sly smile on her face, stared at Li Mengyao and asked, Yao Yao, how do you like the dress I gave you? Hearing this, Li Mengyao's cheeks flushed instantly, and she said with some embarrassment, how dare you ask? At night you guys. Liu Yuxin wanted to continue speaking, but Li Mengyao quickly covered her mouth with her hand, preventing her from speaking anymore. Stop talking. Just then, a waiter came over and brought all the dishes, exuding an enticing aroma. The food is served. Please enjoy your meal. The two immediately put aside the previous topic and began to chat happily while enjoying the delicious food. Wow, it's really delicious. It's worth waiting for so long. Liu Yuxin picked up a piece of tender and juicy meat, put it in her mouth and tasted it carefully, nodding with satisfaction. Why does it taste a bit like what your husband cooks, but not as good as his? Liu Yuxin often eats at her best friend's house and has gained experience from that. Hearing Liu Yuxin's comment, Li Mengyao just smiled slightly. The Xuanmeng restaurant was opened by her husband. When the two of them were almost done eating, Xu Quan came out from the backstage. He looked around and his eyes fell on Li Mengyao. Sister-in-law, Xu Quan exclaimed in surprise, then quickly walked to the front desk. He said to the front desk staff, Xiao Li, just waive the fee for this one for them. A lady at the front desk smiled and nodded to show that she understood. After finishing the instructions, Xu Quan walked to Li Mengyao's dining table happily and greeted her warmly. Sister-in-law, why did you come to the restaurant to eat today? Where is brother Xuan? Xu Quan asked curiously. Li Mengyao smiled and replied, he should be eating at home. I went out to eat with Yuxin today. You have met before. After hearing this, Xu Quan felt a little confused. He turned around and looked at Liu Yuxin, and found that Liu Yuxin was looking at him with a smile. Hello, sorry I didn't see you just now. Xu Quan blushed instantly and said shyly. It's okay, are you eating here too? Liu Yuxin asked with a smile. No, I'm the manager of Xuanmeng restaurant. Do you want to add anything? Xu Quan asked with a smile. Are you the manager of this restaurant? Liu Yuxin asked in surprise. Actually, this restaurant belongs to Lin Chuan. I just help him manage it, Xu Quan explained. At this moment, a shout came from the backstage. Manager Xu. I have something to take care of first. You guys continue to enjoy it. After saying that, Xu Quan turned and left. Looking at Xu Quan's departing back, Liu Yuxin said with some emotion, Yao Yao, this restaurant is actually also owned by Lin Chuan. Yes, but my husband doesn't take care of it much. It's all taken care of by Xu Quan, Li Mengyao said with a smile. How is it? What's your impression of him? Li Mengyao suddenly asked. Well, I don't feel anything, but it's amazing that Xu Quan can manage Xuanmeng restaurant so well. Liu Yuxin answered thoughtfully. After eating, the two continued shopping in the mall. Yao Yao, how about this dress? What kind of clothes are you looking for? In the afternoon, after receiving the employment certificate from the Jinghe City Piano Association, Lin Chuan couldn't wait to return home. He pushed open the door, and before he had time to put down the employment certificate in his hand, he was attracted by a familiar fragrance. He knew that it was the unique fragrance of Li Mengyao, and a feeling of warmth and sweetness suddenly surged in his heart. "Welcome home." Li Mengyao hugged Lin Xuan and said softly, her voice full of warmth and love. Lin Xuan couldn't help but kiss her cheek and asked with concern, "You're back so soon. How was your shopping today?" Li Mengyao narrowed her eyes, enjoying her husband's kiss, and replied with a smile, "I'll be back after shopping in the afternoon." Lin Xuan nodded and sat down on the sofa in the living room with his wife. "Honey, what is this?" Li Mengyao suddenly noticed that Lin Xuan was holding a small red notebook in his hand and asked curiously, pointing at it. "This is the employment certificate from the Jingha City Piano Association." Li Mengyao took it and opened it carefully, and saw a line of words on it at a glance. From now on, the Jingha Piano Association officially appoints Lin Xuan as the honorary president of the Jingha Piano Association. She couldn't help showing a surprised expression, with excitement flashing in her eyes, and exclaimed, "Not bad, President Lin." After saying that, she stretched out her little hand and playfully lifted Lin Xuan's chin with a smile on her lips. Lin Xuan saw his wife teasing him so boldly, so he put his arms around Li Mengyao's waist, held her in his arms, and kissed her passionately. Chapter 107 The Little Devil is Coming. "Honey, the baby is hungry." Li Mengyao touched her slightly bulging belly and said to Lin Xuan in a coquettish manner, "Hubby will prepare dinner now." Lin Xuan stood up with a smile, walked into the kitchen and started to get busy. Han soon came tonight after eating. The two sat on the lazy chairs on the balcony as usual, leisurely enjoying the night view of the river. Li Mengyao snuggled in Lin Xuan's arms, playing with her cell phone and chatting with Lin Xuan. "Honey, a express delivery has arrived." Li Mengyao suddenly raised her head and said to Lin Xuan with anticipation, "It just so happens that I have one too. Hubby will go get it now." Lin Xuan took the opportunity to kiss Li Mengyao again, then left the balcony with a smile. After Lin Xuan left, Li Mengyao quickly returned to the room and took out the clothes she bought with Yuuxin in the afternoon. She was a little nervous and thought, "Will this really scare my husband? My husband is so afraid of ghosts, and today is the ghost festival, he should be scared." Thinking of this, Li Mengyao gritted her teeth and made up her mind to change into the black mini dress. On the other side, Lin Xuan went downstairs to the express cabinet at the gate, skillfully entered the pickup code, and hurried home after getting the express. When he opened the door, he found it was pitch black inside. "What's going on? Where is my wife?" Lin Xuan was confused and his steps slowed down. He walked into the house cautiously and tried to turn on the lights in the house, but to no avail. The whole room was eerily quiet. "Wife, where are you?" Lin Xuan shouted in panic. Lin Xuan's heartbeat began to speed up, and an inexplicable fear surged into his heart. He couldn't help but remember that today was the Zongyuan festival, also known as the Ghost Festival. Is my house really haunted? The more Lin Xuan thought about it, the more scared he became. A thin layer of sweat appeared on his forehead, but he still mustered up his courage and told himself that he had to find his wife first. So, Lin Xuan trembling turned on the lighting function of his mobile phone to illuminate the road ahead. He took a deep breath and walked towards the room step by step, ready to search one by one. Every time he arrived at the door of a room, he would gently push it open and look around nervously, fearing that he would see something horrible. Just as Lin Xuan slowly entered a room, he suddenly heard hurried footsteps from behind. "Ooh!" Lin Xuan turned around suddenly and found no one from the sound. It seemed that someone ran out of the living room. Just as Lin Xuan walked out of the room in fear and came to the living room, suddenly the lights in the house came on. Lin Xuan was startled and his body stiffened and he dared not move. "The little devil is coming." Lin Xuan heard a familiar voice. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw Li Mengyao leaning out from the side. Li Mengyao was seen wearing a black mini dress today and a cute devil hairpin on her head. With her delicate face and small ears, she looked playful and cute. At this moment, she was showing her cute teeth to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan stared at Li Mengyao in a daze. His mind went blank, and the fear he had just felt disappeared in an instant. Rather than fear, what surprised him more at this moment was Li Mengyao's contrasting outfit. "Husband, are you scared?" Li Mengyao saw that Lin Xuan was still in a daze, so she quickly went forward to hug him, saying with some guilt. She actually wanted to turn off the lights to scare her husband, but she was afraid of frightening her husband. So she turned on the lights in the house. "Wife, you are becoming more and more naughty. You even want to scare your husband." Lin Xuan finally reacted and said with a smile. He looked at Li Mengyao's outfit with surprise. "I was originally planning to turn off the lights to scare you, but then I thought about how my husband is a coward. What if he gets scared? So I turned on the lights for you." Li Mengyao raised her head proudly, her eyes full of pride. Lin Xuan lowered his head and gently kissed those tempting lips. Li Mengyao's face flushed slightly, and she whispered softly, "Turn off the lights." What followed was a scene that could not be described in words. In the following days, Lin Xuan would go to the company every morning to handle affairs, but he would also take time to visit the restaurant and the Jingha Piano Association. And most of the time, he spent time with Li Mengyao. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye it is the morning of early September. That day, Lin Chuan and Li Mengyao simply packed their luggage together. Li Mengyao smiled and said, "That's about it, honey, we can go now." "Okay." Lin Chuan nodded in response, picked up a suitcase, held Li Mengyao's hand and walked to the parking lot downstairs of Jinwan Mansion. Lin Chuan carefully helped Li Mengyao into the passenger seat, and then stuffed the suitcase into the trunk of the Bentley Continental. When everything was ready, he sat in the driver's seat. "Xiaobin, help me locate Jingshui City." Lin Chuan gave instructions to the top intelligent driving system in the car. "Okay." As the voice prompt ended, the Bentley Continental started smoothly and drove towards Jingshui City. Chapter 108. I gained weight because of the baby. Along the way, Li Mengyao was in a very happy mood. She admired the scenery outside through the car window and hummed a few beautiful songs from time to time. This is no wonder, after all. She hasn't seen her mother for a long time. Lin Chuan looked at his wife, who was in high spirits beside him, and couldn't help but smile with relief on his face. After a 4-hour drive, they finally arrived at their destination, the building where Li Mengyao lived. After Lin Chuan stopped the car steadily, he got out, opened the door for Li Mengyao, and took her hand to go upstairs together. Not long after, the two arrived at the door of the house. Li Mengyao took out the key and opened the door. She walked in impatiently and shouted, "Mom, I'm back." At the same time, Huang Shifang was busy preparing lunch in the kitchen. Hearing her daughter's familiar call, she immediately put down the work in her hands and hurried out of the kitchen. Li Mengyao quickly walked to her mother and hugged her gently. "Mom, I miss you so much." Huang Shifang gently stroked her daughter's hair, her eyes full of joy and relief. "Yao Yao, it's good that you're back." Then, she noticed Lin Chuan standing aside, holding a large bag full of gifts, and couldn't help but said with a smile, "Lin Chuan, you came here. Why did you bring so many things? Don't do this next time, otherwise Mom will be really unhappy." "Not much, Mom. You sit down and talk to Mengyao first, I'll go cook," Lin Chuan said to Huang Shifang with a smile. Because Lin Chuan and Li Mengyao have been married for a long time, Lin Chuan now calls Huang Shifang Mom, instead of Auntie. "I can do it." Before Huang Shifang finished her words, Lin Chuan had already gone into the kitchen and started to get busy. So Huang Shifang pulled Li Mengyao to sit on the sofa, looked at Li Mengyao's bulging belly, and a relieved smile appeared on her face. She could never have imagined that her daughter would become a mother, and the mother of 2 children. "Yao Yao, how many months has it been now?" Huang Shifang asked with concern. "It's been 5 months, Li Mengyao stroked her belly gently, her face filled with the glow of maternal love. "Time flies so fast. My granddaughter will be born in the blink of an eye," Huang Shifang said with emotion. "I really want to see what the little one looks like." "Have you been feeling unwell recently?" Huang Shifang continued to ask. "No, Lin Chuan takes good care of me," Li Mengyao replied gently. "I can see that it's a blessing for our family to find a son-in-law like Lin Chuan. Your father in heaven will also feel comforted." Huang Shifang's eyes were slightly red, his voice trembled slightly, and he couldn't help choking up. "Mom, don't cry, I want to cry too." Seeing her mother crying, Li Mengyao felt a pang in her heart, and quickly took a tissue to help Huang Shifang wipe away her tears. Huang Shifang sniffed, forced back the tears in her eyes, and said with a smile, "Mom, these are tears of joy. Don't cry anymore, come on. Tell me how you have been doing recently." Hearing this, Li Mengyao smiled and told her mother the important things that had happened recently. At this moment, Lin Chuan brought out the last dish from the kitchen and placed it on the dining table, and shouted to the two of them, "It's time to eat." So the mother and daughter stood up and sat down at the dining table. The meals Lin Chuan cooked were very sumptuous, including braised fish, sweet and sour pork ribs, braised beef, winter melon meatball soup and other delicious dishes. Looking at the delicious food in front of him, Huang Shifang couldn't help but praise, "Lin Chuan, your cooking skills are getting better and better." "Thank you for the compliment, Mom." Lin Chuan smiled slightly, then picked up another piece of fish and fed it into Li Mengyao's mouth. Delicious," Li Mengyao said vaguely while chewing the fish. "Mom, Lin Chuan's dishes are better than those made by 5-star chefs outside." Huang Shifang chuckled. Her eyes fell on her daughter, and then she said, "No wonder I saw Yao Yao has gained a lot of weight." "Mom." Hearing this, Li Mengyao blushed and said, "Cocathus lie, you're fat because of the baby, not because I'm greedy." As she spoke, she picked up another piece of pork ribs and put it into her mouth. Lin Chuan and Huang Shifang looked at each other and smiled happily. "By the way, Mom, we are going to move to Times Garden this afternoon," Lin Chuan said. "Okay. The environment there is good and it's comfortable to live." Huang Shifang nodded, then turned to look at Lin Chuan and said gratefully, "Lin Chuan, thank you, thanks to you, my and Mengyao's life is getting better and better." "Mom, you're welcome, we are all family. Don't say this to me again," Lin Chuan said seriously. Huang Shifang nodded slightly, with a touch of emotion in her eyes. Okay, mom knows. After lunch, Huang Shifang snatched the bowl and chopsticks from Lin Yuan's hand and said with a smile, "You two should go and have a rest. I will clean up here." Lin Xuan smiled helplessly and took Li Mengyao back to the room. Li Mengyao changed into a pink pajamas and couldn't wait to lie back on the familiar big bed. Then she made room for Lin Xuan and waved, "Hubby, come and go to bed." Seeing this, Lin Xuan's mouth curled up slightly. He immediately changed into pajamas, lay down beside Li Mengyao, and hugged her gently. "We're moving soon. Are you reluctant to leave?" Lin Xuan asked gently. Li Mengyao's eyes flashed with a trace of nostalgia, but she still smiled and said, "Of course I feel a little reluctant. After all, this is where I grew up. But I think it's okay when I think I can come back anytime in the future. Baby, go to sleep." Lin Xuan kissed Li Mengyao gently on the cheek. Li Mengyao nodded happily and closed her eyes. And they both fell into a deep sleep. It was afternoon after Lin Xuan woke up. He packed all the things in Li Mengyao's house first, then he dragged the luggage downstairs one by one and stuffed them into the trunk of the Bentley Continental. When Lin Xuan went upstairs for the last time, he found Huang Shifang had already walked down from upstairs carrying a huge suitcase. "Since I only brought small items such as clothes and daily necessities, I also left space in the car." "Lin Xuan, you changed your car again?" Huang Shifang looked at the brand new Bentley Continental convertible in front of him in surprise, his eyes full of shock and confusion. "Yes, I just changed it recently. This car is for Mengyao." Lin Xuan smiled slightly, took the luggage from Huang Shifang's hand and easily stuffed it into the trunk of the Bentley. Just in time, the trunk of the Bentley was filled to the brim. At this time, Huang Shifang secretly sighed in her heart. "Lin Xuan is too rich." "Okay mom, get in the car," Lin Xuan said gently, looking at Huang Shifang who was still in a daze. Huang Shifang seemed to have just woken up from a dream and quickly nodded and said, "Okay." She hurriedly got into the back seat of the Bentley Continental and felt the luxurious atmosphere inside the car. Then Lin Xuan carefully helped Li Mengyao and placed her in the passenger seat. Finally, Lin Xuan returned to the driver's seat and prepared to set off. Lin Xuan gently pressed the button, and the roof of the Bentley Continental slowly opened like a blooming flower. With the roar of the engine, the car slowly drove out of the parking space and headed towards Times Garden. Along the way, Huang Shifang's heart was filled with emotion. She never thought that one day she would be able to sit in such a luxurious convertible sports car and enjoy the feeling of the breeze on her face. The Bentley Continental shuttles through the streets of Jingshui City, becoming a beautiful landscape. Passers-by on the street cast envious glances and admired this expensive sports car. Chapter 109 I love everything my husband cooks. Soon, the Bentley Continental stopped steadily in the parking lot of Times Garden community. After Lin Xuan, Li Mengyao and Huang Shifang got out of the car, they walked towards Building A of Times Garden. Not long after, they arrived at the door of Building A. Room 1201. Lin Xuan stretched out his finger and gently pressed the fingerprint lock with a slight sound. The solemn and majestic smart door slowly opened. When Huang Shifang walked in and took a look, she was stunned. Her eyes widened and her mouth was opened in surprise. The new Chinese-style decoration design is full of artistic atmosphere. And the luxurious decoration and brand new furniture are eye-catching. These renovation costs are almost enough to buy a nice residential apartment in the city. "Honey, did you buy a piano here too?" Li Mengyao walked in, glanced around, and suddenly shouted in surprise. She walked quickly to the piano in the living room with an excited smile on her face. "Yes, my wife likes to listen to me play the piano, so we put one in every house," Lin Xuan replied with a smile. Li Mengyao and Huang Shifang began to walk around every corner of the house with great interest, carefully appreciating every detail. Lin Xuan followed behind them, checking whether there were any flaws in the decoration of the house. Finally, when they walked through the whole house, all three of them smiled with satisfaction. Afterwards, they sat together on the soft and comfortable solid wood sofa, watching the 200-inch TV leisurely and enjoying the tranquility and warmth of the moment. "Mom, can we invite Mengyao's aunt and her family to come for dinner tonight?" Lin Xuan said to his mother Huang Shifang with a smile. "Okay, I'll ask now." Huang Shifang happily agreed, then picked up her phone to call her sister Huang Shizhen and invite their family to dinner at home. Huang Shifang called Huang Shizhen and asked, "Sister, are you and your brother-in-law free tonight?" "Yes, what's wrong, sister?" Huang Shizhen replied on the other end of the phone. "It's like this, Lin Xuan and Mengyao are back and have moved to a new home. I want to invite you to a dinner together tonight," Huang Shifang said happily. "What, moved to a new house?" Huang Shizhen asked in surprise. "Yes. We have moved to Times Garden now," Huang Shifang replied with a smile. "Oh, that's terrible. Inkwan and I will definitely come. But Jia Yi is still out of town, so she can't come," Huang Shizhen said regretfully. "It's okay, see you tonight." Huang Shifang then hung up the phone. "Mom, I'll go to the supermarket to buy some ingredients for dinner." Lin Xuan stood up and said. No need, Mom can buy it. Huang Shifang hurriedly stopped him. Mom, you and Meng Yao just rest at home. After saying that, Lin Xuan walked out the door. Just as he changed his shoes and prepared to leave, he suddenly felt a force coming from behind. It turned out that Li Mengyao was holding his big hand tightly with her soft little hand. Honey, I want to go too. Li Mengyao blinked her bright big eyes, a brilliant smile on her lips. And her tone had a hint of cockathiousness. Lin Xuan turned around, gently pinched Li Mengyao's delicate cheek, and asked with concern. Wife, aren't you tired? Not tired. Li Mengyao shook her little head and answered happily. Seeing his wife full of energy, Lin Xuan couldn't help but laugh, nodded and said, okay. Let's go together. Hearing her husband's words, Li Mengyao's face was filled with a happy smile. She nodded obediently and let Lin Xuan take her hand and walk out of the house together. Before long, they arrived at the entrance of Walmart supermarket. After Lin Xuan parked the car, he and Li Mengyao walked into the supermarket hand in hand. After entering the supermarket, Lin Xuan pushed a shopping cart and began to carefully select the ingredients he needed. Honey, what are you going to cook tonight? Li Mengyao asked curiously, with anticipation gleaming in her eyes. Lin Xuan smiled and replied. Let me think. First of all, there is a braised carp, which symbolizes abundance every year. I hope our future life will be rich and happy. Prepare some for joy meatballs. This dish represents the 4 great joys in life: happiness, wealth, longevity, and joy. I wish our family happiness and health. Of course, lobster is indispensable, because it has the beautiful meaning of rising step by step. Honey, I didn't expect you knew all this. Li Mengyao smiled sweetly. Of course. Have you given your husband a reward? Lin Xuan asked with a wicked smile. We're outside, aren't you ashamed? Li Mengyao blushed and gave Lin Xuan a cold look. Wife, is there anything special you want to eat? Lin Xuan asked lovingly. There's nothing particular I want to eat. Li Mengyao shook her head and said. Because I love to eat whatever my husband cooks. Li Mengyao then said with a smile. Her smile was like a spring breeze and she was as beautiful as a fairy in the sky. Lin Xuan couldn't help himself when he saw this. So he hugged Li Mengyao and kissed her beautiful face. Li Mengyao hurriedly broke free and looked around, and saw several ants looking at her with any smiles. Li Mengyao's face suddenly turned red with shame. And she wished she could find a hole to crawl into. Stupid husband, can't you be more restrained outside? Li Mengyao said angrily. I couldn't help it because my wife is so beautiful, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Okay, let's buy the ingredients quickly and go home quickly. Li Mengyao shook her head helplessly and pulled Lin Xuan to continue walking forward. After Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao bought the ingredients, they drove away from Walmart supermarket. Mom, we're back. Lin Xuan took Li Mengyao back home. Hearing the voice, Huang Shifang came out from the living room and said with a smile. Lin Xuan, you have worked hard. Put your things down quickly, I will cook. As she said that, she was about to take the bag from Lin Xuan's hand. However, Lin Xuan smiled and said. No, you and Mengyao can rest in the living room. It's a good opportunity for Aunt and the others to have a taste of my cooking skills. After saying that, he walked into the kitchen with the bag, ready to show off his skills. At around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. Huang Shifang stood up, walked to the door, looked out through the gate camera, and found 2 people standing outside the door: her sister Huang Shizhen and brother-in-law Wo Qingquan. They were holding an exquisite fruit basket and a small and exquisite money tree in their hands, with bright smiles on their faces. Huang Shifang quickly opened the door and greeted them with a smile. Sister and brother-in-law, you are here. Huang Shizhen smiled and said, Sister, congratulations on your new home. Huang Shifang gratefully accepted the gift and said, Thank you, please come in. Huang Shizhen and Wo Qingquan walked into the house, looked around, and couldn't help but sigh. Sister, the decoration here is really exquisite. It must have cost a lot of money, right? Huang Shifang smiled and replied, It was all done by Lin Xuan. And she led the 2 into the living room and enthusiastically poured them a cup of hot tea. At this moment, Li Mengyao came out of the room and saw Huang Shizhen and Wo Qingquan. She greeted them happily. Aunt, uncle. When Huang Shizhen saw Li Mengyao's bulging belly, a kind smile appeared on her face. Yao Yao, come over here, auntie. Chapter 110. It's all for Mengyao's good. Li Mengyao sat obediently next to Huang Shizhen with a happy smile on her face. Huang Shizhen looked at her and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I didn't expect that our Yao Yao is also going to be a mother. Her tone was full of relief and joy. Huang Shizhen's family has a deep affection for Li Mengyao, and it can be said that they watched her grow up. Now that she sees Li Mengyao is about to become a mother, she is sincerely happy for her. Hearing Huang Shizhen's words, Li Mengyao nodded shyly. She knew that all this was inseparable from Lin Xuan's care and love, so she said with emotion, It seems that Lin Xuan has taken good care of you. By the way, where is Lin Xuan? Huang Shizhen asked curiously. Li Mengyao smiled and replied, He is cooking in the kitchen. It's really rare to find a man who can cook for his wife's family, King Quan. Don't you think? Huang Shizhen praised, and then glanced at Wo King Quan. Yes. After hearing this, Wo King Quan on the side quickly shifted his gaze and pretended to watch TV seriously. Wo King Quan is one of those men who never goes into the kitchen, so he felt embarrassed when his wife asked him this. Everyone couldn't help laughing when they saw Wo King Quan's reaction. At this moment, Lin Xuan had already prepared all the delicious dishes and brought them to the table one after another. He greeted everyone enthusiastically. It's time to eat. Lin Xuan walked into the living room and politely greeted Huang Shizhen and Wo King Quan. Aunt, uncle, you are here. Lin Xuan, thank you for your hard work, Huang Shizhen said with a smile. It's not hard, this is what we should do, let's get ready for dinner, Lin Xuan responded with a smile. Afterwards, everyone sat around the dining table. The table was filled with sumptuous dishes, exuding an enticing aroma. There are fragrant braised carp, too large for happiness meatballs, delicious cheese-baked lobster, garlic-flavored garlic spiribus, fragrant beef with green onions, tender and juicy chicken stewed with mushrooms, and delicious bamboo shoots and crucian carp soup. It was exactly 7 courses. Because Li Mengyao was pregnant and sensitive to the smell of alcohol, everyone chose to drink juice instead of alcohol. A new home, new blessings. A new residence, and new luck. I wish you a new home, always smiling. Happy forever, and a better and better life. Huang Shizhen raised the wineglass and wished sincerely. Cheers. Everyone raised their glasses and toasted together. And they began to taste the delicious food on the table. Lin Xuan, your cooking skills are simply superb. Huang Shizhen couldn't help but admire. Yes, it's the first time I've eaten such delicious food, Wo King Quan also echoed. Yes, I was also very surprised at first, Huang Shifang said with a smile. If it's delicious, everyone please eat more. Lin Xuan felt a little embarrassed by the praise, but his heart was filled with joy. No wonder I saw Yao Yao gained a lot of weight. Huang Shizhen looked at Li Mengyao while eating. When Li Mengyao heard this, she was stunned and stopped eating the meat in her mouth. She widened her eyes and looked at Huang Shizhen in disbelief. Why does my aunt say that too? Li Mengyao pouted in grievance, with a hint of displeasure on her face. Everyone couldn't help laughing when they saw Li Mengyao's cute expression. The laughter echoed in the room, making people feel extremely warm. After dinner, Huang Shifang was clearing the dishes and preparing to wash them, but Huang Shizhen insisted on going into the kitchen to help. So, only Lin Xuan, Li Mengyao and Lai Yao and Wo King Quan were left in the living room. At this time, Wo King Quan was sitting on the sofa, looking at the luxurious decoration in the house, and a trace of doubt arose in his heart. He was very surprised that Lin Xuan, who was so young, could have such wealth and status. So, he couldn't help but ask, Lin Xuan, what are you doing in Jinghai City now? He hoped that through this question, he could gain a deeper understanding of Lin Xuan's background and career. Lin Xuan smiled slightly and replied in a gentle tone. I opened a technology company in Jinghai. Hearing Lin Xuan's answer, Wo King Quan nodded with satisfaction to express his appreciation. He said with emotion, I didn't expect you to start a company at such a young age, you are really young and promising. Then, Wo King Quan continued. It seems that Meng Yao did not find the wrong person judging from all the details, you are really good to Meng Yao. I have watched Meng Yao grow up since she was a child. Since her father passed away, I have regarded her as my second daughter. There was a hint of deep emotion in Wo King Quan's voice, which made people feel his love for Meng Yao. Although it may not be appropriate to say these words on this day of moving to a new house, I am a pragmatic person, so I still want to tell you that if you treat her badly in the future, I will settle the score with you immediately. His tone was firm and serious, making it difficult to ignore his warning. After hearing what Wo King Quan said, Lin Xuan felt moved. He knew that Wo King Quan said this entirely out of his concern and love for Meng Yao. So Lin Xuan quickly expressed his opinion. I am very grateful to your family for taking care of Meng Yao. I will definitely treat Meng Yao well. A hint of determination flashed in his eyes, expressing his determination to Wo King Quan. Okay, Wo King Quan nodded with satisfaction, a satisfied smile on his face. Come on, try some of the fresh fruit I just washed. Just then, Huang Shizhen came out of the kitchen with a bowl of rich fruit in her hand. However, when she stepped into the living room, she keenly noticed that the atmosphere was a little strange. Hold, whoa, are you asking Lin Xuan questions again? Huang Shizhen frowned and glared at Wo King Quan in reproach. I just asked a little. Wo King Quan lowered his head guiltily and spoke in a low voice. You're about to retire, and I think it's time to change your occupational disease. Huang Shizhen sighed helplessly, with a hint of complaint in his tone. Lin Xuan, please don't mind it, he has been working in the proprietary for a long time and has this old problem. Huang Shizhen turned around and explained to Lin Xuan with an apologetic look on his face. It doesn't matter, it's all for Meng Yao's own good. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, his tone relaxed and gentle. At this moment, Li Mengyao snuggled up to Lin Juan with a happy smile on her face. Then, everyone started chatting happily in the living room. The topics ranged from work to life, from the past to the future. It was free and full of laughter. After a while, Huang Shizhen and Wo Qingquan got up and said goodbye. At night, Lin Juan and Li Mengyao lay on the soft big bed. Lin Juan looked at his wife in his arms, gently stroked her hair, and then said softly, "Good night, baby." Then, he slowly leaned closer to her cheek, ready to give her a sweet goodnight kiss. However, at this moment, Li Mengyao suddenly stretched out her little hand and gently covered Lin Juan's lips. "It's all your fault, you made me so fat. I won't kiss you anymore," Li Mengyao pouted. Chapter 111 Quit your supermarket job. Wife, how can you blame me for this? Lin Juan smiled and gently took away Li Mengyao's hand. "If not you, who else should I blame?" Li Mengyao said cockathiously, and stretched out her other little hand to continue blocking Lin Juan's lips. "Blame baby, they're the ones who made you fat." Lin Juan took Li Mengyao's little hand away again and held it tightly with both hands. Li Mengyao glared at Lin Juan in reproach and wanted to continue to stretch out her hands to cover herself. But she found that both of her hands were firmly locked by Lin Juan and she could not pull them out. Lin Juan's face was getting closer and closer, and their breathing intertwined. Finally, Lin Juan's lips gently touched Li Mengyao's lips. After a long time, Lin Juan reluctantly let go of the beauty in his arms and looked at her lovingly. "Being fat means the babies are developing well. After my wife gives birth to the baby, she will slowly lose weight," Lin Juan said softly, his tone full of tenderness and care. Li Mengyao's little head went blank from being kissed, and her original temper disappeared without a trace. She leaned in Lin Juan's arms, quietly feeling his warmth, and soon fell asleep. Just as Lin Juan was holding Li Mengyao and preparing to fall asleep, the system's voice rang again. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host for helping the baby's mother complete the joy of moving to a new house. A reward for a boutique shop downstairs in Times Garden community, please check." The system sends a store again. "This store gave it to me, but it's of no use at the moment." "Forget it, it's better to have it than nothing. I'll go and have a look tomorrow." So Lin Juan gradually fell asleep. The next morning, Lin Juan got up early to make breakfast for his family. Before long, bursts of fragrance wafted from the kitchen. "Lin Juan, why did you get up so early?" Huang Shifang came out of the room and asked. "I got up because I couldn't sleep. Come and have breakfast." "Mom," Lin Juan said with a smile, and brought 2 servings of tomato shrimp noodles to the table. Each serving of noodles had a golden poached egg on it, making people salivate. "Okay." Huang Shifang sat at the dining table, picked up her chopsticks and began to enjoy this delicious breakfast. After breakfast, Huang Shifang went to work. Just as Huang Shifang left, Lin Juan's cell phone suddenly rang. "Hello, is this MRLN?" A clear and pleasant female voice came from the other end of the phone. "Yes, who are you?" Lin Juan asked curiously. "I'm the manager in charge of shop sales at Times Garden. Yesterday you placed an order for a boutique shop. When are you free to come and check it?" the other party asked politely. "I live in Times Garden and will go there when I have time," Lin Juan replied. "Okay, I'll wait for you to come over." So Lin Juan hung up the phone. Suddenly he thought that this shop could be run by Huang Shifang, and it was just downstairs in the community, which was very convenient. Thinking of this, Lin Juan suddenly became extremely happy. As time passed, sunlight shone through the window onto the floor, creating patches of mottled light and shadows. Lin Juan was leaning on a comfortable chair on the balcony, admiring the beautiful scenery of the Times Garden community. Suddenly he heard a clear cry. "Husband!" Lin Juan's gaze immediately turned towards the bedroom. He walked into the room with brisk steps, his eyes full of anticipation and excitement. When he entered the room, he found Li Mengyao sitting quietly beside the bed, staring at him with her beautiful eyes as pure and bright as a deer. "Honey, are you awake? Are you hungry? Breakfast is ready." Lin Juan sat next to Li Mengyao and said gently. Li Mengyao responded softly, her eyes still on Lin Juan, as if she was looking at something. Lin Juan felt his wife's gaze and felt a little confused. He couldn't help but reach out and touch his cheek, and asked curiously, "Honey, is there something on my face?" "Yes, here." Her lips gently touched Lin Juan's right cheek, leaving a passionate kiss. Lin Juan's body shook slightly, and a sweet feeling surged in his heart. And Li Mengyao quickly left the bed, walked to the bathroom and started washing. Lin Juan scratched the right side of his cheek and then smiled happily. When Li Mengyao finished washing up, they went to the restaurant together. Lin Juan watched his wife slurping noodles. "Wife, let's go check out the shops downstairs later," Lin Juan said with a smile. "Shop?" Li Mengyao asked curiously. "Well, I wanted my mother to quit her job at the supermarket, but I was worried that she would be too bored, so I bought a shop for her," Lin Juan replied with a smile. "Really? Then Mom will be very happy." Li Mengyao's face was filled with smiles. After all, Huang Shifang's work in the supermarket was hard and her income was low. Look how happy you are, the soup has even reached the corners of your mouth, Lin Xuan joked. Where is it? Li Mengyao tried to reach out for a tissue to wipe it. Don't move, let your husband do it, Lin Xuan said, taking a tissue and gently wiping the corners of her mouth clean. Not anymore. After having breakfast, the two of them set off together to the downstairs of Times Garden community. Found the boutique shop given by the system. The sales manager helped Lin Xuan complete the signing procedures and then left. Then, the two began to look at the 70 square meter shop carefully. It's neither too big nor too small, just right, and the location is also in the center. Both Lin Xuan and Li Mengyao were satisfied. It was soon noon and Huang Shifang finished her morning work and returned home as soon as she entered the door. She smelled the tempting aroma of food. Lin Xuan had already prepared a sumptuous lunch and said to her with a smile, "Mom, you've worked hard. Come and eat." Huang Shifang felt warm in her heart and a happy smile spread across her face. She couldn't help but sigh. It's great to have such a caring son-in-law. Then, the three of them happily sat around the dining table and enjoyed